Oh, let's see if we can pull this off. It looks like we are live with special guest Dmack to the show.
Everybody?
We'll be filling up here hopefully shortly. We are a little bit early today than we normally are. Hopefully everything will be good with the Wi-Fi. It's a little bit dicey. We're on the hotel stuff here, so I don't know if this is going to process through perfectly. I did a little test run and it worked good. But I'm in Western Washington. You guys all know I'm moving to Maui currently, so I thought I'd have my buddy here, Dmack, come on join the show. He's over here in Western Washington and maybe answer a few cornerback questions that sometimes come up. Talk a little bit about the Seahawks coverage and how it runs, and a little bit of the Kickstep and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate Dmack jumping in. Looks like we got a couple people coming in. Grand Admiral Thrawn, what's up, buddy? How you doing? I think we'll probably be first touching on here a little bit of the Clowney news, as I have not had a chance to react to it for you guys. So I will give you my opening thoughts on that in just a second. We'll just get to the hellos and get everybody in. Insanity Mixes, how you doing? User Hitstick, what is up? Evergreen, can Dunbar play nickel? Well, this is going to be the first question out the gate for one Dmack. Can Dunbar play nickel at 6'2"?
I believe he can, but he's best served outside as far as checking a number one receiver. I wouldn't put him in the slot.
Okay. And for you folks, I should probably, again, just remind those guys that don't know about Dmack did play in Division 1A, won a national title, a great little free safety out there, a ball hawking free safety, played with guys like Tremaine Brock and Terrence Cody. So he knows what he's talking about when it comes to cornerback play, and he's got a little bit of a view into these type of things because he has done some of the kickstep technique that the Seahawks did back in college. So he is aware of kind of the mechanics of it, let's say. All right. Derek, the Seahawks fan, what is up? I'm disappointed as F with the lack of defensive line moves. And we're going to get to that in just a sec, Derek, because I'm going to piggyback off your disappointment here and talking a little bit about Clowney. I just want to do the what's up to everybody. Randall McDaniel, how you doing, man? It's been good talking to you over on Facebook. And Sandy Mixes, who do you think is starting on the line? Well, defensive line, we know that. So I guess we'll get into if you keep me in point. We'll just start out with the defensive line because I know that's where you guys are going to want to go. And I didn't get a chance to react to the Jadeveon Clowney news last week, being that he went to the Tennessee Titans. You guys here on this live stream and YouTube channel know that I have been banging the drum for Clowney, even going back to last year when I wanted to see the Seahawks initially make the trade for him from the Texans. I feel like he's a perfect fit for the Leo system. I obviously am a little bit biased because I've been playing online video games with him, and I know about the situation. I understand what he's dealt with this offseason. But beyond Clowney, the loss of him is not the loss necessarily of just Clowney himself. And thanks for the $5 donation there, Barry. We did get skunked. Clowney's disappointed me. It's taken me a week to get over this, Barry. So it's a good thing I didn't live stream last week because I probably would have been way too negative for you guys and would probably bummed everybody out. But the issue here is not just the fact of it being Jadeveon Clowney. I think a guy like Rob Stanton over at the Seahawks draft blog really put together a great article over the last week talking about this situation. And it's not the loss of Clowney himself. It's the loss or investment of the Leo defensive end. And we got to unwrap it a little bit here, but within the Seattle Seahawks scheme, we are a defensive first team. We're not offensive first, we're defensive first. That's how we build our team. The majority of draft capital will mostly go to the defensive side of the ball. Outside of Russell Wilson, there's not a lot of money being thrown around on the offensive side of the ball. You are defense first. And within that defensive first, you could make the argument that one of the most integral pieces to that defensive scheme is going to be the Leo defensive end, because you're going to have him lined a little bit on the outside and sort of that wide nine technique away from the rest of the defensive line, and he really is allowed to go hunt from the blind side of the pass rusher. You could make the argument, for instance, the New England Patriots might be different in what they do. They might have their foundational piece be a cover corner, a lockdown cover corner. This is why over the years you've seen them go from Ty Law to Asante Samuel to Stephon Gilmore and Darrelle Revis and Aqib Talib. Year after year, they always make sure they've got a lockdown corner, because it's the livelihood of their defense. They want to blitz a lot. So they want to put those guys out on an island and have them operate that way. So when I get so upset here about the loss of Clowney, it's not just about the loss of Clowney. It's the loss of the most important part of that defensive line, because Darrell Taylor is supposed to be that guy, but he just got the rod out of his leg, probably not going to be back for a few weeks. And who knows what we got as a player this year in that guy. So my disappointment is right there along with you, Barry. I really do appreciate the $5 donation, and I echo your sentiments where I don't know what their plan was on this. I would have been okay if they had made the transition to Everson Griffin early in the offseason, deciding they weren't going to make the payment to Clowney. It's not a matter of it being Clowney or bust. It's a matter of you need to get a Leo defensive end in on this team, and Benson Mayowa isn't it. Right now, our starting defensive line it's been told to us is LJ Collier over at that left defensive end, Puna and Jaron up the middle, and then you're going to have, it looks like, Benson Mayo over on that right side starting. That is not ideal, folks. Benson Mayo is not a starting Leo defensive end in this league. He's not. I know he's a self-made guy. I know he's come along quite a bit, but this is an honest to God worry for us as we come into this situation. Derek, the Seahawks fan, says, you think Dunbar is even going to beat Flowers for the spot? Well, I've got my predictions on this. I've leaned, as you guys know, very heavily to Flowers since the end of the offseason. I thought he's got bagged on too hard. I'm going to let Dmack answer this one because this is a little bit down his realm of things.
I think so. You don't go out and go get a guy in free agency to not have him and put him in the best position to win that position. So in my opinion, I think Dunbar is going to get it eventually right out the gate. Maybe not because he missed a lot of training camp. So you might have Flowers that plays the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then Dunbar just kind of gets acclimated a little bit more with the system and the scheme, and you'll see him kind of start later on in the season.
Yeah, I think I probably agree. It seems like he's been a little bit behind the 8 ball as far as getting his training going, and he, I think, admitted in that press conference he didn't work out. Dmack was really down on him a little bit after that last press conference where he was available to the media, and he just looked really
just body language, and he just looked, I don't know, like in a daze. He just looked in a daze at all questions. He didn't seem confident. And you know me, I'm a DB. I like confidence. I like bravado out of my DBs. It just shows that they know what they're doing. I mean, it's just a confidence thing. Like, that's all cornerback is a confidence thing. If you don't think that you can do it, you're not going to be able to check these wide receivers because you're going to always be second guessing yourself with your coverages. So, and
he just looked a little shook. His eyes are kind of he just sort of looked a little odd. Maybe it's understandable but it doesn't make me as confident in him stepping onto the field from day one here and being ready to roll. Seahawks Preseno. How you doing, Seahawks Preseno?
What's up?
Anthony Habib, score predictions for tomorrow. I got the Seahawks 34-23. I'm going to go 34-28. How about I piggyback right off of you, Anthony? I think we're looking at a high-scoring game tomorrow. We saw last year with Matt Schaub at quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. He threw for nearly 400 yards against us in that game. Hard to think that Matt Ryan, as a better quarterback, can't get – I'm not expecting to put 400 yards up, but he's going to probably be able to slice and dice a little bit of the secondary. Quinn knows how to attack this defense, being that he's a former defensive coordinator. So I think it is going to be a high-scoring game, but I'm going to go ahead and pull for Seattle to pull. I don't think the Falcons got enough bullets in their gun.
And I'm predicting a late-game heroics by Russell Wilson. They're going to win by 3. It's going to be 34-31. So
that fits more of what it was last year, doesn't it?
I'm thinking the last drive, you're going to get Russell Wilson on a heroic play and drive, and they're going to get the field goal and get the win. So
yeah, that seems how it goes. I could see it easily going down that way. I think it's going to be a close game throughout, no matter what. I don't see either team getting out ahead. It's probably going to be back and forth, and really one of those things where each offense is probably kind of running it up the field a little bit. Maybe the key will be for Seattle winning this is if they can keep them to field goals as opposed to allowing the touchdowns while they're able to score touchdowns on the other side of things. Insanity Mixes, I was asking about the offensive line. Okay, I'm sorry about that, Insanity Mixes. Looks like the starting offensive line as we stand right now is going to be, Dwayne Brown's over at left tackle. Left guard, you're going to have Mike Iupati. Ethan Posick over at center. Right guard, Damian Lewis. And then right tackle is going to be Brandon Shell. Now, our hope here is at the end of the day that this is an upgraded offensive line from last year, but it's going to be a marginal upgrade at best. And we certainly have some worries right now with that left tackle position. When you look at Dwayne Brown, behind him with Cedric Abuji now struggling with a pec injury, Jamarco Jones questionable. If Dwayne Brown goes out tomorrow, I think they just activated a guy off the practice squad. It might get kind of scary in tomorrow's game if something goes haywire with Dwayne. But that's where the line's at right now in Sanity Mixes, and I do think that it is a marginal upgrade over last year, specifically because of the additions of Damian Lewis and I think Ethan Posick there at center. I think they're going to upgrade those two. Edward Mather, what's up, Edward? How you doing, man? Thank you for jumping on in the chat. Randall McDaniel, got to move past Clowney. Got a game tomorrow. Yep, I agree, Randall. It's just I didn't have a chance to react to the Clowney news last week, so I just wanted to get out my initial thoughts on the situation. And again, it's not about Clowney. It's about this team is still missing a Leo pass rusher, the most vital piece of their defense, you could make the argument. B-Russ.
What's up, Edward? We ready for football? We're definitely ready.
Hell yeah. B-Russ, we need to run stopper. If Reed or Puna got hurt, we are in trouble. We are absolutely in trouble, B-Russ. And hopefully maybe there's still that gleam of hope that we're going to get Snacks Harrison. Because I have seen a tweet saying where somebody asked him why he isn't signed yet. And it was sort of he sort of intimated that he is going to be signed soon. And being that they have that need, being that they have the money to now pay him, because there's not that Clowney guy that you were looking to have to pay at that point, maybe they can bring that guy in. Unfortunately, I think they're going to at least wait through this week to see what they got before they make that move. Derek, the Seahawks fan, says Matthews won't play for less than $2 million, either because of guaranteed money from the Rams.
Oh, that's Clay Matthews?
Yeah, so I know that there's an ongoing thing with the Rams where they weren't paying Clay, and it was that whole disputed money thing. I think Gurley was going through the same thing, and
like
it's
signing bonuses and different.
Yeah,
clauses.
and it's like there's an offset situation. So if he signs with another team, that money offsets, but he can't play for less because he wants to get that full amount of money for the Rams. Right. I would still think, Derek, Seahawks fan, though, that a $2 million price for Clay Matthews for a season that's not bad value at that point. That's $2 million for 8 sacks, pretty much. Insanity Mixes says, I was hyped for Darrell Taylor. Any thoughts on Alton Robinson? Yeah, I love the hype on Alton Robinson. I don't think that it's just a smokescreen or that people are just trying to give us like some good beneficial news coming out of camp because we didn't get Clowney, didn't get another defensive end. I'm very excited about Alton Robinson. Bruce Irvin says he's going to get 15 to 20 snaps tomorrow. I'd expect him to flip in there probably for LJ Collier's position. So LJ Collier is your starter at left end. Then on late downs, you'll probably put in Alton Robinson. I'm very interested to see what he can maybe do as a pass rusher because he's really been one of the stars of camp. He's been the guy that's really been talked about as much as anybody, really far along in his pass rush repertoire. Randall McDaniel, do you think we'll see 2 tight end sets more than ever before? I think that could be a real strength for us. I absolutely do, Randall. It seems like they're really going to, with this team, tap into the full capabilities of this offense. And those 2 tight ends are legitimate. Greg Olsen and Disley, especially Disley is the second tight end where you can't concentrate him as the number 1 guy. I feel like those guys could really, really roll. And it does a lot for the running game, right? Having 2 tight ends on a football field.
And Disley's going to benefit just from having a veteran guy like Greg Olsen next to him. Yeah. So he's going to be able to bring him along and show him the ropes and show him about defensive coverages and what they see versus what Russell sees so he can have a better understanding. So they're only going to do better with 2 tight ends on the field, basically. And then they run the ball, so you're going to have 2 bigger guys to be able to run block and scheme things up. So I think it's smart to run 2 sets.
Do you feel like it's more stressful for teams that are trying to stop the run? This is the old Colt system, as they'd run the 2 tight ends, and it'd just be you could never go to one side of the line or the other and cheat. You'd have to keep your linebackers kind of straight up. Is that a harder running game to go up against as opposed to you got the fullback back there and a 1 tight end?
I think the 2 tight end set is definitely harder to scheme for a defensive coordinator because basically you have so many options out of the 2 tight ends. You can run the ball because the tight ends are they're tight ends. They're good blockers. So versus having just a fullback where hey, you're going to get a dive here, a dive there, or a sweep, and there's not going to be too much pass option out of that fullback that's in the backfield. So I think the 2 tight end is definitely more effective than having a fullback in the backfield. So, and it's harder to defend, I think.
Certainly the threat, Valor is your fullback who's kind of just a guy. And then versus getting Disley out there, it's like you want Disley out there. So
you can play action a lot better off of it and stuff like that and have, dual threats of Greg Olsen going deep in the middle and stuff. So, and then because you got to account for Carson. I mean, everybody's going to definitely read their cues and go for Carson first. When they see the play action, Russ is really good in the bootleg and things like that. They can make things work. So I think it'll be dynamic.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, Randall. It's one of the key pieces on this offense that I'm just hoping they can stay healthy, those 2 guys, because it's like that's the one worry. But again, to Dee's point, let's not forget that Will Disley is a former defensive line convert out of the University of Washington. Having a guy with the refined skill set, Greg Olsen, at this point in his career is definitely going to help from a mentorship standpoint throughout the year. I agree, Randall. As long as Disley stays healthy, we can have 2. Yep. D Nugget, you in Hawaii, bro? I am in Hawaii as of Monday. That's when my flight leaves. So right now, I've shipped my car out, just waiting to go, and then I'm gonna be riding high. Derek, the Seahawks fan. I know it bops around a little bit sometimes. It's because he just watched DK Metcalf. I thought he would have to face that. Oh, okay. Derek, the Seahawks fan, says Dunbar's just shook because he had to watch DK Metcalf in practice and thought he'd have to face him that all year.
Oh, shoot.
No, man.
2.0.
He looks just like Julio. Mm-hmm. You got the best YouTube talk show. Thanks, D Nugget. I appreciate it, man. Hopefully we'll be able to get a little more Dmack here so I can get this live stream dual broadcasting thing down. Anthony Abib says, do you think we finally run the offense through Russell instead of the run this season? Unfortunately.
Hopefully, but probably not.
No. It's that's they're very hard-headed with this, and they're going to stay where they're going to stay with this. And it seems like they want to run the ball. I think they'll give a little bit more control to them. I think we might see a little more up tempo.
Just keep hashtagging. Let's get those hashtags out there and let people free Russ and just try to get it out there. That's
get
the only
those
way
shirts,
we can do.
the let Russ cook shirts.
Let him cook.
Just eventually.
That's all we can do. But
force them. OG Bobby Johnson, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, OG?
And Sandy Mixes. Randall, thank you for the $24.99.
Okay.
I feel you, Randall.
25 pop. I see you, Randall. Appreciate
Randall hit me
you.
up with a $49.99 a couple weeks ago. So he's always coming strong in his dono game. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Anthony Abib, also, do you think Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde will split carries, or do you think Chris Carson will carry the load? I think they're going to – I'm going to let you answer this one next.
I think they're going to split. I think it's going to be 60-40 with it. I think Chris Carson's going to get 60, and Hyde is going to get about 40 to 35% of the carries. I
honestly, look, they're close as a player. They are at the end of the day. There's the separation between these guys as a running back is not that far. And you think probably ideally that's the way they've got this schematically set out.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I wonder is that, Anthony, I think within this question is this: are the Seahawks going to re-sign him to an extension? Because if you're not,
that's the bigger, yeah.
If you're not,
that's the elephant in the room.
But are you gonna restrict the guy's carries if you don't have to worry about his long-term health?
But I think they have to run him at least 40% of their carries, because I mean they want to keep Carson healthy throughout the whole season, so it's kind of like a dual benefit. Whether they re-sign him, they'll get to that I think later down in the road as far as the extension. They'll work that out. But I think that they tried to do that last year, but they just couldn't get that second back up and running to complement Carson and keep him fresh and keep him healthy game in and game out.
Yeah, I think it's the plan. I do think it's the plan. I just wonder, like, once the bullets start flying and you're in combat and they know what they have in Carson, and he's out there beasting because he's running for that contract right now, right? He's out there just like laying it all on the line. Right. So if he's just tearing it up, it's gonna be harder. Jose Rodriguez, my moderator. How you doing, Jose?
Hey, what's going on, Jose?
Lucas, how many sacks pressures do you think the Hawks will get tomorrow? Ooh, what a good question. Let's go through. All right, we know Irvin's good for 1 sack.
Yeah.
Bruce is going to get 1 sack against Atlanta. He's from Georgia. He's going to want to show off for the local people.
Definitely.
Bruce is on. Beast on there. Let's I'm going to keep it low though. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go 3 sacks tomorrow. I think Irvin and Jaron Reed get you a sack. Jaron's on a mission. And then let's say Alton Robinson and Puna combined for a sack.
I'm going to go with 2 sacks. I don't know about the pressure because I think they'll be not really effective as far as pressure.
No.
That's just me being honest. Matt Ryan, he's going to get the ball out of his hands. He's a veteran. He's not going to be, affected by this pass rush too much in the pressure category.
He's played enough against us. And again, he's got and Dan Quinn there is the head coach, former defensive coordinator of the Seahawks. They know how to attack this defensive scheme, which is the short passing game, quick routes,
they're gonna get it out.
And that's what Matt Ryan does anyway, as normally.
Now, if they were playing a rookie quarterback, Tua, Burrow, then I can see, a little bit.
We get Tua in 3 weeks. So,
so
we'll see what Tua at that point. That might be a little bit different.
Exactly. Then we'll talk about pressures then.
And so you pronounce his, it's like Jokic,
Jokic,
so Yo man, Litrin, how you doing, man? Tomorrow is game day, man. We are stoked. We're ready.
Yes, sir.
We're chomping at the bit.
The Dirty Birds.
What's up, Tobias?
What's up, Tobias? What's going on, man?
How you doing? Derek, the Seahawks fan. I only know about Matthews because the Broncos went after him when Miller went down this week, and he said no. But another problem is they aren't a real contender either. And it's it's playing in that thin air is also another thing that you got to think about.
Yeah, Denver's tough, man. It's just tough to play in that altitude, man. It's like guys can't breathe, bro. You can't breathe in regular.
Seriously, you got 30 pounds of gear on already, and then
it's tough. And then you want to come in now, like you don't even have time to like kind of acclimate to it. It's gonna be tough to just sign right now and just try to acclimate yourself to that regiment of the training to breathe in Denver. So that's going to be a tough trade.
Crazy though, Derek, that nobody still would be willing to go for the $2 million. Even Seattle at this point pouncing for a 1-year, $2 million deal. If that's the true cost.
I think it's because they know Matthews' stats are inflated. They had one of the best D lines out there. So of course, with Matthews running free with no double teams and everything else, he's going to look very solid. It goes to the same thing at Clowney. Like Clowney got double teamed, and it like in the scheme that he's in, it hurt his actual stats. So like a lot of teams aren't jumping at the bit to get these guys because they know that their stats are basically clouded.
It's true. They've got enough data on Matthews at this point that they know it's
he's washed. He's not the guy that he used to be.
Absolutely. B-Russ, so Collier is the new starter over Green. I was very interested to see that, B-Russ, and kind of surprised, frankly. That either means LJ came out and is a total stud or Green didn't take that next step. I have a feeling it's more Green didn't take a step, which is not ideal. I get that feeling too, Russ, but it's me also then trying not to fight up against being too negative before we actually get to the season and see what we got. And maybe there is something with Collier coming along. I think I might offer some of this is LG. So Rasheem Green's not that Leo end that I talked about. A little bit bigger. He's more of that traditional defensive end body type, a lot like LJ Collier is, the traditional 4-3 defensive ends. Mm-hmm. So the Leo end tends to be a guy about 10 to 15 pounds lighter than those traditional guys. So Rasheem probably wouldn't have been a fit where they could have thrown him over on that right side unless they were just looking to go really big on their defensive line. It was really both of those two guys were probably fighting for that starting 5 tech. I still would expect Rasheem to get some snaps as far as a rotational pass rusher goes, especially because LJ's not going to be there on 3rd down. So he still will get his snaps. They just won't come on the early downs as opposed to the late downs. Randall McDaniel says, is there a deal where we wait a week? The player's salary isn't guaranteed. Talking free agents like Matthews, Darius, and Stacks. Great point, Randall, and you're 100% on the button. So for you, those out there that don't know, with veterans, if you have a veteran on your team after the first week 1, they become vested for the full season. So if they're even $1 million salary is what they're making, they get that's all guaranteed through the rest of the year at that point. However, you wait the week, sign the week guy in week 2, want to get rid of him in week 7. You don't have to be on that same hook long term. So yeah, I could see that, Randall, being the case and why maybe some of these teams have waited because they didn't want to take that risk. Bring a guy in, gets injured, lose him for the year, and it's just money blown out the back door. Randall McDaniel says, what's your buddy's background again? Well, I'll let him give you his little.
Oh, yeah. So my background, basically, I went through the ranks in Mississippi, played high school, football in Mississippi. I got recruited by a couple schools, small schools, but I went actually junior college route. So I went to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. We won a national championship with that team. We had a lot of people that went to the NFL off that roster, a lot of people on the defensive side, a lot of people on the offensive side. Our quarterback was Greg Jennings. Jenkins, not Jennings, Greg Jenkins.
I was going to say, a receiver?
But he actually did. He converted to receiver. He played for the Raiders, so he converted to wide receiver. He was that good. So, we had a lot of talent. We had a running back that played for the Colts. I mean, you can just go on and on. We had a lot of talent on that team. I had a very heartbreaking surgery right before my freshman season. So I had a dislocation in my wrist. And the doctor basically said when he did the surgery, he said, hey, you'd be lucky to ever play football again. But luckily, I was able to finish my college career. I didn't go to the NFL. I had promised to go to the NFL, but that surgery, it was just kind of rough to get back in the groove of tackling, wrapping up and stuff like that. So it was just kind of tough to just kind of bounce back from the surgery from a high level standpoint. But I was projected to definitely to be a top pick in the NFL. So, but I lined up with guys, that were top notch. I had coaches that won Super Bowls for Baltimore that were DB coaches and things like that. So I got a lot of, training and background in top level defenses. So just a little bit of knowledge and background on me, guys.
He's got a nice national title ring too.
Yep,
that thing's fat.
Yep.
Tobias says, who's going to be our number 1 tight end and who do you believe will get most targets in the red zone, Disley or Olsen? I'll let him answer in a second. My answer on this is I think it goes back and forth this year. I think initially out the gate, I could see them going with Olsen and then sliding Disley, leaning back into Disley a little bit more, then back to Olsen. I think both of them, because of the injury situation, you've got to really, and we still think you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets, but there's got to be a little bit of balance to the snap count on both of them because Disley, you haven't been able to get him past 4 or 5 games of the year, and Olsen's got that foot that 35 years old, been broken multiple times.
I like Olsen. You know me, I always talk and tout about the veteran guys. These guys have a high level of IQ. It doesn't matter if they lose a step or anything like that on the field. I think these guys, they understand schemes. They understand how to get open. They don't necessarily have to be the most athletic guys. They're just very cerebral and they know leverage. They know everything about the game, so they'll be able to get open and make sure that he's open for Russ and be a safety valve for Russ at all times. So I think Olsen's actually going to get have a better season.
Nice having a smart guy there. We've had a lot of young guys at
Right.
the skill positions, and having a guy out there with a little bit more maybe going on upstairs as far as just he's got the veteran, he's got the wisdom.
Just
playing.
football savvy. That's all.
Randall McDaniel says first pass play is a pass to DK. My prediction, big game. I was going to say a slant. You hit me on a slant. I could see it. I could see it on it comes off the slant. And we got, of course, the very interesting thing to watch in this game, folks. And this is just from a geeky football standpoint. They've been working together. They've got the chemistry. He knows the talent. He knows the work ethic. He wants DK to get big as much as, and not saying anything bad about Tyler. It's just Tyler is kind of what he is at this point. A super efficient receiver, a great number 2, but DK is a number 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Metcalf takes a huge step in year 2, understanding and seeing, defensive schemes and what's going to be thrown at him. I think he's going to settle into that number 1 receiver and spot on the Seahawks.
Yeah, I look from 75 catches this year, Grand Andrew. I definitely see him up in that range. D Nugget, let Russ cook. Absolutely. Tobias Larson, what's your thoughts on the running back extensions for both Kamara and Cooks? Too expensive? Hopefully we won't break the bank with Carson. I'm going to let you answer this one first, but then I'll answer next.
Kamara was smart. I think Cooks, I don't know why he signed a 5-year. Like, the guy can't stay healthy for half a year. So I don't understand why a long deal on the Cooks. That just threw me. I mean, regardless of the money, but just the years of that contract didn't make sense to me. So
I agree with him. Kamara, to me, Tobias, is a fundamental part of that New Orleans offense and what they do, especially with Breeze and his limited arm strength at this point in his career. They had to make that signing. There's not another Alvin Kamara out there that they're going to put into that line. Cooks, I'm the same way. The injury history, he's a good back to me. To me, I've never really saw him up in that upper level of the Ezekiel Elliott's or the Christian McCaffrey types. I just don't hold him into that level. And then you got the injury on top of it.
Then you got the injury concerns, and you want to lock a guy up for 5 years, like. I don't know. That's not smart to me.
But then this also breaks you to the last question you asked, Tobias, and this is a part that is being brought up by a lot of Seahawks fans right now. Should we get Carson on an extension? And I've maintained no.
Yeah, I said no.
You don't, and I don't think that the coaching staff at this point is going to give him, because I think they'd give it to him right now. They would try to get the deal, whatever marginal deal they could get, they would do it this year if they were planning to do it. I think the fact that he's been injured 2 of his first 3 years to major injury, lost those seasons essentially, and then the fumbling problem, it just holds him back from being able to get that money. And he's got to understand why. You lead the league in fumbles.
If he was more durable, I believe they'll be at the table right now making a deal. But there's so many question marks when it comes to Carson's like health and durability and things like that. And like I said, the fumbling doesn't help. That's kind of like,
it's just the sealer for me why they wouldn't do it. That's just kind of the seal. If it's on the edge of being a no, that just makes it the full no.
I feel like they got a great value in him, so they're just kind of like squeezing every bit that they can, and they'll move on from Carson, I think.
Which is the smart way to go. This team shouldn't pay running backs. Just like I don't think they should pay – we'll get to cornerbacks in a second, but I don't think they should pay cornerbacks either, not in this zone scheme, unless you have a guy like Richard Sherman who can jump routes and take the ball away. If I got that, the guy's smart and cerebral enough to know when he can jump a route or what, then I'll pay it. But otherwise, I'm going to just try to bring guys in cheap and run them in my scheme.
Yeah.
So Derek Seahawk fan was also saying, did you see the Cook and Kamara deals? The Cook one, I don't know because he gets hurt too much, but Kamara was a massive overpay. Yeah, I think they were going to have to overpay on Kamara because he's just such a unique talent and he's such a pure fit for that offense and the way what they want to do.
Kamara played it smart. He's got a lot of leverage in that negotiation. They don't have too much time. Their window to win the Super Bowl is
this year.
Exactly. So I mean, they had to pretty much do whatever Kamara needed, as far as his contract. So he forced their hand, and like I said, he played it smart and got his money. So we never hate on a guy that's getting his money.
They're looking in New Orleans to tear that thing down to the studs pretty much after this year. If you look at their salary cap and how over the cap they are as they move in, because they're one of those kick the cans down convert this to salary bonus, convert this to salary bonus.
They want to move forward with Taysom Hill, I believe, after this season. If like I said, Breeze might call it quits. He might get injured this year and just call it quits. So who knows? I
could see it happening. He's been beat up a bunch the last couple of years. D Nugget, our O-line and D-line are weak, so let Russ cook. I'm with you, D Nugget. That's not the worst of logic. DBX, can't wait to see Marquise Blair play. Received a lot of praise during training camp. Yeah, I'm very interested to see how this plays out with him at the slot. A guy never played slot corner D. I mean, can you speak to this as a safety did you have to go up into the slot much?
The slot is tough, but Blair is not a huge guy, and I believe his hips are good enough to settle in that position. He might start off kind of rocky, but it's something I think he can make a smooth transition to and eventually get comfortable. The slot is so much different because you got so many different route trees that you're able to run. You're not just going against the outside receiver that's got maybe 3 or 4 routes that he's going to hit you with. The slide is going to open things up. They also motion across the field that creates havoc and stuff and creates confusion. It all just depends on, like, I think Seattle is actually going to put a little bit of different scheme in their defense this year, just to make sure that they're not bland and boring for Jamal Adams. So we might see a couple different things, included, because Jamal Adams is going to bring a different element to this defensive core, and he's going to want to run different, more less simplistic schemes that they've been running so far, so he doesn't fall asleep at the wheel. So depending on if they add another layer of their defense into the scheme. But I also think, like I said, the slot is a little bit different because, like I said, you do have a lot of motions and a lot of different cues and things to read. And you're, as a safety, you're gonna cue the quarterback, you're gonna cue the running back, and you're gonna cue certain offensive linemen to see what the play is going to be. You're going to have all different cues and schemes on who you're reading when you're in the slot, covering the slot corner. So it's going to be different, but I think he can make the transition and adjust.
I'm sort of intrigued by the thought process of running some exotic zones where you've got Blair and Adams sort of next to each other with the thought process of they're there to whack. So they're going to let the short completions come over the middle, but they're almost working in tandem in their positioning to get the guy as he's coming across that middle and make him pay the price, which they haven't done over the last few years.
Exactly. With disguises and things like that, I think Jamal Adams, he runs that scheme because, like I said, LSU is a more sophisticated. He started off from a more sophisticated system, so he understands how to disguise a defense. He can be up in the box, and then as soon as they snap the ball, he's in the deep third. So he might bring that element to this defense this year, which I hope he takes us to the next level when it comes to more sophisticated schemes and develop us from that standpoint, so we can start tricking these quarterbacks into some errant throws and interceptions and get some turnovers. So hopefully that's the reason why they're so high on Jamal Adams this year. So
we're starving for it, man. We're starving for that kind of more of the exotic, more of the complicated stuff going on. Randall McDaniel says, is the running back split a way to keep carries down, thinking hurting stats makes his value less? I don't think that they would do it if they were taking, I think what you're saying in that, Randall, is that they would sort of be cutting back maybe some of Carson's carries because then he's a little less yardage. Maybe he doesn't hold them up over the barrel on a contract extension. I might be reading too much into what you're saying there. But yes, the theory behind it is that you have a multitude of running backs to where none of them have to take that pounding because it adds up. I mean, the Carson injuries that happened have happened at the end of the year, and they've happened after he's got the 250 touches onto his back. So we've seen that it adds up. You want to keep him, to me, under 250 carries this year, under 250 touches to both of the two guys, especially once you're getting Rashad Penny back midseason and you can kind of work him in there as well. There's been a lot of history of great teams with the 3 running back sets and just being able to rotate those guys in. You don't always need just the bell cow or even just 2 guys. Randall McDaniel says, Kamara and Dalvin got broken off today. What we don't want is Carson trying too hard and coughing up the ball. Well, and here's the thing. That's the problem. That I don't think he's going to do that because he knows right now he's got that reputation sitting on his shoulders, and it's specifically preventing him from getting a contract extension probably. I mean, it's one of the two things. If he has better durability and the fumble issues, probably gets paid. If he has fumble issues or no fumble issues and then some durability issues, probably still gets paid, just like Dalvin Cook. But you got both of them. So I think he's going to be very protective of the ball, but I also don't know that I believe that fumbles are really cured. I've only seen one guy in my life in the NFL level who had a fumble problem. Yeah, that's the only one I can think of. Can you think of anybody that had a fumble problem that was like got over it?
Shoot, they're talking about Taylor out of Indianapolis. They saying he's got fumble problems in training camp.
Oh, so, and then that went back to college with him.
If we get into the regular season, you start seeing them coughing up. It's just one of those things. Like, hey, if a guy's having issues, a guy's just got issues. Like, I don't know what else you can do for fumble issues.
We've seen it before. We've seen guys have fumble problems. It's just that some guys just have an issue with holding on to the football. Man, it is inherent. Randall says 5 sacks and 3 turnovers. That'd be a win if you do that, man. 5 sacks and 3 turnovers is absolutely a win. Tobias Larson says, sometimes I hate the Seahawks management. I hate the management of the Seahawks. How does Pete and Scheider not understand that if we cut KJ, we would have had Clowney over KJ any day, and Barton would have been fine at will. I don't disagree with anything that you said there, Tobias. I'm right along with you. I don't understand this offseason from the standpoint of how you allotted the assets. You had $50 million to go out and spend, how you didn't manage to fit a guy like Clowney within that, knowing you're only paying $3.6 million to Adams this year. it's a head scratcher to me, especially when you look at the BJ Finney deal, and BJ is going to be a backup center for you now. And okay, Shell starts for you, but Cedric Abuja, how much time? You could go a lot of different ways with the guys they signed and move that money around to find a way to have thrown Clowney 1 year, $18 million deal, and you beat Tennessee then by $3 million. He probably signs at that point. But Seattle didn't look like they were willing to go there. And even Carroll mentioned this last week saying, yeah, we kind of moved on early in the offseason a little bit. I mean, we were still in it, but we moved on. Like, what? You got Brenson Mayo and Bruce Irvin and said, okay, we're good. I don't know. It pisses me off too, Tobias. It angers me as well. Ewan Tyrell, go Hawks. How you doing, Ewan? I hope we throw the ball more too as well. Seattle Rain, appreciate you guys. Time to get it. Absolutely, man. We can't wait, man. We're under 24 hours now, so starting to get that. Just want to go run through a wall.
Worried about the O-line?
Couldn't be more excited for the season, but I'm a bit worried about our O-line. With all the let Russ cook talk, do you think our O-line is up to the task?
They've been up for the task. They ain't blocked nobody in 4 years. What are you talking about? They're ready.
I tend to think it's going to be a little bit of a better over what it was last year, Seattle Rain, but part of that is just because of how putridly bad the line was, especially by the end of the year. I mean, Joey Hunt is not a guy you want out there taking snaps at 5'10" at the center position. Mm-hmm. And DJ Fluker had backed up a little bit. Jermaine Ifedi's being moved to guard with Chicago Bears because that speaks to what they think about him as a tackle. So by that basis alone, just flipping out kind of that crap, can we call it? Mm-hmm. Just that garbage, you're going to at least get to a little bit of a marginal improvement. Damian Lewis has been one of our stars in training camp. He's a solid guy there. It looks like a right guard. You guys know I love me some Ethan Posick at center, not guard, but at center. And I think if Mike Iupati can glue those ankles together, the duct tape and glue and all that, he's still a fairly pretty good player out there. So I'm not as worried about the offensive line as I am about the defensive line. I'm worried about the behind Dwayne Brown, my left tackle. The guy's 35 years old as left tackle, and we got Cedric Abuja coming in. If he goes down, I'm scared to death. Scared to death about that.
Luke Scarlett, do you think DK is going to go off against Atlanta's secondary? I'm gonna let you go with that one.
All right. Well, so Atlanta's going to want to play a lot of that single high safety look, right? Which is mean they're going to have their corners dropping into off coverage and then bailing. So the way it's going to be harder, in my opinion, for DK to go off in this game for those big moonshots that Russell likes to throw him, because of the fact that they're going to be protecting against that deep ball. Atlanta's a lot like Seattle's defense. They're going to bend but not break. They're going to bleed but not die. They're going to allow you to get up the field, but right around the field goal range, they start to tighten up. They might bring a few more blitzes when they didn't before. So I think he can get there, but it's going to take 10 catches to get to 120, 130 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if he's worked with Russell and got that chemistry down a little bit more, I think he's going to have a little bit more success. They're going to open up his route tree. And they're going to see a lot more out of DK this year. And like I said, he's going up against AJ Terrell probably, most likely, on the outside. So like you say, you got a second guy dealing with a rookie. He's supposed to win that matchup. So I think he's going to have a big game. Like I said, I don't want to jinx it, but I hope he has a huge game.
I do too. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. So he is going to get the targets by Russ in this game. I would expect him at 10, 11, 12 targets in this game to get that opportunity to go out and eat. So I think so. I don't know if it's a huge game, Luke, but I could see him going for 100 just from the target aspect. Randall McDaniel says, I should let you do that. It's weird for me. Randall McDaniel, who's our kickoff punt returner? Well, I think they still got Tyler Lockett as the punt returner. I was watching in training camp some of those other guys try to field punts, and it wasn't pretty. It was a lot of bobbling and sort of a few steps to get going. Tyler's still so smooth at it. I think they're going to still lean back there. Kick return, though, that's a little bit harder to say at this point. I don't have a good answer for you on that. And we don't have any training camp to go off of, so I don't even know if they've been trying back there.
Speed or anything.
No, I mean, you could do Rashad Penny theoretically because he did a lot of that back at San Diego State. And he was really good in that role, but he's out for the first few weeks. Mm-hmm. So, and a guy like DJ Dallas is going to have the speed to do that kickoff returning. So I don't have a good answer for you.
I miss the days back in the day where your cornerback was always your kick returner.
Oh, that was awesome. Like that. Especially punt returner. I think cornerbacks make the best punt returners. Mm-hmm. They do, because they just have that wild, they don't think like a receiver or running back.
Exactly. They're a little bit more reckless.
Yeah.
Pockets and lanes. It's more exciting to me. I don't know.
They're not trying to protect themselves as much. And I got to pronounce this guy's name right. I always mispronounce it. So it's the Jokic. Yovan, I'm so excited to see our guys on the field. I believe we will show some signs of pass rush. I'm fired up to see our improved secondary, especially #Prez. I am too, man. It's part of what I've said about this is that the Seahawks have embraced the new model. It's something that I don't necessarily 100% fully agree with at all times, being that you build from the outside in as opposed to the inside out. Me and D both come from the old school of you build your defensive line to protect your linebackers and defensive backs. The other is not true the other way. But Pro Football Focus is telling us, no, this is where it's going. Build your secondary first, then build the inside after that, outside in. So they are embracing it.
It's a copycat league, I guess, because it's a more pass-heavy league. Things are kind of transitioning the opposite way. Maybe we need to adjust to the new kind of like league, but it's just hard to stomach to just say that, like, hey, we're going to focus on from the outside in and build our team that kind of way. But maybe this is the way the league is going. Who knows? We'll see. Atlanta's built the kind of the same way. They kind of got better secondary than they do have front four. So we'll see. It's yet to be determined on if that works. But you'll see a copycat league with a lot of teams doing the exact same thing. So I don't know. We'll see this season, I guess.
It's going to be one of the interesting philosophies of the modern age to see if it does play out this way that they're telling us, because it goes completely in opposite of what old school football was and what we were all kind of raised on, which it makes sense. I mean, on a theoretical plane, it makes sense because the game has gone more pass happy, and that's just where it is going further. So on the side of the ball to see Posick at center, and our new side. Oh, you're saying you're excited. You're excited for Posick. I'm very excited for Posick too. Hovan, of course, all you all know it there. I made the prediction long in the offseason that I saw Ethan Posick as the starter ahead of BJ Finney from day one here, because he is a pure center fit, and I think that they've never really tried him out at that position fully. He's one of my more excited players because you're finally sliding the guy into his more natural spot.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Randall said, you from Tupelo? No, I'm not from Tupelo. So I went to school. It's called Laurel High School in Laurel, Mississippi. And then went to Mississippi Gulf Coast, which is in Perkinston, if you've ever heard of that. But it's on the coast of Mississippi. Like I said, we won the Mississippi Bowl and things like that. So, yeah, but I know what Tupelo is.
I think I've heard of Tupelo.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a song or something, a country song talking about Tupelo? Oh, no, you're good. How many yards does DK get tomorrow? I'm thinking 85 and a touchdown would be solid. I think that's about right. I have a hard time. Do we have a stream crash? No, we should be good. Oh, we back? It looks like we're back.
Oh, okay.
Are we okay, guys? Sorry if the stream crashed. We're on Wi-Fi, so this thing is going to be sometimes it might be a little dodgy at times, go in and out, but it looks like everybody's okay, so I think we're okay. Are we all right? Let me go to the bottom real quick. Let me see. Are we okay, guys? Everybody good? Okay, we're good. Sorry, we're gonna have a couple of breakups because it is on Wi-Fi here, and I tried to get the upgraded.
It looks good.
We're okay. Yeah. All right. We back. Randall says, if Dorsett's out, who's third wide receiver? I'm over Moore. I think Swain has a big upside. David Moore, not a fan of David Moore, nor quarterback play at Florida. So Brant Swain, you're saying so about if Brett Swain's stats and some of the production was maybe limited because they didn't have the greatest of play over there at Florida. I think that another really great receiver who's going to be a high-end pick there too, probably took some of his targets away. I don't think that Swain's coming out there as a rookie in the week one. Moore's going to get the snaps over him. I will say though, they've been playing and they've been titillating us a little bit with DK Metcalf coming out of the slot. And some of this goes to why I think they've embraced Marquise Blair going into the slot. Is that
didn't they pick what's the wide receiver that they
Dorsett?
Got? No, the other wide receiver.
Tyler?
No, the other wide receiver that Seahawks got back that they had.
Ursula? Josh Gordon.
Huh?
Josh Gordon?
No, Josh Gordon. No. What's his name? I can't even think of his name. I'll think of it, guys. I'll think of it.
That's what happens to me. I get it on the tip of my tongue. You got DK Tyler, Josh Gordon, John Ursula, David Moore.
No, the small, slender guy that they re-signed that Seahawks had before.
I don't know.
Paul
Richardson. They released him.
Oh, they released him already?
Yeah, they released him already. But I think that had to do with the fact that the practice squad, you can hold 8 veterans on the practice squad now. So I think they're doing that for that reason. But Randall, I do think that they've talked. I think David Moore, the fact he took the pay cut, the fact he's got the 2 years of thing here, I think he'd be a little bit above Swain. But I don't know that either of those guys are going to see the field a lot necessarily. A little bit when the 3 wide receivers, but I think the 2 tight end sets and then some of the wide, I think that'll restrict a little bit of that. Michael Simon says, I've heard of negative talk about the Seahawks. Some writers have them going 3-13 this year because their defense and offensive line are so bad. Well, that's overtly negative, Michael. Then that's being silly.
Russ gonna get you 7.
Yeah, I mean, Russ on his own 7. Like you've added Jamal Adams. Yeah, you've lost some on your defensive line. There's no admitting that. And certainly this year could turn into a shootout after shootout after shootout, where it suddenly
it's
becomes
not going to be pretty, but we're going to get it done.
I can't see 3-13 under any scenario whatsoever, Michael. I think in the worst case scenario, to me, this team is a 9-7 team. And the worst case scenario, I probably got them about 11-5-ish right now where we're standing. But a lot of that I have that much.
I'd say worst case is 8-8 to me.
Yeah, I could see even maybe potentially that. I mean,
worst case scenario is 8-8.
It is concerning, Michael. Like, the lines are concerning. They are. I'd say more the defensive line than the offensive line, just because it is worse than it was last year, and you were pretty much league worst, I think. So, Snoop Dogg, thank you for another show and with an awesome guest. Yes, sir, man.
Snoop Doggy Dog. Appreciate y'all, everybody.
Derek, the Seahawks fan, Jameis Winston's going to carry the Saints in the future. Well, they've hedged their bets with Taysom Hill by signing Jameis Winston as well. You're right there. I mean, if they like the development,
they like turnovers.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is Jameis going to develop at this point? Is Sean Payton going to be able to put him together? Because here's the thing: Sean Payton did get Drew Brees and take him to another level, but Drew Brees was still a very good functional quarterback before he arrived with New Orleans. So a guy that is that turnover prone and fumbles and all that too. I think he's not just an interception guy.
I mean, he's just a knucklehead.
He is. Did you see his
off the field?
Did you see we're going to eat the football and he starts licking his fingers on the field?
The guy's just immature. He's got some growing up to do. Like I said, these NFL teams, they don't care how much talent you got. Talent at the end of the day don't get you there. Like, they want you to be a pro. They want you to be mature about things, and they wouldn't have signed Taysom Hill if they didn't have big plans for him. Taysom Hill is, he's probably the most underrated person on this team. They're still going to utilize him in all different types of positions this year just to get him on the field because they know he's dynamic in so many different ways. And like I said, they like that. They wouldn't have gave him another contract if they weren't putting him in the plans long term. So I think Taysom Hill's on deck. You may be right with Jason Winston. Yeah, I don't know. He's a turnover machine. I don't like it.
Yeah, I can't see it. I think they just took a shot on him and they're hoping they can round him out. But Anthony Habib, would you rather re-sign Shaquem Griffin or Chris Carson? I'd rather re-sign Shaquem Griffin, but I got in a great argument this week with Softy on Twitter regarding Shaquem Griffin. We kind of had a nice little back and forth. It was actually pretty nice. It didn't get mean or anything like that. The thing with this is this on Shaquem Griffin, and I'm going to let D piggyback on what he thinks with this because his cornerback, I don't want to pay him right now. Shaquem Griffin for the first 3 years. First year below league average. Second year by his own assessment, he played at a D+ rating. Then last year, he finally gives us a good, not great season over at the cornerback position to become a Pro Bowl alternate. So I'm going to pay him off of one good but not great season out of his first 3 years. I don't feel like that's. I want another year of information, of data. If he can duplicate what he did last year into this year, then okay, you get paid.
I'm gonna go logic. Like Shaquem Griffin, he's not worth 7 points. So I'm gonna go Chris Carson with this over Shaquem Griffin. I mean, it's just kind of a no-brainer. Carson's gonna put points on the board. How do you win games? You can win with points on the board. So he's not taking the ball away. He's not, returning. He's not doing anything to help us effectively win the game.
This is my big issue with re-signing Shaquem Griffin is that if you're going to get paid as a cornerback, and everybody likes to, this last week freaked out because Tre'Davious White got paid and because Jalen Ramsey set the market. They go, you got to pay this guy now. If rising tide raises all boats. And I go, who gets paid at the cornerback position if you don't intercept the football?
Right. Yeah.
The guy's got 3 career interceptions in 3 years. He had 1 interception last year.
Carson's worth way more to the team than I think Griffin is.
I'm not at this point. I'm not paying him right now. He's got to do another year. I need to see it on the field. If he shows me this year, maybe but even within this scheme, you can make the argument as well, folks. We probably shouldn't be paying quarterbacks within this scheme because it's so zone heavy. Because you're not asking the guy to play man-on-man as much. You've seen this played out in the way the Seahawks philosophy in the front office looks at this. They've never once signed a big-time cornerback free agent on the market in 10 years here. They've not spent a first-round pick on a quarterback. They've not spent a second-round pick on a cornerback. It's a devalued position within this scheme. It just is. So it's one of those things where it makes me very hesitant to put a guy on an extension unless he's like a Richard Sherman type and he's actually taking the ball away.
Tobias, do you believe Taylor will see the field this year? If yes, when do you think his chances will come, and how far behind is he?
He is like light years behind right now, Tobias. Light years behind. He's not been on the football field to even practice during this truncated training camp. No off-season camps, no mini camps. I honestly have a hard time seeing him able to make an impact this year. I just do. I know he's got a lot of freaky stuff to him, but it's coming off that injury and then not having the training time. It's really hard for me to see him getting maybe past a sack or two near the end of the year. I just don't. I think it's kind of a redshirt year for him at this point. Nessie, I guess 100 there, 100% they're going to re-sign Shaq. It does sound like they are in negotiations with it, Nessie, and it may come down the pike that they do that signing. I'm not going to be happy with it though when I see the numbers and this guy's being paid at right near where Tre'Davious White is from a number standpoint, or only a couple million off, because he just isn't that kind of impactful player at the cornerback position.
Dmack sounds like the last chance you still. No disrespect, none taken, man. Hey, it is what it is, bro. It is what it is.
Anthony Abib, I like the Shaq. I like Shaq. The thing with running back is that it's so easy to replace. I do, but I think that those two positions on this particular team are the two easiest positions to replace on this whole team. I think you can always find a running back in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. And I think as far as a cornerback, we saw even with Shaquem Griffin, you got him in the late 3rd round. You know, it's like you can get these guys later on. They are available to fit within your scheme. Randall McDaniel says, do you think there is some sort of wink-wink with Schneider and Shaquille regarding an extension and Shaquem? Take a few M's less and we'll keep your bro around? I'd love to believe that, Randall. I'd love to think that, but it sure is hard to it's hard to necessarily see that play out that way.
Yeah,
you know,
not in pro sports, ain't no wink. You can't take that to the bank. I don't know.
Especially because he's the only guy making the money from the two, right? Like he's the only guy that's actually going to get paid at the end of the day. Shaquem's best case scenario is to make it through the league 4, 5, 6 years. And unless he just turns into a pass rushing demon, he's a league minimum player at that point. So there's only one of those brothers getting paid. And I want to give every dollar, dime, and cent at that point.
It doesn't happen like that. They're family, but at the end of the day, it's separate. It's not tied in together.
Nessie, I guess, says they aren't running base defense this year. I can guarantee you that. Oh, they'll be running base defense, Nessie. It will be running base, but they won't hold on to it like they did last year where they ran at 66% of their defensive snaps, which was double the second place team behind them, the Cardinals, who only ran at 33% of their snaps. It'll get back down to probably where the Cardinals are. You'll see about 25% to 30% or so, but you will still see some base because they're going to want to get Bruce Irvin over there at the Sam, KJ at the Will, Bobby at the middle, especially if they know it's going to be a running play or a high likelihood that it's going to be a running play. Cameron Hughes, what's up, Cameron Hughes? You've been killing with your videos lately, man. The second episode of my documentary. The second episode of my documentary should be out in the next couple of days. I will keep a lookout for that, Cameron. I'm going to be just moving and on my way to Hawaii here, but I will maybe I'll catch you here in the airport or something. Oh, you're going up a little bit faster. No, you're okay. You're right. TJ, what's up, TJ? How you doing, man? Sorry, I'm late. I was at the doctor getting X-rays on my shoulder. I hope your shoulder's okay, buddy.
Yeah, get better, TJ.
Michael Simon asks, what happened to Brian Schneider? I don't know. Special teams coach, if you guys aren't aware, just left the team for personal reasons. Certainly our special teams unit has not been that good over the last few years. Mm-hmm. So I'm not particularly concerned about losing a special teams coach. He's not one of the top in the league or even upper level. Yeah. So I'm okay.
Not a huge concern. Special teams can make it without having their necessarily dedicated coach right there by their side.
Especially now with the kickoffs you can send to the back of the end zone, and most punt returns aren't even being taken back now.
The special teams out of the game.
They are. I mean, they're trying to get there. So I'm not worried about that. Cameron Hughes says, am I stupid for thinking we could lose the Dolphins? We never went Florida. I mean, we could maybe lose, but I'm not. Does Fitzpatrick or rookie Tua doesn't scare me. Mm-hmm. So I'm not. There's not a lot about the Dolphins that freaked me out in that game. I feel pretty good about it. Corey Andrews says, any idea who's starting other than cornerback Quentin Dunbar? What does he mean by that? Mm-hmm. Any idea who's starting other than cornerback Dunbar? Well, I don't think that we know for certain that Dunbar's starting this next week. In fact, I think it's probably going to be Trey Flowers who's starting this week over at that other cornerback position. They're going to get them both in, though. It sounds like there'll be a rotational basis where they're at least going to get them both some snaps, and who puts the best. This is that old Pete Carroll competition's everything. They literally will go live wire this and try two different guys to see. We've seen them do it on lines and stuff with guys to see who blocks better over a game. So it's not the worst way. It's a little odd when you do it that way, like trying to get some data to make a choice on something, but
that old school competing, I don't know. It's whack, but that's just what it is with Pete Carroll.
Yeah, it's his thing. Corey, it seems like Trey's kind of slightly got the job, but Dunbar hasn't had enough of a chance to really get out there and show himself either. He's missed a lot of training camp and then been out for personal issue on a day. Do we know who's starting at corner? Going to be fun to watch who gets what reps. Yeah, like I was just saying, I think it's going to be a rotational situation, Y2K, where you get a Flowers probably starts out there, but throughout the game, we'll probably see some Dunbar implemented in as well. And then they'll go off the tape and then probably decide over the next 2 or 3 weeks who wins out on that. Snoop Dogg, if we win the turnover battle, do we win in Atlanta? Do you expect a better turnover ratio this year across the whole season? Last year, we ended up with plus 12 takeaways. Yeah, that's one of the places, if you look at defensively last year, this is interesting. We were god-awful in every realm of defense. Big plays, yards per carry, overall total yardage, sacks, pressures, all of it was god-awful. The one place you were top 5 was turnovers, and it's no coincidence. Pete Carroll's literally got a day of the week that he has called Turnover Tuesday, which is about the offense trying to keep from turning over the ball and the defense trying to turn over the ball. And that plus 12 takeaways would have looked a whole lot better if Chris Carson didn't have 15 fumbles last year. Exactly. So you will actually be one of the better teams in the league at your takeaways at the end of the day. In fact, I would expect him almost every single week to be winning that particular stat because of how protective Russell is with the ball, how they limit sometimes the offensive risks, that kind of thing. And then defensively,
it's a love-hate thing with turnovers. Coaches love them when they're on the opposite side. They hate them when they have turnovers. So, I mean, but yes, whoever wins the turnover battle pretty much is going to have the advantage in the game. You give Russell more touches than normal, then he's going to be very dangerous and dynamic.
And this is one of the reasons that Carroll's adopted the mantra, it's all about the ball, for instance. He's gone off the stat that this was back 20 years ago. He had his guys run statistics on games that looked at things like who has more big plays in the game tends to be the one who wins like 80% of the time. And the same thing is true with the turnover. He who wins the turnover battle wins 80% of the time. So Carroll reverse engineered that and said, I'm not going to give up big plays, and I'm going to win the turnover battle every week. And he thinks, and I'm going to have a high chance of winning the game just based off of that alone. It's very simplistic, but it's what he's used, and it's worked.
Y2K high. AP's fumbling improved. Still like an issue, but he did it a lot more when he was young, I feel. I think he was more bullish when he was young. He was trying to run everything over in the damn kitchen. And notice that that style is not going to give him the longevity that he's looking for. So that might be a direct correlation. It may not. I don't know.
And yeah, I think like you kind of hit on it, Y2K. He did improve, but like it was always still an issue. I remember back a few years ago, we were playing Minnesota in Minnesota, and Cam Chancellor was able to rip that ball out of Adrian's hands at a very key moment in that game to win that game. So yeah, it's something that can be maybe improved on a little bit, but it certainly seems to be something that still remains with you. It's a part of you if it's a part of you coming out the box.
Corey Andreas disagree with Tobias, which is cool. This channel is not one of those channels where you can't have your own opinion. Hey, everybody's opinion, it counts. Everybody, like I said, right or wrong, we all just share our opinion and we move forward. This is a big boy channel here.
That's 100%, Corey. We like disagreement here, man. That's how we all get stronger in our views on what we think and believe with this team. Jason Hornsby, hey brother, it's almost game time. Where are you watching the game tomorrow? I'm gonna be over at this guy's house. I was thinking about having an event, you guys, doing something like the Cove in Linwood or something like that, but it's the pandemic's out there. I wouldn't want to get one of you guys sick coming out and visiting me. Exactly. So I'm gonna go over at his place and he's gonna get to watch me.
We'll probably show you our setup. We'll stream a little bit, show you our setup and go about it that way.
Yeah, well, man, that was sweet. We'll give you a little peek into it. But yeah, I'm gonna check over at his place and just hang. Keep it low key. We'll do an event next year once all this pandemic stuff's chilled out. 12 plus was good for a tie for third in the league last year for what it's worth. Wow, that's awesome. And I'm not surprised because when you are top 5 and turning the ball over the league, and then you have Russell Wilson who doesn't turn the ball over, just by basic logic, you would think that you'd be in one of the upper level of the league. But I think that number can even improve off of last year. There's no reason not to think you shouldn't be number 1 or vying for that number 1 position just by the general way that you run your football team, by the way that you go to protect the ball and try to get it takeovers. I think Jamal Adams is going to be worth 5-6 forced fumbles alone. It seems like if he stays to what he's done.
Nessie says Collier is going to break out this year.
Nessie, guess I hope so. Nessie. I mean, if Collier busts out, and I'll let D give his thoughts on Collier because I've talked Collier to death and I probably run him through the room.
That's your guy. I don't even. It is what it is. I hate every pick that Seattle picks. So like Collier, hey, it is what it is.
I really hope Nessie, if he can just give us a run stuffing defensive end at this point, I'm ecstatic with that production. I cannot be talked into the fact that he's going to be turning into a dynamic pass rusher. He only wins with power. Power is the toughest thing to translate from the college level to the pro level. Everyone at the pros is strong. You got to have dip, rip, bend. You've got to have a variety of hand usage. You've got to be able to do just variety of things to be effective. This is what we're going to see on the inverse of this in Alton Robinson, who brings all of these to the play right out the gate, right from the jump. But LJ didn't. LJ was very limited as a pass rusher coming out of college with only one really good year of production. Corey Andrews says, why overpay for Clowney and lose a starter in KJ? He's still great. I don't know if KJ is still great, Corey. KJ, yes, I know he was top 5 in the league in tackles. That had a lot to do with the fact Seattle's defense was on the field and allowing a lot of yards and a lot of extra plays, and so a lot of opportunities.
Every running back got to the second level instantaneously. So, yeah. I mean, it only equates to your linebackers having a shit ton of tackles because they're right in their lap every snap.
And if you take away the tackles, did he have a better year, bounce back year from what he's been over the last few years where his play started to really dip? Sure, he did. Was he an upper level Pro Bowl linebacker at that point? No. And it speaks to the fact that we're hearing that Jordan Brooks, for instance, is going to come down on third downs and be your will linebacker. I think that speaks a little bit to they don't trust his speed, especially in passing situations, as much as they did in the past.
Tobias says, I want to hear Dmack's prediction on who's more impactful this year, Flowers or Dunbar. Here's the head scratcher for me is I like both guys, and we go back and forth on Flowers. We love Flowers. We love his tape. We love everything that he's been doing and how he's been getting better. He's trending upwards, and I feel like all the stuff that Dunbar has had to go through in this offseason, he's kind of trending downwards. So when you say impact this year, that's a kind of an open question. The impact means that he's going to be more disruptive. He's going to have more tackles, more interceptions, PBUs, pass breakups, things like that. So when you say impact, I think Flowers is going to have a more impact this year than Dunbar, just because of that whole trend. I think Dunbar is trending downwards as far as his confidence, as far as being able to get that kick step down, being able to get the scheme down, and also just acclimate with the guys. Like when you're playing DB, you have to feel comfortable. And this is one of the things that I've seen with Shaquem Griffin. He understands what Adams means for the defense. He's the quarterback of the defense, and he's going to make it a lot easier for these cornerbacks to feel comfortable in their technique and understand that they got help over the top because this guy's a cerebral guy. He knows everything. He knows plays. He knows route recognitions. He knows, and so he's already on it. It looks like
I know
we got a little
unstable connection here, guys. Sorry, we're back.
We're back. So you got this leader and this general now that's going to give these confidence, and I think that bodes well when you talk about Flowers and his progression. Was it year 3 or year?
This is year 3.
Year 3 for Flowers. Yeah. So I mean, I just think Flowers is going to do a lot better playing with Adams and just piggyback off of his confidence and his leadership in that backfield. And
the D-Mac's point, if you normally have your free safety and strong safety out there, they sometimes flip, but normally what you're going to have, of course, is we saw last year, Trey Flowers, speaking to your point on this, was so much more comfortable once you had Quandre Diggs back there at free safety, which is his closest safety normally over the top in coverage. Likewise with Shaquille, I know Adams is going to box a lot, but there'll be times that they got him going single high too when they throw things around. So that should help him as being the nearest cornerback to him as well, speaking to your point on that. So I think, yep, I'm with Dmack.
You think Flowers is going to have him?
Here's the thing. I'm biased against Flowers. They all know this. I've been on Flowers' train for a while, and I thought the Dunbar thing was over. The thing I worry about Dunbar, and you can speak to, he played so much man-on-man last year with the Washington Redskins in their scheme. Mm-hmm. It was, and now he's got to go all to zone with now adopting the kickstep technique, which the Redskins weren't adopting because they were playing. If you're doing man-on-man, you're not doing kickstep, right? Right. You're staying with the back pocket of the receiver. And maybe it's a good time for you to explain a little bit on what the kickstep is to folks.
The kickstep is going to be very hard for Dunbar. The reason why Seattle, they always like plucking DBs like in the later rounds because they have to teach these DBs from like day one on this kickstep because it's a different technique. You got your back against basically the sidelines. So you go from being all up into somebody, you're checking the wide receiver at the line, not giving them any room. You're doing all these different techniques. And it just like you need those reps to have the confidence to just even do it on game day. So you go from not having the confidence and just building on every day in training camp. You're limited in reps and snaps, and then you got to jump into a game where you're like pretty much trying to figure it out on the fly with, superstar wide receivers. It's just not going to transition to you get beat 1-2 times in that technique, and you're going to just go down and down and down in your confidence. And right now, he doesn't look confident at all, even right now as it stands. So I'm just looking at the scenarios of just one guy trending upwards and the other guy trending downwards, and it just to me points to that Flowers going to have a better year than Dunbar.
I think that's to his point. We saw that with Kerry Williams when he came here as our last free agent from the Eagles a few years ago. And he seemed at first to do somewhat okay, but it seemed to get worse and worse as he went along with that kick step. It just didn't suit him. Some guys just can't.
Not only the kick step, but also that the Hawks tackling is pretty different. You know what I mean? You got to kind of shuffle, and, wrap up. And some guys, especially like Dunbar, he's a wide receiver conversion. He's not used to having any kind of technique or form when he's tackling and things like that. So they're going to be very frustrated with Dunbar this year. The coaching staff, these guys are all professionals. They're making a paycheck. This isn't college where you just have all this leeway to learn things. Like, they want you to get things down. You're a pro, and they want you to do it the way they want you to do it. Like, hey, this is how we tackle here. We Hawks tackle. We wrap up, things like that. And if he's not doing all the right things for the coaching staff, his confidence is just going to go down, 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 and down.
Yeah, absolutely. Boom shakalaka, how you doing, man? Thanks for hopping on in. Cameron, please anyone other than Travis Homer at kick returner. Unfortunately, it might be Travis Homer. He's probably the best option you got.
I actually like that. I like Homer.
It's Freddie Swain, though. Anthony Abib just mentions below that. Freddie Swain is an option. He did do some kick returning with Florida, so they may look at him as well. We're behind on our chat big time. I'm gonna go through these a little faster if I can to catch up here. Keep going up. There we go. We good. Edward Mather. I like Earl Thomas as punt returner. I mean, he was reckless as cornerback there. He didn't like the fair catch nothing, did he, Edward? Earl was fearless back there as a punt returner. But they only tried it for a little while because of that. He just freaked Carroll out with those not taking a thing.
Your blockers don't know what the hell to do.
Oh, they're like, you got 3 guys near you, man. Like, I don't care.
Block. That was a horrible fucking kick. Why did you catch that?
D-boy, you didn't miss nothing, man. Welcome on to the chat. Grand Admiral Thrawn, what do you think of Hawks cutting Shaquem Griffin, and do you think signing him to the practice squad also may have gotten the name wrong? I think that it's what they did is what you said. They wanted to get him leaked over to the practice squad so they could keep a roster spot open. For instance, you wanted to keep it open so you could bring in the tackle off the practice squad this week because you have nobody behind Dwayne Brown. So they wanted a little bit of that flexibility for that type of situation, and they had a pretty good understanding that nobody was going to probably claim him, that he was a fit here, that there wasn't going to be somebody who was going to pluck him up. So it was kind of a guess, but it was a guess that was a smart guess on their part. And I think they'll, based on what we're hearing from them, they're going to flop him back up and down each week, depending on how much they make going up against a team that passes a lot versus runs a lot. Like this week, we're going against a run-heavy team. Maybe you don't need Shaquem as much. When you go into the teams like a Cardinals, maybe we get Shaquem out there a little more.
Nessie says Belichick has been building from the back end for years.
Okay, so Nessie, here's the difference on that, though. And you're not wrong. You're absolutely right, 100%. But it is, again, the difference between a 3-4 attacking scheme and a 4-3 zone scheme, maybe the diametrically complete opposite schemes as you can get in football. And so he's built that back end because he's blitz heavy and because he's going to bring 6, 7, 8 guys more than you can block up into the box and then put his guys out on an island, whereas we are going to have our guys dropping in zone and sitting back. And so it's just a difference as far as, is it going to work with that when you're having guys dropping in these deep zones? You're not creating early pressure, and then those early opened up routes, the slants, the drags, all that.
That's right, Nessie. You're completely right on how he's building it, but the schemes are the difference in what you're stating. Basically, like if you're not going to bring pressure, it does you no good to build from that kind of standpoint. Like these cornerbacks can only cover for so long. It's just the inevitable. Like I said, you got a great corner, but you're bringing no pressure for the quarterback to get the ball out of their hands and make a false or a bad read.
I always go back to Nessie. It's like a cornerback who can't cover past 5 seconds. If my pass rush can get there in 3.5 seconds, he's okay. He's all right. But if it's the opposite method, right, where it's the guy can cover for 6, 7 seconds because he's an upper level corner, but my pass rush can't get there but in 8, 9, 10 seconds, if even that. Well, then it doesn't matter how good he is at corner, right? He's going to eventually a guy's going to get open. You can only cover for so long. D-Nugget says Dmack vibing some Penny Hardaway energy.
Baby. Let's go.
I like it. Oh, Y2K says, I got DK in both of my fantasy drafts in round 3. Huh? Is that good value?
Heck yeah, it is. Hey, you winning that fantasy draft. Shoot.
Nice job, Y2K.
Third round.
Luke Scarlett, how do you see our defense playing? It's going to be a little uphill this year, Luke. It's going to be a little bit uphill. My hope is that we are going to be better at stopping the run because you do got Adams into play. Maybe LJ Collier gives you that run stuffing, a defensive tackle, another year of development with Puna Ford, Jaron Reed on the field for the full season. I'm just going to make and some of this is just maybe a hope as a really analytical thinking. Mm-hmm. I like to think that we're going to be a little bit better defensively, but it's still going to be a little bit of the Achilles of this team. You don't pass rush, that's going to hurt, and you don't stop the run. Remember, first and foremost, this defense is built to stop the run, to then make the offense one-dimensional, make the pass happy at that point, then you get your interceptions and picks off that. But the problem is you got to do the first thing first. You got to stop the run first, and 4.9 yards per carry last year, Luke, doesn't get it done, and you lost your strongest players on that defensive line, not one, not two, but 3 of the strongest players you had on the defensive line at stopping the run, as bad as you were at stopping the run last year, are gone. Al Woods, Jadeveon Clowney, and Quentin Jefferson. So it's the part that does still remain a concern. Tristan Haynes, who's the guy on the left? Tristan, this is my buddy Dmack. He's my cornerback, defensive back expert. He's a guy I lean heavily on as far as secondary play and just got great football knowledge. Won a national title, Division 1A, with a couple of NFL players out there. Mm-hmm. So I had a chance. I'm over here on the west side as I'm making my move over to Maui here. And so I thought I'd take the opportunity to bring him in. I'd like to bring him in more for some dual streams if we could, but I'm still figuring out how to make that work on this YouTube thing.
So D-Boy, what's good, D-Boy? What's going on? We got Edward Mather.
No, we're good.
The crash was quite.
They were talking about the stream crash. I thought D-Boy was the Hawaii dude. Nessie, Guest, Penny, Titans, and D-Mac. Y2K side note, it's so smoky. Yeah, it's bad over here. We can't even, it's hazy. It's really hazy. Oh, they're on the Paul Richardson. Yeah, Paul Richardson was cut. They might bring him back to the practice squad. I wouldn't be surprised. It was surprising, as Cameron notes in addition to this. So they cut Paul Richardson, but they kept Penny Hart. There seems to be some thought process that there must be some upside to this Penny Hart guy, but I didn't watch a lot of film on him. It was really unexpected that they had him on the roster for me. I was kind of left field blindsided by that. But I must also think that my worry with Paul when they signed him was he was a guy who's had multiple lower leg injuries, for a guy that was a burner and a slight guy coming out who had a torn ACL even go back into college. These things mount. You know, after you can get modern science can only go so far to where you maybe start to lose a little bit of speed, even if you're in your prime still, because it's just one too many lower leg injuries. I've heard people say that if you blow your hamstring out, that you're never quite as fast.
Yeah, I've never seen that injury or seen anybody work back from it. Randall McDaniel, D-Mac, who's the best player you've ever played with / against? And it is Terrence Cody by far. Terrence Cody, they call him Mount Cody, whatever you want to consider him. He won a national championship in high school, junior college with me at Mississippi Gulf Coast. He went and played nose guard for Alabama, won a national championship at Alabama, went to Baltimore Ravens and won a Super Bowl. So, yeah, Terrence Cody.
Big boy, that guy. That's a man. They Mount Cody for a reason.
Fucking Cody, and athletic.
Go look a picture of that guy. He is huge. Also, Tristan Haynes says, also, you think with the addition of Jamal Adams will help the Hawks stop Gurley, because Gurley's always an issue. It should. I mean, it should help it, Tristan. Again, though, like I was saying a second ago, you lost 3 of the better defenders you had to stop in the run last year. You didn't really bring in guys that are good at stopping the run to fix them in, like Bruce Irvin, Benson Mayo. Those guys are pass rushers. They're not going to stop the run. So it's sometimes hard for me to make the leap and say we're going to be so much better at stopping the run when going off of what? You know, I mean, what's our, you know?
I think there is a little trade-off. Like I said, I told you, Adams to me is a coach on the field for these guys. And like I said, lining people up and giving them the confidence of knowing, hey, what to expect is half the battle to me. You can always have the best talent, but as long as they don't have the IQ or the cerebral know-how and what's coming at them, that's all defense is knowing what's next. Like, hey, if I see this, then I know this is coming. And that's how you play faster than the offense. And so Adams brings an element to me. I'm dying to see what he does and improves like ever so much faster and more confident. So like I said, I hope Adam brings an element to where, hey, he can key in and and know, hey, run versus pass. Hey, it's only 3 plays that they can run out of this formation. I'm right here. If this play happens, then I'm going to shut it down. So hopefully we can stop Gurley. We won't be able to hold him, I think, under 100 yards, but we're going to try. Like, we're going to do the best that we can.
Yeah. The tough part, Tristan, is that we just haven't seen any tape on this either. So it's making the prediction. We're just predicting based off the player we know Adams is and his fit here. And it could, theoretically, it should. But it's hard to say with certainty that we know it will until we actually see it happen. It'll be a good test this week with Gurley, because like you mentioned, he's eaten up Seattle over recent, especially on those outside zone runs where he really challenges them with his speed edge. Corey says John Ursula gone. Yeah, John Ursula was released. As far as many of you all know with him, the problem with John Ursula is he just didn't fit to the Seahawks model of receiver. They want 4'4" guys with 33-inch arms that jump over 5 inches, that have 9-inch hands, and I've gone down the list with you guys. They've got a very set list of things, and like a guy like Swain, for instance, out of Florida, checks off all of those boxes. With Ursula, he's a guy who has 30.5-inch arms. He's 5'9". He can only play out of the slot. That limits his value to us as a team, unfortunately. Yeah, and I wish I had more information on Penny Hart for you guys, not just hang with him at that point. Some of it could be they're trying to get out of the situation with the roster this year.
It's definitely got something to do with contract and money-wise with Paul Richardson. You don't bring him back just to cut him. Like, I don't know.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we go next week where Penny Hart ends up going to the practice squad and then they bring Paul Richardson in because they don't have to pay his salary at that point. This could be the way that they're looking at moving this around a little bit. Randall McDaniel says Brett Swain's going to return. Tyler doesn't need to be back there. I'd like to not see Tyler back there, Randall.
They try to protect him now and, get him off of dummy special teams. So,
it would make sense for them to go this route because he got injured last year on a punt return. So it's not just being overly protective of the guy. It's how he got injured last year. That's legitimate. John Hurst was on the practice squad, Mal. Okay, they got him on there. Scroll up a little bit more. I think we got a little bit. We might have missed. Oh, yeah, we're good. You're good. I didn't see that, Edward. So they did get him back on the practice squad. I still think at the end of the day, Ursula to see the football field is going to need Dorsett and or Lockett to go down because he's going to only be a slot guy with that 5'9" height. He ain't Steve Smith jumping 43 inches in the air to high point a ball over a bigger cornerback. So that would have to be kind of the onus for that to happen. But I'm still interested by I like him just because he got short arms and he's 5'9" doesn't mean I hate him. I'm just a little Seahawks player. We know Brandon's got Largent locked up.
Let's see. I think Sean Alexander is probably my favorite all time. I wasn't stuff like that, but I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. And I definitely think Sean Alexander is my favorite Seahawks of all time. And who do I think is my favorite Seahawks player right now is Jamal Adams for sure.
Ooh,
got to go with Prez.
All right, what we got here? Anthony Habib, worst 9-7, best 13-3 for me. Wow, you got optimism there for you, Anthony. I'm hard unless we make another trade or make some other signings. It's hard for me to see us getting to 13-3 at this point. We're just a little light at defensive tackle in our pass rush to think we get. Don't let her come up. She'll kick that. She loves to kick out the microphone plug when she gets up here. So she's in her mode right now. Okay, come on, baby. Come on. But if we can get to 13-3, I'd love to see it, Anthony. And if they did make a couple other moves, I could see the possibility of it. I just need to see a few other things, some more depth defensive tackles, something more from the pass rush. White 2K says, I want to see them do some 3 wide receiver, 2 tight end sets mixed in. I know you want to have a running back, but it seems hard to a matchup, especially once we get Gordon. I think they'll be mixing those once Gordon comes. You'll see more 3 wide receiver sets once Gordon's in there. I think it'll be a little bit more 2 tight and heavy right now with where the wide receiver position is sitting. But later on, yeah, it'll be a mix back and forth, and it'll probably be dependent upon what your opponent has as a slot corner.
That's what's so exciting about this year is on both sides of the ball, we really don't know what Seattle's up to. Like, they've got so many different personnels on both sides that you're excited and you're just salivating at the mouth because you just want so much more and you just know the expectations of the season and you just like, come on, just open up the offense, open up the defense. Like, let's just mix it up a little bit. Let's not be the same old Seattle Seahawks that everybody knows what we're going to run, what we're going to do. So
Sometimes it's fear-based for me because so much of it is we're worried about giving up the turnover. We're worried about giving up the big play. I'd sure like to see the team this year from a defensive standpoint, maybe embrace a willingness to have those things happen more if it's in favor of being a little more aggressive, if it's in favor of being a little more attacking downhill. I'd prefer to see something like that, I think, if they went that way. I don't know if they will. They've hinted they will. They're talking about things. They're saying things like bringing specific personnel people in, like Jordan Brooks is the will linebacker on third down. They never used to do that. You're the will linebacker on first down. You're the will linebacker on third down. But they should do that with they've got different, like Shaquem Griffin. Get him 15 to 20 snaps a game against a pass-heavy team. He might get you a sack a game out of that. Right. He'll get you great production out of limited snaps. And that's what you got to do if you're using your roster right, getting right all the guys mixed in and having them actually give you some value. Shervin says Russ has never had a losing record. I agree with you, man. That's why it's hard for me to see past the 9-7. And the connection's tripping out on us on this. I hope it's nice and solid for you guys over there, but it's being weird at times, back and forth. Y2K says, how do you feel about Collier starting over Green? I worry Pete is just kind of being stubborn about Collier. I'm skeptical. I remain skeptical as well, Y2K. I think it's more about the fact that they see Green as a better pass rusher and they want to keep his snaps to rushing the passer as opposed to stopping the run, whereas they see LJ Collier as a run stuffer. So it's sort of like first, second down, you'll probably see LJ, third down, you'll see Rasheem, Alton Robinson type rotation. J. Eric, the Seahawks fan, has a great take here. Let's see what Dmack thinks. Jameis Winston without the turnovers is a top 10 quarterback by far.
That's so hypothetical without the turnovers. Like I think a lot of his success came from being in Tampa, first and foremost, that pass heavy and just crazy scheme that they were running. And like I said, to his credit, yes, he put up a lot of big yards and stats. But I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to the cerebralness of your quarterback. Is he mature enough to make the right reads, not just the sexy throw down the field and giving the ball up? A lot of things that people praise Brady for are the same things that people look down at on Jameis Winston as far as his decision making. You don't have to be the best and athletic guy in the NFL. I go back to this all the time. You don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to be for instance, when we talked about our DBs, we talked about Dantzler being the slowest DB in there, and he's getting the most. I've heard about Dantzler in training camp more than I've heard about anybody else. Akuda, anybody that's in training camp right now. I've been just kind of keeping my eyes on the class, and I just hear so many different things about these guys that are cerebral, these guys that have a high IQ and knowledge of football. So to me, Winston's always going to have that low floor and not too much. Well, I mean, definitely he's got a high ceiling because if you're in a pass heavy offense, you got no other choice but to put up numbers. Yeah. But he's not the answer.
I'm in the same place, and I'd argue this, Derek, with it too, is that if I tell a quarterback out there who's on that edge of being a top 10 quarterback, and I say, hey, you get to throw 30 interceptions this year, but I want to see 35 touchdowns put up on the board. I think there's a lot of people that are right in that top 10 area that are hanging right out there. You tell them that, they're like, ooh, okay, I got to make those. Yeah, I'll take those.
No matter how many interceptions I throw, sign me up, coach. I can do that.
And D Nugget says Jameis got LASIK. That's the new athletes thing in baseball, especially. That's what they love to do in baseball. They're like, oh, he got LASIK in the offseason. He's gonna be able to see the stitches on the ball.
Did he get a new brain? He'll make no good decisions on or off the field. That's the thing. On or off the field. Like, I need my quarterback to be the most mature and most responsible guy on the team.
He's got to be boring. He's got to be almost like the nerd. And
he's got to be the grandpa on the team. Like, seriously, in that standpoint. Look at your guy for the Dolphins. What's his name? Fucking old Fitzpatrick. Magic. Like he's horrible, but he's like cerebral, smart. He doesn't make the
Harvard guy.
Yeah, Harvard guy. Like, I mean, yeah, he might turn it over here and there, but I mean, he's not as athletic as
Well, he doesn't have a good team. He's never on a good team. He's always on a team.
To me, is his comp to me, but it's just like they have like that same kind of like
they do. Yeah, they'll give you the wow throw.
They give you the wow, and then they give you the
what were you thinking on that one, man? Like, you were in the zone. You're right there in the zone. Then you just threw it right in the guy's hands. Corey Andrew says Jameis sucks ass. Shervin says Isaiah Wilson's Titans first round pick arrested. Yeah, I'm not looking good on that one, Shervin. Of course, you guys know Isaiah Wilson was one of the guys that I really liked for the Seahawks over at the right tackle. I thought it would be an upgrade at right tackle, but not only in this DUI, he had a whole campus thing where he was going on campus and he wasn't supposed to be. It's been a pretty bad offseason for Wilson. He needs to show up on the field come game day here with this offseason as rookie. Not a good look. You start getting that momentum in the NFL, you get a DUI, and then you hit your girlfriend, and then this happens. It's like
teams aren't going to tolerate that. They don't like that bad publicity and press. They're going to get you out of the way.
Yeah. And then Shervins and Y2K agree with us here. Don't sign Carson. I agree, man. Just keep it cheap at running back. You've got to allot the resources to other places. You need that money for other things. James Stoltz. Offense is improved. Defense is improved with Jamal Adams. DK Metcalf, please. 13-3. We will scheme around our piece of shit offensive line. Well, I hope they can. That's a lot of scheming. And the only issue with that, James, is they're not a high scheme team, right? They haven't shown a real prevalence in the past of showing a willingness to scheme up defensively to overcome inadequacies. So if they do it this year, it'll be the first time they've done it in the last few years. But I love your optimism, man. I love your optimism where you're coming from. I'm right now 11-5 myself. I'm a little worried about the defensive line. Y2K says if Carson will take $3 million per year on like a 2-year deal, that's my max. That would be my max too, but he won't take that deal. Somebody out there will probably give him a 2-year, $15 million deal, 7.5 a year. Now this depends on if he's got a fumbling problem still, if he's still injury prone. I think that might be a realistic contract, 2 years, $6 million. Absolutely. But I think some team's going to have cap space to give him.
Some team is going to be able to give him the money that he wants.
Yeah.
Jacksonville, whoever the case may be.
Especially because these running backs that everyone thought was going to be on the market next year now aren't. They've all been, from your McCaffreys to your Kamuras to the kid out of Minnesota.
Yeah,
they're all getting
locking
up
up their running back right now.
So he might be the only guy, one of the only guys
running
out there.
Having a good year.
Yeah. I guess the teams aren't getting the note that you don't pay running backs, man. Some of them they're caught in, like Vikings got caught in a scenario. They lost Stephon Diggs. They can't lose Dalvin Cook, so it's like they had to. And then the same thing with the Saints.
Like I said, the pandemic has put a lot of pressure on some of these teams right now, put them at the back against the wall because they're not able to really. So one thing let's talk about this because this is one of the things that I think no one's talking about, what the pandemic is doing for these teams. These teams typically, when you draft a couple guys, you're able to in preseason, get tape and film on these guys. So you're able to kind of steal and pick different players from other squads. And you can't do that this year because everybody's being really tight-lipped and you don't have film on guys. You don't know what guys look like. So, you got to lock up the guys that are in your own house, because you can't see what anybody else is doing. So in typical years, in previous years, you're able to kind of recruit and snag little different pieces from other teams. Otherwise, you can't do it because of the pandemic this year. Nobody's really talking about that dynamic of being able to get guys from other teams and squads that have been drafted.
You saw a few people stealing from other people's roster here in the practice squad, even though it's as big as it is right now. There's really little action going back and forth throughout the league, a lot less, to your point, than you saw in recent years. So people are just riding with what they got. And like you said, it makes them desperate we got this running back that's good. We know he's good. So we'll hold on to him. A little bit higher. We had a Buda Baker question in here. Oh, there it is. Nessie, I guess. Buda Baker has 0 interceptions in his career. He's the highest paid safety in the NFL. Yeah. And look, the Cardinals probably, you could make the argument maybe that they overpaid a little bit, but you go back to last year's game against the Seahawks against the Cardinals, Buda Baker's making plays all over that football field.
Bro. That dude's insane. That dude's cerebral. That guy's everywhere. And again, you can't just look at the fact that he has no interceptions. They won't throw his way, bro. How do you get an interception when no one throws your way, bro? This guy is he's insane. There's a reason why his stats are why they are, and he's got the contract that he's got.
And I might make the argument, strong safety, the interceptions, free safeties, I need those guys to get those picks. Strong safety guys, we saw this even with Cam Chancellor, they're not high interception guys. Mm-hmm. They're there to do other things on the football field.
They're actually do a whole lot more.
I agree, Sherman too, especially if Griffin has above average season this year. Let me go this one here. Shervin says we have to pay Adams, Griffin, maybe Dunbar, not to mention Lockett soon, Metcalf in a couple years. Don't waste money on running backs. That's my thought process behind it too. If it comes down to me putting it on something else that's more valuable to this team, and again, this team's shown an ability to get running backs in the later rounds. You can go look at Carlos Hyde this year. You're doing 1 year, $4 million deal. They had an advanced stats on running backs last year. Both him and Carson were top 10 backs last year, according to these advanced stats. You can always get that depressed value. I mean, we saw with Leonard Fournette, a guy just a couple weeks ago that nobody was willing to even pick him up on the waiver wire at a $4 million cost. So you can get these guys really cheap that actually have a lot of talent and are kind of loaded for bear a little bit.
Y2K is saying in basketball, teams have signed Giannis brothers, have been signed to teams to try to court Giannis. So there's some kind of wink, I feel. Now, I think basketball and NFL are two different things. I think they're two different beasts. Yeah, I do think that there was some wink going on with the Giannis brothers and stuff like that to just you scratch one guy's back. But the way the contracts work in basketball are way totally different the way they work in the NFL. So, but I do think you have a legitimate statement there.
Look, if there was going to be a combination that this would come out of the NFL, I agree with D. I don't think it's likely to happen. But if there is one situation it happened out of a twin brothers on the same team, one's got limitations to his game while the other's kind of a rising, ascending player. Maybe these are the situations you do. It's just hard to see how you do that again, especially he's going to want to make his money. He's a third round pick. Shaquille is. He's not going to want to take a discount right now, but it'd be awesome if they did. It'd be cool if it went that way. Shervin says, do you think Blair will be effective at nickel? I'll let D answer this one to start off. What do you think? Is he?
I think he will.
I think he will. I think because of the fact that it's the slot receivers are getting bigger, i.e. they're turning into tight ends a lot of the time, where guys will just flex them out into that sort of H-back role. And so you don't have to be a smaller guy. You don't have to be Ugo Amadi at 5'9" now because you're dealing with all these other guys that are 5'9". There's certainly those guys out there as well, but it's getting bigger and bigger, it seems like, at slot. Even Seattle at hinting at this with putting DK at the slot. This seems to be where the league kind of is moving from a trending from a standpoint. So I think he can be effective because of that, because he's going to be covering taller, bigger guys than normally in the past from that slot. B-Russ says, keep in mind, Shaquem is making money from endorsements, commercials, events, etc. Shaquem is going to make the bucks because of his story, even if he doesn't play. Perhaps that's, how much is he making though? Because he's not a prime endorsement guy, right? Like maybe you're onto something, and it's hard to say for certain in this situation because I don't know the background of what's going on behind the talks behind the scene. We'll know if Shaquem signs a deal, and we'll know the deal if we've seen the deal of that. If he signs a 4-year, $9 million deal, we knew he took a little bit of a discount at that point, right? But if he's pushing for a 4-year, $14 million on per, we'll know he didn't, at that point. Randall McDaniel says Jameis Winston's got to be an all-time top 5 worst decision maker in history, on and off the field. I don't think we disagree with you over there, man. A little bit up. Oh no, you're right. Keep going. That was good. Nice, Randall. Austin Latimer, do you think the Cardinals are a legitimate threat this season? Go Hawks. I'm of the opinion, yeah. And frankly, when I was making my prediction, there was a part of me that almost had me taking the Hawks to 10-6 and putting the Cardinals up at 11-5. I really liked a lot of their offseason this year. Their moves down the board, I think, are very good. You looked at the Texans game this last week against the Chiefs. Tell me that the Texans weren't desperately missing Hopkins in that offense. I mean, you could just see it. It was like a hole.
I don't think the Cardinals are a legitimate threat this year. I think Kyler Murray has still a ways to go. I mean, he did decent for his rookie season, but I think that you add DeAndre Hopkins, I don't think that's the end all be all and the savior for Murray. I think he's got a lot of mouths to feed. I think even the coaching hasn't even really been. I mean, they got 1 year of film on his scheme and everything. So I think the league is going to catch up to his scheme. And I really don't think that they're going to be a legitimate threat, in my opinion. I don't think so. And the division is tough as balls.
I can see there being a big slide on the Cardinals, like a big potential from what their low end record could be to what their high end record could be. I think there's a wide slide. They could still be a 5-6 win team, but they could also be the 11-12 win team, Randall McDaniel, Shaq top end ceiling is Marcus Trufant, a good but not great cornerback. That's been my maintenance from day one, Randall, is that I've made that comparison as well. Shaq is the modern day Marcus Trufant. Now Marcus, smaller guy, shiftier guy. He could probably be a little quicker. Shaquille's got the long speed, a little bit longer, a little bit taller. But at the end of the day, neither have ball skills. And you can speak to this. Did you ever have anybody you played with who didn't have ball skills, let's say in his freshman year, or didn't have ball skills here, but then suddenly developed it within 2 years? Because I just never seen it.
If you got brick hands, you're going to have them all your life, literally. And I'm actually the opposite. I actually had great soft hands, and then I had my surgery on my hands, and I had bricks. I could not get it down after my surgery or whatever to catch balls as smoothly and as swiftly as I did before. So, like, typically you don't see DBs all of a sudden have soft hands and things like that. They are who they are once they get into the league. I like to watch NFL. Hey, what's going on? What's
up, I like to watch NFL. Welcome to the chat. Shervin says, I can't believe we're paying BJ Finney all that money to be a backup. Well, I think he does have some value because you can slide him not just at center position to the guard, and specifically the left guard position, where the left guard tends to be the pass protector because he's taking on the 3-tech defensive tackle, whereas the 1-tech gets doubled. And so what they're thinking here is Mike Iupati with those ankles. It's like Mike Iupati is good for 9 games a year and then he's done. That's pretty much been how it's gone for the last 4 or 5 years for him. So I think there's a backup plan here of thinking eventually if he goes out, we can slide BJ Finney over into the left guard slot. He's a pass protector, at least first and foremost, so that'll help us out there. I have a reason to believe that I think that that's maybe a little bit of the thought process. But again, to your point, Shervins, it makes you wonder as far as if the money couldn't have been spent in a better place on some of these guys this offseason with how you spent your money and allotted it. Well, a little bit more up. We got a little Clowney thing here. That was a little more up. Let's see. Can't believe we're paying BJ. That was the difference in signing Clowney. Yeah, it probably was. If not, maybe a little more. I think from what it sounded like is the way this bottom line situation played out is Clowney wanted to go to the scheme that was going to take advantage of his skills the most. And I know in speaking to Clowney personally that he talked a little bit about the limitations of the Seattle scheme as far as pass rushers go and how they press so hard to have you play the run first. And then you get to rush the passer, even in situations where you would normally just be rushing the passer because it's like a 3rd and long or 2nd long type situation. It made it very hard to get to the quarterback, according to him. Yeah, I think it would have taken a couple million more. Probably you would have had to spend like $3 million more than what the Titans did on the 1-year deal. But I would have been would have been willing to do it, especially if you eventually could have bought back Britt on a veteran minimum deal, like a 1-year, $1 million deal to back up Posick at that point. So I get where you're coming from on that one, Shervins. Nessie, I guess, who's the best quarterback Seattle plays this year? Matt Ryan, Dak Prescott? Jesus.
I say Dak.
Is he the best?
That they play. Jared Goff, Daniel Jones. Who?
No, you got the AFC East.
Maybe you think Matt Ryan's better than Dak?
I don't know.
Not all time. I'm just talking about current.
I don't know, man. Dak's got that line. He's got Ezekiel. He's got receivers for days.
I mean that.
I wonder with Dak on him sometimes.
Not individually. I'm just saying, like, as far as just who's gonna have a better season, and everything else. Who are you scared of the most? Ryan
I'm gonna say Dak because he's got the weapons.
Exactly.
Dak's got the weapon. Ryan's got 2 guys to throw to. They lost Austin Hooper this offseason.
He's got the better offensive line.
Yeah.
Supposedly defensive line.
Yeah, so he's more scarier. But neither guy. Yeah. There's other quarterbacks in this league who are gonna frighten me and keep me up at night.
But that's a great question because they don't play a huge great quarterback.
No, we got lucky this year. Yeah, you go down the list and it's like, Sam Darnold and Haskins.
Oh, Haskins. Yeah, I'm scared of Haskins. I'm very scared of Haskins. And Garoppolo.
And Garoppolo a couple times. And yeah, it worked. It's not that we've had much worse. I think last year it's like when you first look at the schedule and you're like, dude, we got this guy and this guy and this guy, all name guys you knew.
Right.
But good question. Good question. So we're gonna go down to right there. Do you think there will be a lot of holding O-line penalties again? Asked D Nugget. Yep, that's what you get when you build a run blocking first offensive line. Those boys are holding on for dear life at times with the run blockers first. So they're just going to have a little bit more penchant to give up penalties. Guys like Brandon Shell, probably not to the degree like Shell's not going to be the penalty machine that Affetti was, certainly. So it'll probably go down a little bit from what it was last year, but I think it's going to be a little bit what you deal with guys when you want to be road graders first. You can't have it all. You got to make a choice. And so
pick your poison.
And those road graders are going to be a little more likely, I feel like, to grab onto the cloth and hold on a little bit.
TJ says, if we lose Russ, I think we'll be okay. We run 90% of the time. LOL.
No. It's the season goes into the can instantly. Russ will
pack it up.
Yeah. I don't know if I honestly don't know if you win a game if Russ goes down. That's overstating it a little bit, but I really don't know that it's feasible. You can just say, "Oh yeah, it'll be great. It'll be all right. It'll be fine." Are you sure? Geno Smith? I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that. Jovan Lichten, what do you think is the key to tomorrow's success? I think it's established the running game, approximately 5 yards per carry, and we need to stop Gurley, although Falcons are pass-first offense. For me, really, the key on this is going to be this, Jovan, because both defenses play this similarly, and I'll let you say what you think on, but it's about both of these defenses are going to give yards up on the ground. They're both bend but don't break defenses in their philosophies. So what it comes down to is within these defenses that they say, we'll give you yards in between the 20s, but then when we get you into field goal range, we're going to put the clamps down on you. The field shortens. You don't have as much, area to run through back there. We tighten our zones. Maybe we get a turnover. Maybe we get that. But the key to me is you get touchdowns, they get field goals. You get touchdowns, they get field goals, you win this game because both teams are going to move the ball. What do you think?
I'm right on, spot on. You limit the big plays and just hold them to field goals, and hopefully, like I said, you can come up with the W. That's all you can ask for in week one with a limited preseason training camp, things like that. Build on that win so you can just kind of like just build on the confidence of these guys.
Yep. Cameron Hughes says Greg Bell is very confident Dunbar is starting just because we traded for him. I think Trey starts. Yeah, I mean, that must be the only Greg's operating off of with that kind of confidence, because we've not heard anything about Dunbar showing out in training camp. He's had the personal issues. He's left. He came in late. We talked about his press conference that left us both underwhelmed and wondering about where this guy's confidence is, especially as important as that is at the cornerback position. So, I mean, maybe he does. I think Cameron, both are going to get some snaps. They've done this in the past, the offensive line especially, where they'll bring a guy out for left guard in the first quarter and then a guy out at different guy at left guard second quarter, and then go back to the other guy in third quarter. They will rotate like that to get the snaps on film and then let the best guy play out. So you'll probably see something like that. D Nugget says, wow, 15 fumbles for Chris Carson is bad. Yeah, that's bad. That's why I tell people, I go, he has the worst fumbling problem in the NFL by far. Okay, not just like, oh, he's up by 1 or 2 over the guy behind him. No, the worst by far for any running back in the league. It's bad.
And Taylor's on his heels.
Yeah, Taylor might be the guy knock him off the shelf, like to make everyone forget bro. Carson. Like,
please, 20, try 20.
Yeah, I got this. Watch this.
It's nothing.
Derek the Seahawks fan says, some new text got leaked in the Baker case that might link Dunbar back into it because it said him and Baker were planning the attack even if Dunbar didn't do it. Not very strong. Yeah, this situation continues to turn.
It's ugly. It's sticky. I think what Dunbar and those guys did, they tried to pay the guys off to just kind of quiet them up and shush them. But I don't know. That whole thing is pretty sticky. I don't know what's going on with it. I do think Dunbar will play a full season, whether that it settles out or not. I think he plays a full season. I don't think he worries about that too much during the. I would tend
to agree. The commissioner's office can be really dictatorial about this, though. Like they can come in and just.
I think if they were going to slam the hammer, they would have slammed it by now.
That's the thing that is. I would say to his point is that the fact that they took him off the exemption list when they did at that point, while keeping Baker, the other guy involved in this, on that, and him. They would have, to me, kept him on at that point if there was really that threat. So I think he's going to continue to play as well, it would seem like. But, man, it's not a good luck for Mr. Dunbar on this whole thing, man. It's not been good. Shervin says, free Josh Gordon. Yeah, free him. Why are we waiting, Commissioner? I've been on this for 3 months. Let the guy play now. The marijuana policy's been relaxed. We know his brother passed away last year, which caused the relapse. Let's show some heart in the NFL this year, in a year that's, crazy town. D-Boy, what's up, Hawks Nest? Who are you going to start at tight end? I hope not the old man in Disley we trust. I do think it's going to be Olsen out the gate. I think he'll be the starter, and they're going to work Disley in. I think they're going to be a little protective of Disley. They want Disley at the end of the year. They know that he's only made it through the first handful of games to start things out. I think that's going to lead them to being a little bit more protective of him this year when they've got such a valuable component over there in Olsen. Not to mention Hollister is on the roster still, so they still have other guys they can use too. Nessie, I guess DJ Dallas see the field this year. Nessie, not only is he going to see the field this year, I think I'm going to make the prediction he's our de facto third down back, which I love to see. We're talking about in this thing about getting guys into specialized roles. You get a guy like Jordan Brooks as your third down will linebacker, very specialized role for a rookie. You can handle that. You tell the rookies, this is your lane.
Make sure
all you got to worry about is this.
Give them 5 or 6 plays and say, hey, this is what you're going to do. This is the game plan. Hey, and execute, and that to me is solid. So, and
it goes back to what Carroll used to do with his freshmen in college. He doesn't do it as much with rookies as we've seen over the last few years. He's gotten very protective about not playing rookies. But back in college, what he used to say is, I get freshmen and I find a role for him. Right. You're my kick returner, or you're this. You're going to come out and you're my slot corner third down. You'll eventually be an outside corner, specialized, and they can really flourish in that kind of role. So DJ, we knew when he came out of college, he was the best pass blocking running back in college football. I'd never actually heard a running back called that, by the way, in a draft.
Nobody's ever hit
that's never been what they lead with. But he was that, and then you add on he's a receiver convert to the running back position. That's where you get really interesting, because you're talking about that's the ideal third down back that you want, a guy pass protect, and he can go out and run routes. I think he's going to be in that role, and he's going to flourish, Nessie. He's been one of the guys with Damian Lewis, with Alton Robinson. Those guys in that mix have been the most talked about guys in training camp as far as the rookies are concerned. COVID watch party, naked with masks only. Oof, I don't know, man.
Nugget, what's going on? Nugget?
That's gonna make it real awkward, Nugget, real quick.
You're a nugget head. You're a nugget head.
Thomas E, go Hawks. Russ for MVP and Adams for Defensive Player of the Year. Oh, how cool would that be? We get both the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year.
Hey,
you got a bad team. If you got those 2 points, you're pulling. That's a bad team. Guy. I love me some Prez. It would be great if they could. And I think Adams this year is going to finally he's going to get some interceptions this year because he's going to be in coverage more than he ever has been. Yep. And you're going to see his stats go up and he's going to look a lot better. I've related this back to it's the Minka Fitzpatrick factor. He's at the Dolphins last year. He looks like a bust. Everybody's down on him. I mean, they can't find a position for him with Miami. Right. He's frustrated with him. And then Steelers get him and they say, bam.
Glue.
No training camp with the Steelers, just arrives mid-season and as though he had been there all off-season rolling. I think Adams is going to make a similar, in my opinion, trajectory. The Jets are a trash team right now. He had no help around him. I think he's going to go through the roof, Thomas. Thanks for jumping in the chat. Anthony Habib, I feel like Seahawks have a 14-2 potential if they can just stay healthy and play smart. They got 14-2 potential?
Like I said, I like it, but I don't see it, but I like it. They can play San Fran twice. I mean, that's 2 right there. I mean, I'm just being real. San Francisco's and then they got the guy that can scheme stuff offensively. Like, that's the thing, is you got great defense, but the offense that'll suck. And it's like, okay, the offense sucks, so we can lean back on that. But with him, even if Garoppolo can't throw down the field, even if they're not dynamic on the outside, he's still, with that motion-based stuff, is still going to allow you to be productive offensively. San Fran might have half the points that the defense might have half the points that the offense scores. That's how bad I think it's going to be.
But I'm with him. It's hard to see the 14-2, Anthony. If we had gotten a Leo, or that base dynamic need that we need in the personnel of this defense, if we'd gotten a backup one tech that could stop the run as a team that struggles to stop the run, I'd feel a little more confident to get into that 14-2 range. But you're missing those elements. Delroy Taylor was a guy you drafted to be your Leo coming into this year. He ain't going to be here. You don't have a Leo right now. That's concerning. Anthony Beebe, I feel like LJ Collier is going to play exactly like how Rasheem Green played last year. Maybe, Anthony, this is the only issue I've had with making that comparison between these two guys. LJ Collier came in the NFL at 24 years old. Rasheem Green came into the NFL at 20 years old. You see where I'm going with this? It's very hard for a guy, once the die is cast at 24 years old, and the die has been cast at that point, to improve and to get better at that point is going to be very marginal in its improvements. Whereas a 20-year-old guy, I can look at him and say, I could see him, I could see the upside in, 23, 24 years old. We got something here. So it's hard for me to see that with that aspect of it, Anthony. But if he gives you that, if he does make that leap, then yeah, we need it, and this team is a lot better shape for it. A lot better shape for it. D-Boy, did you see Pete's speech on BLM? Yeah, it was great to see him passionate, and it seemed like his heart was fully in it. He wasn't just doing something as a political... Just
going through the motions.
Going through the motions and just saying it. And I appreciate that about Pete, is that he's usually always honest. He's not a guy that's going to be BSing you about stuff.
D-Boy, hey, you got a platform, use it. Hey, we like it.
And then don't forget with Pete, this is something that goes back. Pete is still beloved in South Central areas of LA, in the ghetto parts of LA. This is a guy who went there in the middle of the night when he would recruit at USC. And before he had USC up as that powerhouse, when he walked into USC, they weren't nothing. They hadn't been good since the 70s. And he came in there and he rebuilt that whole thing from ground up. But he did a lot of it by going into these areas where were really tough and bad. And he'd be willing to go in there and have these conversations with people. You could make the argument he was doing this stuff far, far, far ahead of before it was ever politically correct to do so. Yeah. Go up a little bit for me, just a tiny bit above the Michael. That was it. Okay. What was Michael Simon's? Oh, there. Okay. What are the plans for the Star Spangled Banner? I don't know, man. Not sure, Michael. Sorry. Cameron Hughes, if the Hawks-Patriots game is affected by air quality, it would be awesome if they played in Tacoma Dome.
What?
I live like 5 minutes away from it. I just feel like Tacoma Dome's got maybe it's just in my head, like there's rats in every corner and like it's wood rotting off the side. Like it's so old and but hey, I mean, maybe they could put some air purifiers in there, and then we're
gonna put a chair on the top of his roof. And just hey, what's going on? Watch the game.
It would be kind of cool though. It'd be intimate. That's a real, like, it's a smaller whole area in there than what you got even in the Kingdom back in the day. Brian Roberts, what's up, Brian Roberts? How you doing? So, what happened to our special teams coach? What was the ruckus there between him and Pete? Hard to say, Brian. I mean, really hard to say. We do know this about it. I mean, maybe it is for personal reasons, as they're saying. Sometimes that is a smokescreen, personal reasons.
There's going to be a lot of gray area excuses in the pandemic right now and everything. It's just going to be a lot of just misinformation and confusion.
Let's face this, though. I mean, bottom line on this is that from a special team standpoint, Pete Carroll values the special teams as a vital third component to this team. It's not just offense and defense, and we'll do what we can on special teams. Mm-hmm. He wants them to be very good on that side of the ball. It's why you put a 5th-round pick on a punter a couple of years ago. And it's not gotten good over the last few years. Tyler Lockett was so much more effective as a returner in his first few years, and we've seen field goals have been an adventure, and it just we haven't been as dynamic in that aspect of the game. And so maybe some of this is that Pete's going, I'm not feeling what you're doing here through training camp. I'm not seeing it upgraded from your coaching standpoint. We need to make a change here.
Exactly. It could be that. I mean, the third phase of a football game is crucial, and it could be just a regimen change. Like, it's like, hey, we haven't seen an uptick in our special teams play. Let's just, hey, we're going in a different direction. No hard feelings. Let's just, bygones be bygones.
And protect him by saying it's personal reasons at that point.
Exactly.
He doesn't run him through the ground. Randall McDaniel says, what if we let Shaq walk and have Dunbar and Flowers at corner? Well, that's my thinking with it too, is that, I mean, you're going to have to sign Dunbar to a contract extension. He's on a 1-year, $4 million deal. But this would be what I'd rather do. I mean, this is, you let Byron Maxwell walk. You let Brandon, what was his name? Browner walk. You let Brandon Browner walk to it and get signed to a big free agent deal. You've been willing in the past, and if you know this, there was a huge amount of debate internally amongst the Seahawks front office after the Super Bowl about whether or not they were going to give Richard Sherman a contract extension. Yeah. There was a lot of infighting about this because of, again, I come back to the base fact. You play zone. Your corners tend to be protected by the free safety high over the top on the deep ball. You're willing to let passes be completed underneath. This devalues the cornerback position and the need to have the guy that's awesome in coverage. A lot of you guys out there were making the case for Darius Slay this offseason. I said there's not a chance in hell that's happening because of this reason. He's a man-on-man corner, not a team fit. You're not going to ask him to change into the kickstep at 30 years old. Go down the list. So I'm with you on it, Randall. I think it's the better, smarter way to go from building a team. Put your assets in the things you need to put it into. Running back and cornerback should be things you can draft high for. You can put a 3rd rounder on a corner, even 2nd rounder if stuff slides right. But don't pay the money to them. That's my only contention.
Yeah, it's just too early right now. You just can't put it all together on what you want to do moving forward until you get some film on Dunbar. Dunbar is the key to everything. How he performs and plays is going to be the key to what we look like next year.
Yep. 100%. One more up. I think we're one more up. Oh, no, you're right. I'm sorry, dude. I keep getting. Shervins, I remember you saying your brother loved Jamal Adams. How was he feeling when he found out about the trade? Shervins, it was awesome to watch my brother, because my brother that last year, literally like the Giants game, he was calling me up when the Giants game and he got the fumble and he's just like taking over the. My brother's like, you gotta watch this. You gotta watch this. He loves Jamal Adams. So he's been on cloud 9 since the trades happened. I mean, he's floating on air. He's in love with Adams. He is.
Rob is going to be glued to the TV. He's going to be right here on the TV.
If he shows out even a little bit, he's got a jersey by halftime. Right. If he causes one forced fumble, Rob's going to be on Amazon just like, I'll take a sandwich.
Like, what all colors I got in that Jamal?
But he loves it, man. He loves that trade. I was so stoked for. I like Jamal a lot too. I love him, but knowing how much my brother loved him, I was like, I called him right after the trade. He was laughing and happy as I think I've heard him in since the birth of his child.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Anthony Babib says, I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of coverage sacks where we have sacks because of great coverage downfield. Wow. Well, this is something we're talking about a little bit, Anthony, as far as this is the thing that's going to be the interesting thing to see if it plays out this way. Because this is what they're telling us. This is what Pro Football Focus is telling us. You build to that back end, you get those guys locked down because they will allow those guys to get those sacks eventually. But it's just that wonder from our standpoint of things, Anthony, where you go, I've got a cornerback that can cover for 7 seconds and he's upper level. He's like one of the best in the league. At 7 seconds, he's locking his guy down. But my pass rush can't get there till 8 seconds.
Yeah.
And so, but he's open. The guy's going to be open in 8 seconds. The ball's out of the hand of the quarterback after 8 seconds. That's with coverage sacks.
The theory just don't add up on it. Like, I don't know. It's tough. I like I said, I don't want to like just bury the concept right now. I just want to just see it tomorrow because both teams are kind of designed the same, and I'm just going to be able to dissect and see if this is really the way that the NFL is going to go. And Well, it's yet to be determined.
You'll know fast. This is going to, we're not going to have to wait a
fast.
couple games to see if this is going to work or not.
If it doesn't work, I think you're just going to see a lot of points on the board this year. Like, it's going to be like, I feel like anyway, the offense has a better advantage than the defense in this limited training camp type of thing anyway. So I think there is going to be a lot more scoring this year than usual. That's just my kind of like.
I think so too. Yeah, I think it's going to go up too. But it's tough for me to see with it, especially the thing with the coverage sacks is that coverage sacks was more of an older thing to me. You see it sometimes in games now, but it used to be when they were trying to send those routes deep down the field.
Well, they let them play. They let them play more physical too. Yeah. So you can't even touch. I mean, you can't touch a wideout no more. It's like so the fact that like I can't touch him. The guy's screaming, hauling ass at me 100 miles per hour. I'm supposed to be backpedaling for 10 seconds. Like no way. It's just like, so the advantage is on the quarterback, keeping the quarterback safe, upright, and the advantage is the wide receiver right now. They want to go to a pass happy and just like more offense and more explosive plays just for all types of reasons. For, like I said, the longevity of the game, more viewership for the NFL. The viewership last year was piss poor. So I know they're in meetings telling referees, hey, I want to see some points on the board this year, right?
That's right. We're busy a lot of positive PI penalties, ticky tacks. I don't want to
see defense winning at all. Like I want points.
Yeah, I agree. And it's the short passing game is the other aspect of this. So many teams adopt the short passing, which then all that coverage sack can't happen if you got a short slant or a short cross or a bubble screen. If that's really being implemented at a high amount by an offense, it makes it harder to get those coverage sacks. And a team like the Cardinals is going to run a lot of that stuff. Short passing game all over the place. Cameron Hughes says, people forget the Flowers was a safety 2 years ago and was a 5th-round pick. He has overperformed. I think Flowers can be very good this year. I'm glad we're in agreement on this, Cameron. I feel like I was one of the only guys kind of banging this drum with this guy saying, you guys are kind of selling him short. Everybody gave Shaquem Griffin all this patience to be bad in his first 2 years and then finally be good in his 3rd year, but nobody was willing to give the same kind of patience to Trey Flowers. It's always kind of made me scratch my head a little bit going, why not? What is it about him that he shouldn't get that extra 3rd year, especially as you said, because he was a safety coming out of college and he is making that transition into a kind of a tough scheme with Seattle with the Kickstep and learning all that stuff. So I'm with you, Cameron. I think I've been on board. I think at the end of the day, he's going to show up this year. I don't expect him to be some Pro Bowler, but I think he can take the same kind of step we saw last year in Shaquem Griffin. And this guy actually has ball skills. He can pick a pass off.
Yeah, for sure. Looked like we had a little connection.
Oh, we had a connection rip?
Yeah.
All right, looks like did we get folks back? Let's see. Let me scroll down.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Oh, that's it. There we go. There we go.
Go.
Sometimes it'll update like that. I'm sorry if we get for you folks who don't know, I'm on Wi-Fi with the hotel Wi-Fi. I tried to juice it up and they say it's supposed to be good for streaming, but I'm usually wired in, which gives you the strongest solid connection. And so we got a bunch of chat flow up here. There we go. That was rushing the passer and knowing that LJ is probably not as good at rushing the passer. But if LJ gets you 4 or 5 sacks this year and good run stuffing, that is going to be a big boon to this team. Absolutely a big boon to this team. Yes, as Tobias Larson said, do please hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. We love it.
We appreciate it.
We do. We're on the road to 5,000 here. Jason Hornsby, our defensive line is going to make people look at this team differently after game 1 against the Falcons. Just my opinion, but we're going to do great and surprise everyone. Tired of all the doubts. Go Hawks 100%. I love it, Jason.
I love it, Jason.
Love the optimism, Jason. And I'm not in a place yet where I would say there's no chance that couldn't happen. That there's no chance that there couldn't be this sudden, jump and leap by this team. You've got the young guys and the Colliers and the Greens and the Alton Robinsons. You get a couple of them popping. That's going to help. You got Reed there. With Irvin and Mayowa, those are professional pass rushers. Those are guys get you right at 10% pass rush win rate, which is, of course, when you win in under 2.5 seconds, which is a very good stat in this league to go off of as opposed to sacks because it really tells about the efficiency of the pass rusher. So, yeah, I could see the team making that leap. It just requires, Jason, for a couple of those guys to make those steps forward. And because we didn't see it, it's hard to just guess that they'll make those steps forward without actually seeing some preseason games and knowing that it's happening.
Right.
But the potential is there. The potential is there. Cameron Hughes, you can't get more different than comparing a 3-4 attacking to a 4-3 zone. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I say it's when you look at the Patriots and say, well, they built to the back end first, it says, yeah, because I got my safety out on center field on his own, and then I've got my corners playing man on man, and then I'm blitzing heavy up front. And so you just can't make the comparisons as much because of that. I agree. But that was just trying to mention as far as Cameron, because we can't be necessarily like the Patriots because we don't blitz as much. We're not that attacking 3-4 kind of scheme. So you can't make as much of the comparison to build to the back end front.
Apples and oranges.
Apples and oranges. John DeVoe, how you doing, John? Randall McDaniel, I'm really excited to watch Adams. We got a legitimate superstar at safety. Dude's going to be a beast. Just cool to watch him play. Some dude's just different on the field, and he can reset that D. Yeah, he gives you something that you have not had on this defense. I don't know if you've ever had this type of player on this defense in 10 years.
I don't think you've ever had any kind of energy from a leadership. I think he's a better leader than Earl. I think he's a better leader, more vocal leader than Cam Chancellor. I don't even think Sherman was really like a vocal leader. He was just more like just a fiery guy. But Jamal he communicates very well. He's a leader amongst men, and I feel like his energy and his know-how and everything is just only going to levitate this defense to a whole nother level. So I don't think Seattle's ever had a guy like Jamal Adams. He's very, very passionate about what he does, but also the unit itself. Like, he's very, very passionate about football, and I'm excited just to see that energy and how it just elevates the whole level of everybody on defense.
I feel like it is too. It's going to we saw with, like I mentioned, the Minkah Fitzpatrick. It's not only did Minkah come out there and show out, he made that defense a different defense when he arrived from what it was prior to him arriving. And I think that just to Dee's point, Adams can do that. We also haven't had a guy that's this instinctive on the football field as far as reading plays go. They've not really leaned towards guys in their scouting and development to guys that could read a play and understand, like he was talking about, a lineman's light on his hands. He's going to pull. Adams can read that instead of playing the deep end coverage. Now he breaks that coverage off and shoots the gap and makes the play in the backfield.
And they can detour from the play called. Like, the play is called this, but I see that all the defenses, they're reactors. The offense, they're acting, and the defense is reacting. And so if the defensive call is X and he can notice that the formation and the play is looking like Y, then I can shoot the gap and I can make a play. And versus a guy that's on his heels leaning back because he just wants to be correct in the coverage. Like
Tedrick Thompson.
Exactly. Like, so I'm on my heels because I just want to be perfect in this coverage, but you're not even like cerebral enough to know that, hey, what's the play that's coming at you? Like, hey, yeah, this is the play that's called, but this is what takes these guys to another level when they actually can get out of that and be a coach and understand what the offense is trying to do to you from a script standpoint. And so when these guys are flying around and making plays, it's not because they're the quickest and the fastest guys. They understand route recognition. They understand formation, what plays can come out of this formation, things like that. That separates the guys from good to great. And Adams is in that great category, top 100.
Yep. We're both same place as you are. We're just excited about this guy and watching him go because of what it's such a unique, different thing than what we've seen on this field. It's going to probably be odd at times. We're like, whoa, this is nice.
Yeah, like I can definitely get used to this right here. And then it's like, whoa, hold on. Adams didn't actually even make that play. The other guy made the play. Like, he normally wouldn't make a play like that. You go, like, how did he know that? Did somebody tip him off to what the play was? Yeah. It's like Adams is going to be in the huddle when the offense is making the play call, and the defense is going to be right there on the same page with it and know what to expect. That's half the battle, is knowing what to expect.
It is, especially in a read and react scheme that's not attacking. You need the guys that can read that stuff and know.
Exactly. When you're playing back and, not being too aggressive, you need to know what's going on.
Yeah. He do look like that. They love that. The Penny Hardaway is getting
Penny. Hey, I like Penny.
I'll take it. Man. Penny ain't bad, man.
I like Penny.
I really want to watch the O-line, our secondary tomorrow. This is Y2K. Yep, it's going to be interesting to watch both those two things work. I hope if the O-line can be what I'm hoping they can be, which is that marginal upgrade, you'd see the offense could be much more efficient, effective, and explosive. My 3 E's. They would be even better what we saw in the first 5-6 games of the year last year if they're at that point. So if they can get there, and it's really league average, all they got to get. We're not talking upper level blockers, just across the board be league average. Mm-hmm. And this offense will go through the roof. Shervin says we're going to run less base defense. We will run less, but it will be they still love themselves some base. Let's not forget that Ken Norton's a former linebacker. He's always going to want him. He's the guy that stood at the head of wanting the base defense out there last year. You won't see it out at 66%, but it's probably going to only get halved. You will see still about 30% of base defense out there at times, I would guess.
Yeah.
Unless they just feel like he can play a linebacker role at times almost, that they think Blair's almost like a sub linebacker in there. I mean, maybe they think that too. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We hope they got some tricks up their sleeves.
Randall McDaniel, what do you think of my fantasy team name, Blair Nickel Project?
I like it.
It's
I
good.
like that.
Inventive, creative, all
like
the things you need for a good fantasy name, man. Cameron Hughes says Penny Hart is a super shifty guy. Could be a punt returner in the future. Would make a lot more sense, Cameron, as to why they kept him on the roster than over a guy like Paul Richardson, who doesn't have any real return ability. And if this guy does give you that, that'd be great. Anything to get Lockett out of the – I don't want Lockett returning kicks anymore. Those days are done. He's not been effective at it. The squeeze is not worth the juice. I like to watch NFL. Seahawks will beat the Atlanta Falcons. Sounds good to me.
That's a fact.
Sounds good. I'll go with that. Shervin says, are you familiar with Jadarius Perkins? He went to Mississippi Gulf Coast, and he's committed to Oregon.
See, now it's been 13 years since I graduated, so I'm not like familiar with the guys right now. Jadarius Perkins, no. I'm not familiar with that name.
Yeah, it's a pretty long time.
Yeah.
Randall McDaniel says Griffin brothers combo sack versus punk ass Rodgers was a classic play. If dude didn't drop the ball in the next drive, it'd be really revered in Seattle history, like Griffey Jr. and Senior going back to back. Well, certainly too, if you got to the Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl, it would be viewed in that realm. If you had gone, I see where you're going with that, Randall, and you're right. It would have been reviewed probably in that spot. Unfortunately, Turner couldn't catch that third down pass in that game. Really brutal with Russ just cooking like hell in that second half. But you're right. It would have been probably viewed a lot more. It'll still be viewed historically. And look, we may still get some more Griffin brother sacks as well.
Man,
like he's going to come back. He's going to rush some this year. So he will see the football field at some point.
Shervin, I did play also with Vic Ballard. Vic Ballard, running back for the Colts. Played a great fucking NFL career. He unfortunately had a non-contact injury in practice, and it derailed his whole career. But Vic Ballard, he dealt with injuries, knee injuries, and I think he went down with an ACL at the end. So Vic Ballard was all.
I think he had some issues too with the Colts medical staff. Like they messed his stuff up.
Yeah, physical training.
A no-brainer. To be honest with you, I can understand a little more to the offensive line versus the defense. For instance, the end of the game of the Packers last year, when I said there's two priorities for our Seahawks going into this offseason, it's go for broke now. You need to attack first the defensive line. That's our biggest weakness at this point, and then try to reinforce the offensive line as you can. I'd argue that they've done at least a decent degree of reinforcing the offensive line. Brandon Shell is not going to be a major upgrade over Ifedi, but he's going to be at least a marginal upgrade over Ifedi. Lewis, day one, should be better than Fluker in both pass protection and run blocking. I feel the same about Ethan Posick. So now we've got three players on the offensive line we've upgraded alone, while the other two guys remain that should still be solid in Dwayne Brown and Mike Iupati. So I think the offensive line is going to be a little bit better, but I do still have so many concerns about this defensive line.
Randall, I made it to Seattle basically with a job. I basically sold cars, and I got a job opportunity in Seattle. So I've been here for 7 years. So currently in Bothell area.
We've got him converted over. He's a full Seahawks fan though now. So D-Boy, what happened? I remember streaming breaking up a lot. Yeah, guys, it's going to break up a lot. I don't have it hard lined in as far as the Ethernet goes. So it might be a little bit kind of up and down a little bit as far as it goes. I did as far as I could to try to up the juice in here, but the Wi-Fi is only so far, and who knows if somebody's streaming in this hotel all over the place.
He Cranks is Liddy. Appreciate it, bro.
Thanks, He Cranks. He Cranks is Jadeveon Clowney's friend. He Cranks, you doing okay, man, since the JD news? I haven't been able to hit you up much. Hope you're doing all right. He's the guy who plays with JD more often than not. So, Shervin's, this team was pretty badass and injured last year, and we were 10-2. Somehow anything is possible with Russ. You're right. I mean, Russ is he's to me the best quarterback in the NFL right now. You can make the argument between him and Patrick Mahomes. I would make the argument Mahomes has way more to work with. You put Mahomes on the Seahawks offense, he doesn't put anywhere near the stats that he's putting up with Kansas City. And you put Russ on Kansas City, he'll put up exactly the stats that Patrick Mahomes is going to put up.
Interchangeable.
Yeah, interchangeable. So Russ is that difference maker, Shervin. He is your essential poor man's Michael Jordan of our current NFL environment. Not Michael Jordan, but just if there's a Michael Jordan-like player, he's that guy in the environment in his prime right now. But is it enough? Does he have Scottie Pippen? Does he got Dennis Rodman in the post?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm hoping Jamal Adams is that guy on the opposite side that's going to be just as important as Russ is on the offensive side. So I'm excited.
That's where we hope it will get to developing too. Tobias says Black Cat still locked up in the closet because of what happened at the draft. I rubbed my Black Cat right before the first round pick for luck, which was that's my first mistake.
Go. That was a terrible pick.
She's sitting back on the bed. She's chilling right now, but she is still a little bit. I'm down on her a little bit. I've forgiven her, but
Seattle last offer.
He Cranks says, okay, guys, so this is very important for you guys in the chat. Again, He Cranks is a guy who plays with Jadeveon even more than I've been able to play with him online, and he's given me some good information as far as this Clowney situation goes. A few things I didn't let you guys know about this that He Cranks let me know about is that Russell Wilson actually made a call personally to Jadeveon Clowney to try to bring him back into the fold. Seattle was definitely pushing it the late round to get there. And then another thing, He Cranks, I hope you don't mind me putting this on blast a little bit, but there is supposedly also that Bobby and somebody else went into the office and supposedly kind of read Schneider the Riot Act for the fact that they were letting Clowney go at this point. So if that is the truth and they were at the 1 year, $9 million deal, like you're saying, Cranks, and you're talking to the guy directly, it's really disappointing that Seattle was only willing to go to $9 million for Jadeveon Clowney.
Yep.
That's really, really disappointing to hear. Absolutely. And again, folks, this is a guy to listen to. This is a guy who would know what he's talking about on this kind of thing. So hope they've got a plan on this, man. I hope they know what they're doing on that.
They're going to look back and be crying. And in the offense.
He goes out and puts 15 sacks up and you can't get off the passer and you can't stop the run. Right. I mean, I don't know. In his interviews, but you're right, He Cranks. Wouldn't expect him to take that kind of deal either. And that's BS that they offered only that amount of money. That's so BS. It's so stupid. It's a good thing I was on last week, guys. I would have been swearing and just negative as hell after that incident. Shervin's SFO. In his interview, Pete always says it'll be nice to add those 16 sacks to this defense while talking about Mayo and Irvin. Laughing my ass off, dude, is assuming that we're going to get that production out of them. I don't like hearing that either, Shervin's. And here's the problem with it. When a coach goes to sacks, and that's what he's going to point to as his metric for a pass rusher, that tells me that coach is thinking antiquated. Mm-hmm. He's not thinking with what the new models is. It's like going back to baseball and going, I'm going to look at ERA when I've got things like whip and WAR to go off of. They actually get me a better understanding of the value of that given player. It's you're ignoring. There's the pass rush win rate. There's quarterback pressures. There's quarterback hits. There's a variety of things that you can use in addition to the base sack number to tell you how effective your pass rush is being. So to go to, we'll add 16 sacks because we lost this guy and that guy, and then we had it's very simplistic thinking, and I don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, it's narrow-minded to think, I'm going to get the same production based off of this. Yeah, Cam Dantzler, loved him coming out. Everybody, with half an eye can see that he's legit.
Our two zone corners that we would have looked at, because when we were looking at the corners for the draft, Randall, me and D, we looked at our list. We had 10 guys, about a little more, a little less, and there was 2 guys that were really your only zone corners. Gladney could be kind of both, so he could do both the things. But the 2 pure zone guys that would have been pure zone sits for what Seattle did was Cam Dantzler and Terrell, AJ Terrell with the Clemson. So we would have been really happy with Cam Dantzler.
Super happy.
Really happy with Cam Dantzler. And I think he's going to be he'll probably give the Vikings the best cornerback they've had, even beyond Xavier Rhodes' prime.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be better than what Xavier Rhodes gave in his prime. Rhodes was more of the toolsy guy, but this guy's more of a thinker.
Yeah.
Shervin says Carson deserves the money. He was a 7th round pick to work his ass off, but I hope he gets it from a different team. I don't disagree with you that he deserves the money. I just don't think that we have to be the ones to pay him.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, again, if it to me, it comes down to these 2 big Achilles heels that he has. He has not one Achilles heel; he has 2 Achilles heels that tear. The one Achilles heel that keeps tearing is the fumble problem. The other Achilles heel that keeps tearing is that in 2 of his first 3 years, he's had his seasons cut short due to injury. You have not had him there for the playoffs, kind of the time we need him. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 big bad things to have as far as a running back goes. And you can have one, but not the other. But I think somebody will eventually pay him. Y2K, Kamara is my favorite running back to watch. I can understand. He's one of my favorite too.
Yep.
I love his running style. It's unique. Nobody else has that same kind of style. It's just, it's very unique. I can't even relate him to a running back. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire the other night, and you can draw a couple of comparisons with him and different guys, but this guy's a guy I can't, with Kamara, find somebody that he's even like. He's just totally unique player. Shervins, I'll let you get this one, Dmack. Do you think Blair's future lies as a nickel corner for this team or back to free safety when Diggs' contract expires?
I think he's going to settle into that nickel position. I don't know what they're expecting out of Diggs, whether they're going to re-sign him or not. What do you think about Diggs in the whole situation?
I think that they like his number where it's at, and so they don't feel like they have to move it, and he's been paid, so he probably doesn't have to push as much to get the next contract. The other thing is that, look, he was in for a couple games last year and he showed out, but he was also injured, and he was injured when you brought him on board with his hamstring, so you need to probably see a little more health out of Diggs before you consider giving him a contract extension. I think Shervin's, it's hard to see him at free safety from my standpoint because he's sometimes a little bit of a tweener, which had me leaning back to his best place as a strong safety as opposed to playing the center fielder over the top role in this defense.
I would definitely like him at strong versus free.
You know what I'd really like to see if we go forward on this? If like Carroll retired after the year and then we brought in the different defense that allowed those maybe a little more interchangeability between the safety positions of Adam.
Carroll is going to retire?
I don't think so for sure. I'm theoretically saying if it happened, that would be the one.
88, ain't he?
I mean, how far is he going to keep coaching? You know, I mean, like, is he going to go another 4 or 5 years? I mean, he's pretty old, you know? Shervin says, if you want to talk about cerebral, Jamal Adams is that dude. Yep. Most cerebral guy we have on defense right now by far. And we have another guy probably on defense that can, as far as understanding the play coming before the play came, like this guy on this team in years. Randall says, Dmack, we've all heard of guys being a gamer. From your standpoint, do guys who ball in practice in games, or are there really dudes who are just okay in practice but show out in the game?
That's a great question, man. Like,
practice. We're talking about practice.
You do have guys that don't do anything in practice but ball out in games. I think it's more common to see guys slack in practice and ball out in games versus guys that ball out in practice and don't do anything in the actual game. So like a guy that I would consider I don't know for a fact, I would consider Clowney being a guy that would take plays off in practice, but be all world in the game. Like he just comes off as that type of like player to me. Wouldn't practice really hard or well, but would show out like crazy in the game because the lights are on and things are so vanilla for him. And he's disinterested in actual practice. And he's more excited for the game. So you got guys that are super just kind of like at sleep and at the wheel, would you say, in practice. And then you got guys that are really in tune and more excited for the games, more games than practice.
One thing I heard about this year, people were saying that they thought this would happen is there's these guys that in the NFL will play great in practice, but then when the bright lights come on, there's all these fans in the stadium that things just get real tight. Yeah. But now there ain't going to be those fans in the stadium, and it's going to be more like a practice environment.
That is actually, I feel like that's going to be an advantage, but it's an advantage for both teams though, so it doesn't give anybody else and
it's sort of player perspective because like some players are going to when there's that fans coming, and there's that juice and that's flowing, they're going to do better.
Veterans is like, hey, I need a little bit more from the crowd, and then you got the rookies like, yes, I'm glad it's like peaceful. I can hear the
nobody's looking at me. I can
hear the play call out the, so it's gonna be really, really different year for guys. But yeah, I mean, to your point, you do have that standpoint in practice. You got guys that really don't show up in practice, but are just ballers, and I think that's more common than vice versa.
Than the other way around. Yeah, that makes sense. 12th man, RC and Hobbies. What's up, buddy? I have a strong feeling LJ is about to ball out and help improve our pass rush big time. I hope so, man. I mean, he's getting the start. So the coaching staff definitely liked what they were seeing at training camp. We didn't hear a lot about him in training camp, about showing out or blowing things up, but he's got the start. They feel really good about him. He seemed to kill it this offseason with his training. So hopefully, we'll see. Randall McDaniel, this is a follow-up to you talking pandemic. No preseason yet, so maybe someone's going to pop we're not thinking of. Could be. I mean, I've gone through the list of like who pops that we're maybe not thinking of, like who's going to, who's the guy that takes that step. And outside of the rookies, because it's hard with rookies to say you're going to see a guy pop when there's no training camps, none of that stuff. It's got to be a veteran. It's got to be a second, third year guy. Who's the second or third year guy that's kind of on that list here? And as I go through you don't have really a lot of guys. I mean, everybody's here has been here a couple years or they're rookies.
I mean, this Hart guy that everybody's talking about, it makes me want to go watch his film and see what he's about. So
I definitely need to see him. Yeah,
guy.
We got to with that. The fact that they held on to that guy, it's probably worth going and checking and seeing what was going on with him. If there is maybe a little bit of talent there than what they thought they were getting otherwise. Shervin says Debo Samuel out for 3 games. Ayuk questionable, banged up. No Emmanuel Sanders, Jalen Hurd, torn ACL. Jimmy G's going to have to step up. I think it is going to hurt them. The one thing is that Jimmy G's actually a quarterback that's probably not as harmed by not having the outside threat because he really, in my opinion, Jimmy G struggles with his throws, especially past the hash marks. Anything past the hash marks, especially deep, it seems to be kind of a struggle for him. He's got quick release. He's fairly smart, and he can attack the middle of the defense very well. Right. That's one of the reasons Kittle's gotten the stats. He's very good in between the hashes. But not having those receivers, you got to feel it has an effect. It reaches a point where it's like you're not putting enough talent out there on that
I don't
end.
think they have necessarily a urge to score a ton of points anyway. They're going to lean on the defense regardless. And I think every game that you see them in, they're going to be like just grindy games where it's just a defensive game, and they're going to lean on the defense. They're going to like not turn the ball over. They're going to play it really safe. They're going to run the ball. They're going to be all types of exotic plays to gain yards out of that offense. And they're going to really just play it really safe. You're going to see a lot of probably field goals and just leaning on that defense to create turnovers and get them in good field position. So I don't think it's necessarily going to be something that affects them right away.
Yeah,
with having all the injuries.
Well, when they win a playoff game like they did last year in the conference championship, and they run 8 times for the whole game. I mean, that's just, to me, that says to me, they don't have to worry about their passing attack. You know, Shanahan, you go back to him in Washington as an offensive coordinator for his father. You go back to the Denver Broncos scheme in the late 90s with Terrell Davis. They always know how to run the football. They're always effective. Doesn't matter what running back's back there. Right. It changes every single year. Clinton Portis,
ton of fucking running backs.
Oh, they do.
Oh, Clinton Portis, actually, fun fact. Clinton Portis graduated from my high school, and I actually played with his nephew. So Damon Portis, Clinton Portis actually used to come to our practice all the time, pull up in his fucking exotic cars and shit like that. So Clinton Portis actually is from Laurel, Mississippi too. So I got a lot of history with like different guys.
Was his brother any good?
His brother actually was pretty good. He didn't go anywhere after high school, but his brother was pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Damon Portis, yeah. So
wow. 12th man and Hobby says, it sounds like Blair has made some huge improvements this offseason too. Our secondary is straight up fire. It doesn't sound like that, and he's getting the start. I mean, he had to compete there with Ugo and a couple other things. So I mean, they like him there. He must have, and he's shown out in camp. He had a couple interceptions in the mock game, I think. We've heard very good reports out of him as far as what they've seen in practice. Randall McDaniel says, if we franchise Shaquille, do you think we can get a first for him, maybe a second and a fifth? So a lot of this is going to be depending on this year's of production, Randall, because like I was saying, the other teams in the league are very well aware of the first 2 years of his career versus last year. And I think that teams are high on him. Now, remember with the New York Jets, initially Seattle called about Jamal Adams and said, what's the asking price? And the Jets said, we'll take Shaquille Griffin in a third or second round pick, I believe, was the asking price. That tells you he is being valued a little bit around the league to some degree at that point, and Seattle hung up the phone on him. Appropriately so, because it's just not the right value. You want to flip out your number one corner for a safety. That's not a good way of roster management. But yeah, I would think if he showed, let's say this year he has a reasonable year, another year, good year. Let's say he has 3 interceptions, doubles his interception total for his career, gets you 3 picks, plays really solid at that point. You franchise him, then yeah, you probably could get a first round pick at that point for him. Nothing more than that. That's your top end, because he doesn't have the ball skills. And I still wonder if he can still pull 3 interceptions away on his own. But you're in the right area, Randall. A first round, second and a fifth, something like that. I would think probably a first, just because corners are valued so much.
I want to take a pause real quick. I want to again thank everybody that's tuning in to the live stream here. Make sure that you hit that like button. Make sure that you just show some love to this channel. My boy here is killing it. Hawks Nest, baby. All year, all season. We're going to be bringing all the info, all the insider news. We got everything locked down as far as Seahawks football, okay?
I said, guys.
Hit that like button.
Hit that like. Smash that thing.
Let's go.
And why don't you subscribe yet?
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Jason Hornsby, you guys think Cardinals could beat the Niners this weekend? Yeah. The tough part is I don't think the Cardinals are great against the run. That's the tough part, is I think that you can maybe get some holes up against them.
I'm just not high on the Cardinals. They haven't showed anything to me. Like I'm going with the Niners, okay? Like, to me, the Niners are ridiculous on defense. They're going to go just get after Kyler Murray. He's just going to have a hard time not only does he have a hard time seeing over his own offensive line, he's going to have a hard time with these monsters. These monsters that's going to be chasing him all day.
He's got it. We saw it with Russ, that Eric Armstead with those long 10-foot reach arms, and it's hard to get over the top. So I'm going to probably lean back to the Niners this weekend as well. I think the Cardinals always play them tough, though, so it's going to be a close game, Jason. But I would probably give Niners the edge in that one. I think the Cardinals will get better as this year goes on too. The GOAT 209. Do we get a sack week 1?
Yes.
Yes, I think we get 3 sacks, the GOAT.
Yep.
I'm going with 3 sacks. Y2K, I would like to see DK in the slot and give some big crackback blocks. He's big enough to boom some unsuspecting defenders. Well, you certainly think so, because there's a lot of teams that still hold into that mold of the small slot cornerback, always in that slot role. It doesn't matter if they're the 6'5" tight end or if a big 6'3", 4 receiver monster like DK, they'll just go with their guy. In that kind of case, I always think like that guy's going to just be able to manhandle that guy on those blocks. You know?
In theory, it sounds good, but the NFL is kind of protecting these guys more than ever. And the crackback is kind of like left the game. You don't really see any of those big crackbacks anymore.
It is illegal. You have
receivers.
to come up and just
you have to
soft touch their arm basically at that point.
Yeah, you got to kind of be careful with the crackbacks because they're protecting all these players nowadays. So.
Because of Hines Ward. Hines Ward was the guy that made that happen. Remember, he used to just kill people coming back the side. He loved it. 12 Man says, I would love to see the Cardinals beat the Niners. I would too, man. Love to see the Cardinals beat
I would love anybody beating the 49ers.
The more games we get the Niners losing, the better we're in shape we are at the end of the day. Boom Shakalaka says, is Clay Matthews still in the cards? Well, going off kind of what someone else said earlier here, I think he is still in the cards. I do think Seattle's going to want to take this week, it looks like, and see what they got. They got a team that's a decent challenge this week that they're going up against. They should be able to win the game. If you come out and you don't have any kind of pass rush and you don't get after it all, then you're probably
back to the drawing board.
You're picking up the bat phone and probably going, Clay, come on over, whether you value him or whether you think he's diminished.
What you doing,
yeah. Hey, my former USC guy, the guy I brought to USC.
You know I was just playing with you.
I always loved you.
I
always had love.
I called you before the game, but you didn't pick up.
I was gonna have you come last week, but it was weird. It was but yeah, I think he is in the cards, Boom Shakalaka, if there's not any pass rush. Now, if you do generate pass rush this week, you come out stopping the run, maybe they hold off for a little bit longer on that. I still would expect it, and eventually we'll see a trade deadline deal of some kind of pass rusher when this all shakes out. Somebody's coming back on a board within 6 weeks in addition. They're not just going to run with this all year long, I think. Beyond Balance, what's up on in the chat? Welcome, Beyond. This game isn't going to be close. The corners suck. We have too many people to pass to. Our secondary will stop their passing game. The matchup is just all to our advantage. I love your optimism, Beyond.
I love it.
I love it.
Everything.
It's great.
You just say it, my brother. But like I said, it's going to be a good game. I don't think it's going to be any blowout on both ends. So I think it's going to be a really good game. Teams just don't have much information on each other. It's just going to be just a real grindy week for everybody, I think.
And people are going to feel each other out, I think, in these games, which will slow down some of the scoring, at least early on.
Right.
I think, though, to Beyond's point, that game last year against Atlanta, you blew the doors off them in the first half, and then you just let your foot off the gas.
Right.
And so maybe that's a little to his point on what he's or her is saying on their point about feeling like maybe we'll hold it out the whole game. We know what we did wrong last year by taking our foot off the gas, and we'll press it down.
Shervin is saying AJ Terrell and the rest of their secondary is banged up. We better pass the damn ball towards that secondary. AJ Terrell and pretty much, they got the linebacker back. What's his name?
Deion Jones.
Yeah, Deion Jones. And, they got all their linebacking core back. So, I mean, the DBs, we don't know what they look like in the secondary. But, I think we should be pass heavy tomorrow.
The short passing game, commit to it. If the Seahawks do, the Falcons, just like we build within our scheme to allow the short passing game to we'll give up the 4 or 5 yard completions here. We're just not going to let you beat us over the top. So if you could be patient as an offense, those holes will be there in the secondary for Seattle to move the ball up the field. Absolutely should be. So if they are banged up and they can take advantage of it, it'd be awesome to see. But I do think they're going to try to run the ball just almost as much as ever, especially week 1.
Dave Wagner. What's going on coming from UK, baby? Let's go. UK in the house. I see you. You always do a great show. Appreciate that. What do you think about the tight end group this year? Could it be a big impact? Let's just hope Disley stays fit.
He answered the question within it. This tight end can be big if you can keep both of these two guys out on the football field. You start running out Disley and Hollister, it can still be effective. But right now, with those two guys out there, you can be dynamic and almost a game changer like in your ability to take those two tight end sets out on the field and have two guys that are legitimate threats. Defenses have to worry about blocking or getting down the field, up the seam. And so I think that's the key to it, Dave, is that those guys have got to remain healthy. And it's a big if. It is. That Greg Olson's broken his foot a couple times, 35 years old. Yeah. Wisley's made it through 4 games, I think, apiece in his first 2 years, and then lost it to major injury. So making the jump that we know they'll be healthy throughout the whole season, it's a big leap to say that. We hope it should, but we don't know. And that's the key to it. If they're on the field, they'll be effective. It's like I've said this about, it's like the Josh Gordon thing last year. We picked up Josh Gordon. I said, if he's on the field, he's going to be amazing. But all this has to do with his off the field. Can he pass the drug test? Is he not going to fail this stuff?
Right.
That's the key on it. And this is the key on this one, you know. Y2K, did the WSU quarterback we got go to the practice squad? I think they went with Etling, another quarterback, rather than this guy. I think they went with more of a mobile guy rather than the Gordon kid out of WSU. I'm not sure on that one, though. Randall McDaniel, Tom Brady or Breeze, the best quarterback we play this year. Are we playing Tampa Bay?
I don't think we play either one, do we?
I don't think we play either one.
Let me double check. I didn't see the.
Maybe he's thinking about the playoffs. Like if we got into the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't see him on the schedule at all.
Yeah, I don't think we play either of those two guys, Randall, but I'll just guess you meant your question for when we get into the playoffs, who would be the toughest quarterback we play? And Brady would be the toughest at that point. I think Breeze is really starting to suffer with the lack of learn. And Tom's being hit by this too, where he can't push the ball down the field either. But Tom's got so many more targets to throw to. He's got the more help. Breeze just doesn't quite have as much. Wyatt Tomlin, what's up, Wyatt? And yes, yeah. Bigger population, Illinois or Ohio, best guess.
The bigger population? What are you talking about?
Wyatt, can you ask that question again? What you mean on the bigger population, Illinois or Ohio? I would guess Illinois because they got Chicago in it. But I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question.
See it a bit, Derek. Cameron Hughes, how does someone so big fumble so much? Well, I think a big part of the problem with a guy like Chris Carson, and this is an issue that's affected a lot of runners that are really physical, hard guys to bring down that want to try to get every last yard. The price you pay for that is that you're going to have some more fumbles because of that. The problem he has more fumbles in addition to that cost of doing business type fumbles.
Right.
Marshawn Lynch could fumble a couple times. Walter Payton had 50 plus fumbles throughout his career, but those guys didn't have fumbling problems. Right. And that's the difference here is Carson takes it above and beyond with his numbers.
Well, ball security is always going to be an issue when you're a bigger back and you have a more physical run style. And like I said, you got these littler wide receivers that are more savvy, you have a little bit more wiggle to avoid tackles. So obviously, if you're colliding less, you're gonna have less turnovers. That's just inevitable as far as that goes.
Boom Shakalaka says Pete Carroll's comments on Freddie Swain are interesting. Heard nothing about him at all in training camp. Is he the secret weapon? Hard to see him as a secret weapon going off of his tape from Florida. I know he had bad quarterback play there. There was a couple of receivers this year that had that, but I didn't see anything that separated him, especially when you've got Tyler Lockett, DK out there, and even a guy like David Moore who's a real toolsy type receiver. Maybe it's hard, Boom Shakalaka, because we don't know what they've seen in camp. We don't know what he's showing out, and the reporters aren't able to report on players like they've been able to in the past. They shut that stuff down. They weren't letting you see clips of anything. Mm-hmm. There's a very little information we know this year. It's been
closed lip.
Yeah.
I don't know. Vaughn, can we consider to use Dunbar at nickel in some situations? I can see that happening.
They did point to it in the offseason too. Jovan, they said they were going to look at maybe flipping him in the inside and then bringing Flowers onto the field when he would start. That's what they were thinking. That's when they said that they would go that route with it. But he didn't play a lot of slot with Washington here and there, a couple snaps last year, and he's a little bit bigger, 6'2". It's harder for those guys to get up to 6'2" to flip their hips out
But I think Dunbar is such a special talent. Anywhere that they can plug him in or to give a guy a breather or anything like that, they're going to get him on the field and be comfortable with it. Because like I said, he is a great talent. Let's not downplay that. He is a great talent. You want your best talent on the field to make plays. So any reps that he can get anywhere, I think is for the better.
Yep, I agree too. So it's nice to have the versatility. It's nice having Blairs and you got Dunbar backup and Flowers out there. Right. We're a lot deeper at that.
The fact that having these conversations is a good thing, guys. Like haven't had this conversation about interchangeable pieces in our secondary. Yeah. So the fact that we're having these questions, these are all good questions. This is why we have the pent up excitement for our defense this year.
Yeah, 100%. You just haven't done something like this in the past, that's what should get you all excited. Michael Simon says, when do you think Josh Gordon will come off the commissioner's list? I've heard rumors that you wait the first 2 weeks and that they'll let him off at that point. That's only the rumor that I've heard. It's kind of arbitrary at this place. It's up to the commissioners, whatever he feels in his heart that he wants to do. But it would seem like I would expect almost any time. I don't know what they would even be waiting. I don't know why they've waited this long, to be honest with you. You know, what punishment are you enacting here to teach him past this point? He's learned. His value's depressed. He's lost millions of dollars throughout his career. You know, the lessons learned at this point. Or it hasn't, then just let him go. Give him the one shot and go at that point, if that's where they want to stand too, and say, this is it, Josh. This is your last freaking chance.
Sam Dog, what's going on?
Sam, how you doing?
Do we see Swan return punts in this game?
He's an eligible candidate. He is. Yeah. I don't think they had Travis Homer. I saw a Homer in training camp taking punts, and he was one of those bobble guys.
Yeah.
I didn't see it with Swain, but Swain did do that at Florida. I think he did the return game there for them. So there's a really good chance we could. 100%.
Edward said we're going 19-0. Get the hell out of here. We're going 19-0 right now. Read it or weep. Let's go. Believe that. Every game is a championship opportunity. I like that. All right, you keep that energy.
I feel like you were pumping your fist as you were typing that.
That's why I had to read it. I had to read it just how you typed it, all caps. Like, let's go.
Pancake in a sock. I'm annoyed that Seattle didn't do much to address their defensive line and feel it will hold us back from a Super Bowl. What are your thoughts on how they handled the defensive line this offseason? I'm in the same place. I'm in the same boat. I feel like it could end up being the thing that upsets the whole boat and turns it all over, that you have all these things and these nice aspects and things, but this one thing is so bad and holds you back so much, and you can't generate pass rush, and you can't stop the run. You can't do anything. You can't hang your hat on anything defensively, really, outside of maybe turning the ball over. Mm-hmm. And is that enough at that point to be a Super Bowl winning team? I don't know. When you look at recent Super Bowl winners, they got to get after the passer. They got to rush. And I know that people can go to that stat showing, oh, there's these Super Bowl winning teams that actually didn't have any 10-sack pass rushers. But you know what? About 3/5 of those teams on that list are all New England Patriots, and they run the 3-4 attacking downhill scheme that we don't run, right? They're going to get their pressure from places which we've not shown a penchant to be able to do. Maybe this year we do, with guys like Shaquem Griffin who get you 15 to 20 snaps, Alden Robinson 15 to 20 snaps, Jamal Adams coming down on his blitzes. And as I've talked about this before, it's the cobble it together approach that could work. It's just historically speaking, Super Bowl winning teams, even teams that get to the Super Bowl, don't tend to have that as the way they built their team to get there. They need those parts in place. Yeah, it's got to be in there. So Cameron Hughes says Greg Williams is a joke. Well, he's a solid defensive coordinator. He's just a different guy. I don't like his bounty gate stuff, like asking, getting 50,000, telling a player I'll pay you 50 G's if you tear an ACL. That's cold-blooded. Yeah. But as far as a defensive coordinator and X's and O's, he's a pretty good defensive coordinator. He's a guy, if you want a defense that's going to be all over the place, it's never going to run the same kind of scheme or the same look, and people are coming from every angle. Yeah. It's going to be exciting. He's your defensive coordinator. I mean, it's the opposite of what we run defensively speaking.
Russ is not getting hurt, but Geno is capable of backup. Short of having your future quarterback on the bench, he's what I want to be a backup. Like Charlie Batch type, go 2-2 in 4 games. Charlie Batch, that's pretty good comparison, I think.
Oh, it's a great comparison, and I don't disagree with you, Randall. The issue that comes into play is that how both of the two quarterbacks deal with the lack of ability of the offensive line to pass protect. Because when the pass protection breaks down for Russ, he can get out the back door and get you something else. When the pass protection breaks down for Mr. Geno Smith,
dig a hole, baby.
He's done. He is a statue. He's a statue back there, man.
He'll be a groundhog all year.
Yeah, and that's the issue, is that he's going to get inundated, and Russ gets over that. He gets inundated and overcomes it and finds a way through. I don't know that Geno can do the same thing in that situation. It's not Geno's talent that makes me hold down at Randall. It's that offensive line and dealing with that offensive line as a quarterback.
Listen, guys, our offensive line is like Walmart potato salad. It ain't that good, okay? You put some salt, a little pepper in it, and then bam, you got something, okay? That's what it's like.
That's right. We need to get some more flavor in that thing.
You know what I'm saying? Sauce it up.
And Edward at Mather says we paid Sean Alexander. That is the last time I will be fooled. Do not pay running backs. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Edward. And there was one you could kind of see, you thought kind of coming. He had his top of the year. He had Hall of Famers blocking for him on that offensive line. So it's one of those things. I just think at this point in time in the NFL, you don't pay running backs. I don't pay a running back. Period. I will trade a running back who's got value to another team who will then pay him, get back that first or second round pick, and then go somewhere else, get another running back. Take one of the early rounds running back at that point. But do not pay running backs. It's foolish money. The Dalvin Cook contract is going to be stupid in a couple of years.
Oh, yeah,
maybe Christian McCaffrey contract works out, but he's got a lot of tire taken off that tread over the last few years. And same for Alvin Kamara. They had to do it. There wasn't a choice, but he has been banged up, has been injured, has injury going back to college. It's a risk. It's a risk. Nessie, I guess. Has Seattle caught up or taken over San Fran in talent during the offseason? No, I don't think that they've overtaken the talent. The fact they have the difference maker in Russell Wilson is the potential that gives them a fighting chance in this.
Russ is the wizard, okay, in this whole magic show. All right. So Russ is the key.
Yep.
We got a fighting chance as long as we got that guy under center.
Yep. But he is that difference thing that gives you. But if him alone, does that make you enough to overcome them? No, that's not enough on the talent. And they've done they added Trent Williams this offseason. That's an upgrade for them at left tackle. And as good as DeForest Buckner is, you could make the argument that Javon Kinlaw is eventually going to be a better 3-tech because he's a pure 3-tech. And Buckner was a guy you moved around on the defensive line a little bit. Whereas I think he'll really fit in well with them. So they've not taken a step back talent-wise, really.
Anthony Bain, thanks for the 5.
Thank you, Anthony.
We appreciate it.
I do. Really appreciate the donation, man. Which team has a better pass rush, us or the Falcons? And this is going to be for D. I'll answer after him. If we can get to Ryan, we lose, in my opinion. If we can't get to Ryan, we lose, in my opinion. Julio can be covered by our corner. Julio can't be covered by our corners for long. Well, thank you for the $5 donation, Anthony. D's right on the edge. DC's our defensive lines is very similar. So it's, who's got a better.
He didn't say defensive line. That's the key. He said rush. Which team has a better pass rush.
Yeah, we got Jamal Adams.
So I would give us the edge over Atlanta. They're kind of banged up. They don't have anybody really notable on their defensive line and things like that. I think their defense is kind of like a little bit lower than our defense, but I think we have a better pass rushing team. Now, if you said D-lines, that's a whole different question. But the team-wise, I think we'll be able to get to the quarterback a lot better than the Falcons can. So they're
like a low-res version. Their defense is a low-res version of our defense.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's the 320p, and we that 1080.
So, and that is one of the reasons why I say Seattle comes out winning this game. Like I said, I think we have the better defense. I think the offense is pretty comparable, from Atlanta to Seattle. So I think our defense gives us the edge in that game, which I said, I don't know if you guys have been in the chat the whole time. I said Seattle's going to win by 3, 34-31, and we're going to get the W.
Same. I'm in the same place as he is basically on this. I think that it's going to be hard to get to Ryan Anthony because of the fact he gets the ball out of his hands so quickly. And Julio is a guy that's given our corners problems. Doesn't matter who the corner is out there. Even going back to Sherman in 2012, he's given us issues. So that's going to be a problem. They're going to get their yards. Ryan's going to throw for his. You didn't give up 400 yards to Matt Schaub last year, and now you're only going to give up 200 yards to Matt Ryan this year. Right. It ain't happening, okay? But he will get his yards. The key, it comes down to me, Anthony, as he was saying about his keys. For me, it's we keep them to field goals, we score touchdowns. Both defenses allow for the offenses to get up the field, and as long as you can stop them once they're in field goal range, and while your offense can then be effective, especially in the red zone, you're going to win this game, in my opinion, because both offenses will move the ball.
And Anthony, you the MVP. Thanks for the 5, bro.
Thank you for the $5, man.
Splash and skills. Cool Sonic shirt.
Someday we'll get him back, man. Someday. Maybe Oklahoma just give it back. They ain't running that stuff right. Random McDaniel, Greg Williams, the type of guy who eats pizza with a fork and knife. Probably, man. Probably. John Hutchinson, can you see the Seahawks going 12-4? I can see it happening, and it was my prediction to be made when I thought they were going to sign another 1-tech and another pass rush. So I've dropped down to kind of 11-5 at this point just because I'm a little bit worried where we are in those two aspects of our game. But with that said, yeah, I think there's an easy way you can go from 11-5 to even 13-3 this year. I don't know if it's likely, but there's certainly a case that can be made for it happening.
And I'm at 10-6. I'm at 10-6.
So Dmack's not as likely on that boat.
Yeah, I'm 10-6.
D-Boy, I think that everyone forgot that Atlanta had no preseason and is going through COVID-19 just like us. Let's calm down. It's just the Falcons. We got this. Well, I love your confidence, D-Boy. And look, last year, that first half, we ran through them, right? So, if they can keep that same energy we had through the first half of the Atlanta game on the road in Atlanta, 10 a.m. last year, same game as this time kind of scene, then yeah, if we can hold out the whole game, there's no reason to think that we can't necessarily come out and dominate. But it's just opening game of the year, no preseason, people feeling each other out. It's less to do with the Falcons being this dominant challenge to us and more to do just it's a little just kind of the feeling thing out thing. Everybody's new season. It's like preseason game almost a little bit.
And like I said, the pandemic and everything, less, crowd noise is going to be good for us on the road. You got to think about that too. Us being on the road, going to Atlanta. It's going to be a pretty chill environment. It's not going to be the typical, lousy I mean, I said loud. Rowdy crowd that you're going to have.
That was a Freudian slip. Hey, he's talking about the Atlanta Falcons fans right there.
No, look, to my defense, that's because I've never been on a 3-hour stream, okay? My energy is low, all right? I'm not used to this. I'm not the champ over here.
Hey, you're going to feel that pain.
Jesus. No, the crowd is not going to be as loud, so I think that plays in our advantage with the whole pandemic thing. And I think, let's not give them too much credit. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I'm with it, D-Boy. I can see where this isn't. It's only even just because I think the stakes at play, not because Atlanta's a great team.
Tacoma Dome is a pretty dumpy place, Cameron says.
Cameron, it's been dumpy since 1986. When I drove past that in 86, you went, why has that not been torn down? Or they show you soccer highlights of the inside, and it's like a warehouse with 3 light bulbs on.
Smell the aroma in Tacoma.
Yeah. We just went there the other day, and it still is stinky out there, man. That smell is whoo. Randall McDaniel with no preseason and limited offseason combined with offense taking longer to come around. Should I bet the under in week 1? My mortgage depends on it.
What?
So it's 2.5 points. We were looking at this. 2.5. Hey, Dmack saying 3 points, Randall. So he's saying Seahawks by 3. That's the over because it's 2.5 points by Seattle right now. You give 2.5 to Seattle, so you would win that bet. So technically, Dmack is telling you
will win, but don't bet your mortgage, my guy.
Technically, Dmack's telling you let it ride is what he's really saying. He's like he's trusting his analysis.
Just because you're right don't mean you're right. All right, don't bet your mortgage, okay?
The Tacoma Dome screams 1992. Anthony Bain, Julio. Oh, we got new ones, I think. Oh,
Julio
no,
don't need
preseason. Julio don't need preseason. Dude walking 100. Dude.
Chill.
He's right, though. Julio is a walking 100 yards. It seems like after the third quarter, he's always like right at 104. And
he did say that, though. I think I watched some interview. He did say that. He said, man, what? I'm like ready to give somebody 100 yards at all times. Like, I don't need to a preseason or workout or training camp. Like, what are you talking about?
He's good to go. Calvin Johnson was the same way. Very similar players like that. Rasheem getting 3 sacks, laughing out loud. You think he's only getting 3, Anthony? I got him at least at 5 or 6 this year. I got him at least getting a couple extra more. I mean, he's remember a guy, Anthony, who's 20 years old, come his league. First year, not much. Second year, he got to 4 sacks. I think third year, you get 5, 6 sacks on this. You know, I don't expect him at 10 yet, but eventually I think he can be a 10-sack-a-year guy when he gets into 24, 25 years old, or the age LJ Collier was when we originally drafted him.
From Debo saying we should be worried more about the 49ers than Arizona.
Should we be?
Oh, should we be?
49ers are still the threat.
But
should we? He just left out the wood.
Oh, okay. Huh?
Yeah, he just got excited. Should we be more worried? I think, my opinion, I'll let D answer. D doesn't have any faith in the AZ, so I know he's going to say the Niners. I'm going to lean towards the Niners as well.
I'm not buying into the Arizona hype right now. Like I said, the Hopkins thing, like they still have to get on the same page and rapport and stuff. Hopkins, he's a hot-headed guy. If he's not getting his touches, his balls, everything, he's going to, he's one of those guys to me, like if he's not like getting the ball, he's not really even effective on the field. Like, you know what I mean? Like if the ball's not being thrown his way, he does nothing to the offense.
Kind of shrinks.
Yeah, if Larry Fitz is getting all the touches and, just moving the chains, or they're doing short pass and short little routes and stuff like that, like Hopkins is not going to be happy with that. Like he wants touchdowns, he wants the yards and everything like that. So they got to figure out how to just mold with him and his personality. I think he's got a huge.
He got paid a lot of money though. He might be just sitting on that money thinking, "I'm good. Like I just got my third contract."
That's one of the things. But the guys still want to be. Like I said, he's already in this battle of who's the best with Michael Thomas, and all that. The guys still want the the accolades and stuff. The money is one part, but they still want to be
and he's
amongst
a dog.
The top. Yeah.
He is a dog. He's not the dog type guys are hard.
Yeah. So if he's not projecting to be 1,400 yards at game 1 and 2, he's gonna be kind of upset, as it goes. So they got to kind of keep the pulse on his temperament.
Yeah. D Nugget says, talk about Bobby Wagner. How is he going to do? I think Bobby's in for a bounce back year. Jamal Adams is going to take away a little bit of the leadership, which has fallen really squarely on his shoulders over the last few years solely. There just hasn't been another guy there to really offset some of that, like you had in the Legion of Boom era when there was a balance between Cam and Bobby and some of the stuff going on. Like, I think I agree with D said earlier. I don't snap and like you'd have to do getting guys in the right position, aligned right. Jamal Head helps out with that. I also playing a little bit with an injury last year. And so some of the talk from people saying, oh, Bobby's now gone in the toilet. He comes off of a defensive player of the year season the year before, and then he goes in the toilet. No.
Didn't Bobby have the most tackles last
year? Yeah, it's like a down season. You lead the tackles.
A down year? Like, come on, man.
And how many
Bobby's
guys?
The guy. Don't get it twisted. Like, I'm excited about Jamal Adams, but Bobby is the guy. Like, Bobby is the guy of this defense. Like, don't get me like wrong on that. Bobby is the man on this defense. Even though we haven't talked about him much because he's just been so great for so long. It's just like, come on, that's already a given.
You just know what it is. And it's like last year, how many players can you say I had a down year and I led the league in tackles? I'd love to hear the last player that we said that about.
Right.
It's like
sign me up.
And it's the first year you could say that he's had a down year in his whole career. He's been steady and he's been in there every game, every season, every year. So I'm actually high on him. I'm with D on this one, man. Boom Shakalaka 84 says, you think there's going to be a trade around the corner? Yeah, you're making a trade for a pass rusher at some point this year. There's not a lot of them available. I went through the list with you guys a couple weeks ago. It's lean. We're going to need a few of these good teams that think they're in the mix to fall out of the mix fast. And we lost a guy in Von Miller who was one of my prime targets midseason. Broncos started out 1-5. Miller's sitting there. He's in the last year of his deal. You can bring him on at that point, but now that's not an option. The list starts to shrink more. Still expect something, though. I don't think you're riding with Benson Mayo as you're starting Leo throughout the entire season. Cameron Hughes, recovering a receiver is 100 times harder than pressuring the quarterback. You're at a disadvantage with all these BS rules.
That's true. That is true.
Defensive back Santa, man. He's confirming it, Cameron. So I'd go with it as well, man. Especially those guys out on that island when you like.
Man, it's getting harder and harder to even come near these wide receivers, man. If you look at them wrong, you're gonna get a PI. I'm telling you, you just go get a PI off the rip, man. It's just like, just count it. These DBs are at a huge disadvantage. They want this league to be more scoring, and they're making it just super hard for defense to just to do their job.
They got like these receivers learning moves like Tyler Lockett's patented move on the deep ball is that what he does is he gets going on the deep ball and then the defender's with him, right? Russ throws his lollipop ball over the top floating to let it kind of flutter in there. And then what he'll do is he'll lean back into the defensive back, right? And then throw a push into the defensive back, giving himself extra kind of juice to get back out to the ball. And the defender's got no choice. No, there's no choice.
What they can do. To the both credit, they both jostle for the ball when it's in the air or whatever. They do both kind of like play that, sword game once the ball is in there and fight for it. But they let them get away with it.
Exactly.
They let the receivers get away with it a lot more than the defense gets away with it.
It's absolutely true. Anthony Bain, in between Shaq and Dunbar, you pay who gets more turnovers? IMO. Between Shaq and Dunbar, you pay who gets more turnovers? 12 million to the guy who does it, and the other gets 8 million. I'm really hesitant to pay Dunbar at this point unless he is a good soldier throughout the year and he really a lot of people thought he could be a Richard Sherman in the scheme around the league. In league circles when this trade was made, not inside Seattle circles, in league circles, they thought he could be a Richard Sherman type guy, a former receiver convert who could really fit into the scheme well. If he gives you that kind of play, he really is outstanding, then he could maybe be that guy. I have a hard time seeing them pay him though with all this burglary stuff. There may be a suspension after this year.
That's the thing that has clouded this whole situation. Remember, before all that foolishness, he was touted as one of the top corners in the league. So let's put some respect on the man's name. Like I always give credit where credit's due. This guy was one of the top guys on the free agent market. And like I said, if he comes in and do his job and balls out, creates havoc, gets turnovers and things like that, he's gonna get his money. You don't even worry about it. It's gonna happen. It's inevitable.
Yeah. And maybe they are willing. If he's such a pure fit, if he's that new Sherman. And like I said, the one guy I'm willing to pay in the scheme at cornerback, my one exception to the don't pay cornerback rule, my one exception, if he can be like Sherman and play into this zone and know when he can pull the trigger, know when he can take a chance to jump a route. Risk, because that's so valuable from the cerebral standpoint and everything to have that at that point.
And doing stuff outside of the play that's called. That's what it takes in this type of defense. This is the base coverage. But understand, if you see, something, you need to plant your feet in the ground and break on the ball and make a play. And that's what coaches always expect. Hey, we can't make the play for you. We can get you in the best situation, possibly pre-snap, but we can't break on the ball. We can't put the ball in your hands. We can't make the play for you. So we're going to get you in the best position that we can, and then we're going to leave the talent and the cerebral IQ for you to break on the ball, and make these plays. And so a lot of guys, they don't have that kind of know-how and that veteran kind of experience, and that's where Jamal Adams breaks himself and separates himself with these other players, is because he understands, like, hey, the call that's played is just the call that's played to put me in the best spot. But I need to go out and actually be the football player to make the play.
Yeah, be instinctive. And Jamal's great with his. He's good in zone too. Like he's great in zone. Oh, he can jump. You talk about a guy who can jump a route. That's why I think his interceptions will go up. It's just he's not been able to. In LSU, it showed off a lot more in his LSU tape than it did on the Jets tape, because the Jets got him up at the line of scrimmage every time. Just getting, he blitzes 10% of his snaps.
Frozen. Oh my god!
It's probably the when the chat updates, it like freaks out, and then it updates, and then it's like that there where we go. I see what I'm saying, dude. All right, we're gonna get fast here. I'm gonna go through these quicker so we can catch up to you guys. So if we're a little behind, sorry, we're gonna catch you up here.
Wow.
Keep going up. Nope, that was different.
That was the second one.
That's Anthony gave us another dono.
What? Anthony's the GOAT.
Keep going. You're almost there. One more roll. There we go.
There.
Right there. Do you think the Hawks get a touchdown in the first quarter? No, I think they're going to take a little while to get the offense.
Second half team.
Second half team. Michael Carasino. Hello, Michael. How you doing? I'm doing awesome, bro. Finally be able to catch a stream live. It's great to hear. I know we get some people missing. And
appreciate you, Michael.
I definitely appreciate you. Glad you could make the stream. Feeling really positive about this year. Offense is going to take a big step forward. Russ is going to go off. I hope so, man. And there's a part of me that thinks that this could be a year that's just maybe our year because of the way things are set up. So I love your optimism, and it's possible, man. And Russell's ready to go. He's never had this collection. Josh Gordon, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, 2 tight ends, a revamped offensive line, a stable of running backs. I mean, we're not going to get down to Travis Homer running important carries for us in the playoffs this year.
He's had the best weapons that he's had since he's been a Hawk. So he's excited and ecstatic to get at it, I'm sure. So,
yeah.
show off what he's got.
I'm predicting, Michael, 40 touchdown passes for Russell this year, and he'll actually get an MVP vote. Not win the MVP, but he'll get an MVP vote.
Yeah,
at least just one. You know. I mean, Derek Carr's got 6 of them at this point, so you know.
D Nugget says you and Dmack work good together. Love having them.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. Long term, we'll eventually get something, I think, going more steadily, especially as I want to get the dual live stream going so we can get his channel promoted, my channel promoted at the same time, and push this up at the same point.
Internet. Do we sack Ryan tomorrow? Yes, we do.
3 times, I think. I think we get him 3 times, Internet.
Anthony Bain says doubtful. Already.
Anthony not feeling that pass rush.
Are they allowing tailgating?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think they'd be allowing that, no.
Randall McDaniel. Pete recruiting at SC was like a scene from Boys in the Hood, where the dude comes to meet with Rocky at night. He was from USC too. That is true. There's probably a bit of truth to it. Yeah, literally that's it.
Yeah,
dead on.
I wouldn't be surprised, man. I would not be surprised. You know, but it's Pete's legend. Pete's still been loved in LA and these places for what he did back then and being willing to go into that stuff. That was nice. Randall McDaniel, Michael Dixon going to get back to moonshots this year. Myers going to bounce back too. I could see that. Kickers tend to be hard to predict in their up and down seasons. A kicker has a great year. Like Myers, the reason that we got him to the big contract is he was a Pro Bowl kicker before we brought him in. Just hard for them to be consistent. They have their good years, their bad years. I feel like it's like a yips or something.
You got to think like it's a different climate. Like these, don't act like it's just like, come on, this guy is in a rainy, windy kind of more climate. So these guys go from indoor to outdoor. I mean, it's a lot of different factors for these kickers. It ain't just, I know they ain't super physical, but there's a lot of outside factors, literally.
You hope Dixon put it together, though, because he's the 5th round pick. He's the guy the first year really came out and lit it up, and then he's been a little underwhelming since then. But he's been all right. He hasn't been bad or anything, but he still has that talent to be one of the league best punters out there once he really maybe gets going. We'll see if he can kind of take that step forward. Anthony Bain says the Falcons O-line is so bad, so getting sacks doesn't carry a lot of weight with it. But you said no sacks, Anthony. Didn't he just say no? He said no sacks. But, they do have a little bit of a struggle on their offensive line. We should be able to create some pressure, you'd think. Randall McDaniel says Pats won a lot of Super Bowls by not paying the defensive end defensive tackle. Yes, they did, Randall. But again, within this is that the key to me on this, and see if Dmack agrees or not, the key on this is that they run the 3-4 attacking downhill scheme that's going to be blitz heavy. We run the 4-3 base scheme that plays zone, read and react, and don't blitz very much. The two things are really hard to draw a comparison. They really are. I mean, they're fundamentally 2 of the opposite schemes on each end of the spectrum. Mm-hmm. Do you agree on that?
We stated that a couple times in the stream that they can't really compare the 2 schemes. But do agree what you said. Maxwell Stern, I'm definitely most excited to see how Jamal does. Everybody in the chat is on the same page with that, Maxwell.
Yep. Right there, bro. It's the part that could really take that defense. Maybe it can take the defense to the next level. According to the analytic folks, it will. D-Boy says, how do you feel about Russ saying that he's not even at 50 to 60%?
Cap.
Is that made like in his playing career? He's not at 50, 60%?
I don't even know if he's saying like during his career or like 50% health or 50% of
D-Boy
potential. I don't know. It's cap, whatever it is. Like,
like,
come on, man.
I mean,
what are you talking about?
Expand a little bit what you mean on D-Boy is like, do you mean 50% of his career's done and he's still got 60% left? Or you mean like he's like health-wise 50 or 60%? Randall McDaniel, seems like we have a lot of guys whose dads played pro ball. Jamal, DK, Tyler, and even Russ's dad. Maybe it's like that on all teams. Just seems like the guys come in and know what to do as a pro. I would offer that you're onto something there, Randall. I think that they actually gravitate towards those guys. And we've seen them have a lot of success with them, right?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, every one of these type of guys kind of hits when they come in. So there's something to be said about it. I don't know. There's always that theory of like genetics pass through.
I think this year, one thing that's underrated is the camaraderie and that's going to be in this locker room. I think this is going to be one of the most like cohesive units that we've seen in a long time for Seattle. Is on the defensive side and offensive side, because you're going to have Russ just getting these guys on the same page like this, and then you're going to have Adams and all them guys just together. I think this is like, aside from the X's and O's, you're going to see a really tight-knit locker room, and sometimes that translates to the field. And once you got those two in unison, it's a dynamic thing, and that's where these teams go on their Super Bowl runs, is the stuff that you don't see behind the doors. These guys enjoying their time spent outside of the lines and off the field, and just kind of being able to join hands, join forces, learn about each other, and therefore, like, hey, if I can go to bat for this guy on the field, and I know everything about him off the field, all the struggles and tribulations that he's going through, that just helps the team grow and play better and more cohesive. So
it's not something to undersell on his point with that. It's absolutely, to have that camaraderie translates. Look at this team like the Miami Heat in basketball right now. Their talent level, where they at, they should not be at where they're at pressing to get into the finals. Mm-hmm. But it's because you can almost see every player buying in on that team to their role and to what they are, and that they've got that tight-knit kind of camaraderie there of what you need to do, that allows them to get more out of what they are. They're better than the sum total of their parts, essentially, at that point. Anthony Bain, they offered Clowney $9 million. Damn, we cheap. Well, if he cranks his saying it, it's true, you guys. He's, like I said, he's played way more Jadeveon than I am. They play a lot. They played throughout the offseason. So if he got that information from him, it is. And it falls in line with what I heard from Clowney, which is that the reported offers out there to him were not true. Everything you're hearing from the Browns' 4-year, $20 million offer on down was a bunch of BS by those organizations, basically kind of trying to make him look bad to force him into a situation of signing to a BS contract. Exactly. So
they were just trying to call his bluff, and it didn't work.
It didn't work, man. Randall McDaniel says, I like Dmack on the show. I do, and I try to get him on here a little bit more. I got to just figure out this dual streaming thing. So we'll get it on, and hopefully next year we'll get him on a little bit more. Though he is going to Germany.
And moving to Germany.
He is getting ready to move to Germany here. So boom shakalaka. I missed what Bobby Wagner did in Schneider's office. He was pissed Seattle didn't get Clowney, or the players didn't want Clowney. I'm behind the stream a little bit. No worries, boom shakalaka. Yes, supposedly it was I forget if it was somebody else. I think it might have been like Wagner and KJ Wright. It was two different guys went in there. I got to go back and look at his tweet that he told me. But they went into the office on the day this was all going down, went into Schneider's office and kind of cursed him out a little bit. You know, we don't have to guess about what they probably told to him. You know, it's pretty easy to understand what was probably said. And if it's this clear to the players that you should have this guy come in here, if the fans are saying you need to get this guy in here, I mean, how much brilliant do you have to think you are as a front office head coach? You have to say, we don't have to hear listen to any of this. We know better. We're going to be smarter on this. Maybe they are. Maybe they are. I'll concede the potential they could be. But they have taken a big risk with this one, man. They've taken a big risk with this one. Anthony Bain, thank you for the $5 donation. Another $5 from Anthony, my man.
Appreciate it, Anthony.
Appreciate it. Please do smash that like button if you guys haven't smashed that already, and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, come on. What are you doing? We got 95% of my audience that watches my stuff, according to my analytics, is not subscribed. So hit that smash that subscribe button. Anthony asks, what do you think Russ was thinking watching the Pat and his bounty of Pro Bowl weapons that just got CEH on Thursday?
They're kind of upset. I mean, the whole league is upset they missed on this guy. So what can you do, man? Every draft has a guy or two that, like I said, look at Chicago Bears taking Mitch Trubisky, kind of prime example. Like, come on, everybody has that remorse after the draft and things like that, who missed on Lamar and all that. Like, so it just comes with the territory, but I understand what you're saying.
I think too, we don't have to guess on as far as what Russ was thinking, because he does have a mouthpiece, right? Jake Heaps, the guy that is a 710 ESPN announcer, a guy that works with Russ in the offseason, that they train together. He's sort of his de facto mouthpiece for 710 to kind of get Russ's perspective out there. He literally texted as this stuff was going on about the game with the Chiefs, going, how can Russ not look at this and look at what Mahomes has got, how the offense is built, and think that he couldn't do the same thing in that offense? So we know Russ thinks this way. And this has been one of my things I've told you guys about. If Russ eventually leaves, it will be because they didn't build a scheme around him. They didn't really trust him to let things run, to let him cook. Let's just say what it is, That will be the thing that ends up pushing him if he goes.
They said a couple of things about us talking about the insider stuff.
Boom shakalaka. Yes, I played with Jadeveon Clowney this offseason a couple times.
He was answering another guy.
Oh, okay. He's answering him?
Yeah. Okay. And then Dantzler was real physical guy. Yep, agreed. Are you going to be live during the game, John Robinson says?
If he wants to run live out of his house, we'll run live.
We just got to check the Wi-Fi and all the connections and stuff where we're going to be at. And possibly we'll run live and just kind of talk about the game, watch the game with you guys.
Yeah.
Let's see where we're at. Are you going to be the Seahawks don't have a number 1 draft pick until 2030.
Yeah. Yeah.
Michael Simmons.
Sorry, man. It's going to be rough with that. That it also, the hurting part is that you want to go get a pass rusher. The reason that the available pass rushers we could trade for before the trade deadline are so small is because you have to factor in you ain't giving up past a 4th round pick for whatever you're trying to grab back. Mm-hmm. You can't give up that 2nd round pick in either of the next 2 years. So it's got to be a 4th round guy and on as far as the value is, or multiple 4th rounders.
John Robinson says, how long or short of a leash do you think John Schneider has if we don't make it past the wild card round this year?
I don't think he's on a leash. I don't think Carroll is either. I think, unfortunately, the passing of Paul Allen took away the one guy in the building who might kind of hold those guys' feet to the fire a little bit. And I think that the Jody Allen has kind of said, we'll keep things as is. This is part of Paul Allen's legacy. I don't want to come in and trample on that. Outside of her selling the team to another owner who will then come in and kind of have that. I've never liked the thought of having an owner coming in doing anything with personnel people. I want them hands off anyway. Right. But this is kind of one scenario with this team and these guys in this situation where I almost would like to have a guy over the top going, you guys, I get what you're doing, but you need to be doing this or you need to be doing that, as opposed to there's not a checks and balance, it seems like, above them at this point. Right, exactly. So I don't think he's going no matter what, John. I think both of the two guys get to kind of write their own ticket at this point and decide when they leave and when they don't leave. And, a 13-3 season could potentially, you could say, well, no, that wouldn't, because it's probably, Russell Wilson's got injured at that point. Schneider could fall back on the excuse Russ got injured. Right. I can't, you can't hold me responsible for that at that point, blah, blah, blah. So I think he's still safe and sound.
Anthony Bain says, if the Niners only have Kittle, Isaiah Simmons going to handle that with Buda Baker.
Oh, a combo deal he's looking at, like a combo zone package between the two off.
Anything intermediate routes, you can have Isaiah Simmons sit underneath and follow him up the seam, and then you can have Buda Baker, clouding him over the top. That, sounds like a plan to me.
To his point too, they don't got anything on the outside. You could afford to run the zone deeper inside. You could, and knowing Grapple is going to struggle at the edges on the throws,
sure.
Squeeze up the middle,
just force him to throw that throw that he don't want to, make. So
yeah, it's a good point, Anthony. They got those are two pieces that can do it there. Those guys can move. Mm-hmm. John Robinson, what do you think their plan is if the pass rush continues to struggle throughout the year? Pray. That's the problem, as I'm talking about, John. I've gone through the list of available pass rushers in a feasible scenario where, okay, we know this team's going to be in, like Cowboys, probably going to be in the playoffs, probably be pushing. I can't look at their guys and say, we'll grab one of them. There's only a certain amount of teams you can look at as available pass rushers who would be available to go and grab. And then you factor in, as I was just talking about, it's got to be a 4th rounder or on, which means the type of player you're getting back is going to be not the kind that you need to maybe make the difference at that point.
I say all you can do, John, is pay Russell Wilson a little bit more money, okay? Maybe he pulls some more shit out his ass.
Yeah, I hope he's got more miracles in him, I think. I don't think there's some good options, John. I don't think there's going to be, unless there's one team we're thinking that can compete, who's got pass rushers, who's like Tampa Bay. suddenly like falls off and we never saw it coming type situation. And then you've got maybe a Ndamukong Suh that you can bring in on a trade type thing, but it's going to require one of those upper level teams to fall off at this point because there's nobody else out there on the bad teams available. Carlos Dunlop gets you excited. It doesn't me. I mean,
Geno
Atkins. No, not at this point.
And Russ we trust that's the answer to everything. If shit falls apart, the answer is Russell Wilson. Okay.
Just Russ. Danger Russ. Mr. Unlimited.
In Russ.
Mr. Unlimited. Do you see Mr. Unlimited stuff he did?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Cowboys versus the Rams. Who y'all got? Cowboys.
I actually have the Rams in this one.
Is it at LA?
It was supposedly. I mean, with all the fires and the smoke fog, they thinking about.
Tell you what, the Cowboys line. Lyle Collins went on the IR. That line isn't. They lost Frederick this offseason. I mean, it's not as strong as it's been recently.
I think the Rams are going to actually win this game. Ironically, it's a lot of hype behind the Cowboys, but they have a really tough schedule, and I don't think they've proved anything to me other than fucking you can't pay your quarterback. That's it.
They're absolutely insane what they've done with their quarterback position there with the Cowboys. They don't seem to have a cogent plan in place for what they want to do long term.
Every quarterback has gotten their money at this point.
Yeah, they've held off. Yeah,
like literally, you can't name another quarterback that hasn't gotten paid yet, except Trubisky.
I'm scratching my head with what they're doing there. John Robinson, who's each of your guys' breakout players for the Hawks this year on O&D?
Breakout. That's tough.
I got my offensive. I'm thinking of my defense off on my head right now. So part of it is you're not running out a lot of new guys out there, right? So let's do this. I'm gonna go with.
I'll say DK Metcalf on offense for me
as the breakout. Mm-hmm. It's like a star. You see him as like Pro Bowl, like he's on. All right, and what do you got defense?
Dunbar.
Not confident at all in that prediction.
Dunbar,
and I'm gonna go Damian Lewis, right guard. That's my breakout in the offense. And I'm gonna go Marquise Blair as a slot cornerback for my deal on the other side. Anthony Bain, Rasheem Green on offense, and Trey Flowers. Well, wait, Rasheem Green on offense. I think you meant somebody else, Anthony. The chat hates Clay Matthews, by the way. They hate him with a passion.
F Clay Matthews, give me Robert.
I don't know if I've seen as much hate in the chat for any one player as I've seen as Clay Matthews over the last couple of months. They are not in favor of that as an option. Like bring anybody, bring Malik McDowell back. Right. And John Robinson, who do you think LJ Collier? Why do you think LJ Collier won the 5-check job when Rasheem has outperformed him on the field? I think this comes down to pass rush versus run stuffing. I think LJ Collier, to me, always eventually graded out as a run stuffing defensive end in this league. Early down, run stuffing defensive end. You don't give up first-round picks for those kind of players, but we did. It is what it is. He is what he is. I think he can be a good run stuffing defensive end. Rasheem Green can be a pretty good defensive end run stuffing, but LJ could be really a pretty good run stuffer. Rasheem's a better pass rusher. You're going to need to control your snaps for pass rush this year because you're going to need guys that can get in there and work when they go in. So you want them fresh, ready to roll, ready to get something done. I think they're just going to get Rasheem more into a pass rush specialist type role.
Coming down on third downs.
Exactly. And LJ coming off the field at that point. How many interceptions tomorrow, Dmack?
Hopefully one. I can't see more than one. Hopefully, I say one.
Matt's careful with the ball. I don't see more than one either. I think he'll be careful. Short passing game,
with
easy
a veteran
completions.
Guy like that, and like I said, maybe one.
Yeah, especially opening week, he's going to be careful with that ball. And they're trying to prove they didn't reach by taking him. It's possible, man. I mean, we've heard no reports of him in camp like we've heard of a guy like Alton Robinson, who people have been praising right and left. We've heard no praises about LJ other than he worked really hard this offseason and he came 20 pounds underweight where he came in overweight last year. I always like it when the player comes in overweight in his first year, and then he comes in on the second year and they act like I'm supposed to be impressed by that.
That's everybody's training camp. That's,
Yeah, I hate that stuff.
Yeah,
like why don't you come in on shape in the
15 pounds.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
Well, how about he come in and shape in his first year? How about you be a professional your first year and come in shape that time?
Right.
Like, what are you doing? You know? Randall McDaniel, what player or move either made or not made on the PCJS era caused the most in-house contention? You'd mentioned re-signing Sherm earlier was a decision fans probably thought a no-brainer. Yeah, that's one people aren't really aware about how much was fighting in on that. This one's going to be the Clowney situation is going to be when you're hearing about these players coming in and like cussing out John Schneider in his office because he's not doing what he should be doing here. When it's that contentious, and throughout the offseason, the players have been asking them to bring back in the mold, especially if we really struggle with the pass rush early on. You got to wonder if that's not going to cause that contention. The Percy Harvin one is as well, because Percy got here and he was a hard man to deal with as far as that receiver room was concerned. He literally dropped Golden Tate on his head during the Super Bowl week. So that one's probably another one you could add, in the mix.
Jose says, everyone hit that like button. Appreciate you, bro.
That like button, if you are in on it, helps this channel grow out tremendously. Anthony Bain says, Madden has Prince Tigo Wango as a free agent. If true in real life, should we snatch him up? I didn't know he was a free agent. I thought he was picked in like the 6th round on a team, and he was still on that team last I checked here early on. I liked him a lot as a guy that you could put out at right tackle and could be just the Seattle loves these Frankenstein type right tackles, right? 6'6", just I get you. Like Bruno Giacomini back in the day is like the model type they love. So this guy's that way. Brent's is like 6'8" or something. He would be that type of guy. And he played left tackle at Auburn last year. You could slide him at right tackle because then his slow feet aren't as big a problem. If he's there, I'd love it, Anthony. I'd love to see them take a flyer on him.
Y2K says Jamal Adams, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 3 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble tomorrow.
Woo! Oh, man. He's got Jamal Adams coming out on fire, dude. Just the flames are licking the.
That's what you tell me.
Damn, man. All right. I love it. Randall McDaniel, the cornerback from Dallas, got like $18 million from Miami, and I think he only has 2 career picks in his career. Byron Jones, I think that is. Yeah, he was a first-round pick coming out. Yeah, I wouldn't use the Miami Dolphins and the way they throw money around as an indicator that we've got to then take that as we should do the same. There are those organizations out there that always have a ton of draft capital or a ton of cap space, right, who then have to overpay. So you'll look at Buffalo. Why do they pay Tre'Davious White all the money they paid him? Because they got a lot of cap space. They're not paying their quarterback. It's a different scenario when you're paying your quarterback, when there's other factors involved here that you got to kind of balance off of. And I think most teams would not operate the same way.
Fitzpatrick, they're not paying Tua yet, so they got a bunch of money that
they're not paying anybody. And Xavier Howard's the only other guy they're paying any money to on that team, right? So, Team 12s, how you doing? Welcome on to the chat.
What's going on, Team 12s?
Anthony Bain, Randall, Miami was desperate, and they already had Xavier Howard was a true shutdown corner. Yeah, and they're going to play a lot more. They want to play they want to play a little more of the attacking scheme style, I think, down there. So it fits into what they want to do. And again, they had the money to spend. They got to spend it on something. At the end of the day, you got to put the money on something. And not everybody wants to go play in Miami, where I think they've got that. You got the income tax in the state or something that, I think. Yeah. So it ends up costing you more to be in there. So it's not everybody wants to come there. You got to pay more to go to the crap organizations. It's one of the reasons we ended up having to pay $7 million for Greg Olsen this year. It really should have been a 1-year, $4 million deal, but you were competing against Buffalo and you're competing against Washington. Right. So you're going to have to overpay at that because they're going to overpay at that point. Yes, do please hit that like button.
Appreciate it, D-Boy.
Appreciate it, D-Boy. Do you see the Seahawks being a top 10 in forced fumbles this year? Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. I mean, Jamal Adams seems in his career every year to be good for about 5 or 6 a season on his own. And Marquise Blair caused a couple in limited action last year.
I can actually see that. Like I said, the defense, I think, are at a disadvantage with the pandemic and everything going on. So I can see that.
Trey Flowers, too, he's got that Peanut Tillman punch down. Like he low-key caused like 4 fumbles last year, and he's got that punch. I
can see that. And Seattle's defense is technically sound.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see that.
They got that all day. It's all about the ball, man. And Sandy Mixes, I think our best record will be 13-3 this year, and worst case is 10-6. I think I'm in the same place as you as far as my best and low case. So that's right about where I hang as well. Maybe 9-7, but 10-6 is the same place. We're splitting hairs. Anthony Bain, 11-5, 10-6-4. We're all pretty close on it, looks like. Micah, how you doing, man?
New viewer, subscribe.
Welcome. Please subscribe. Welcome, Micah.
This is a place where all opinions are accepted. You can say whatever you want, okay?
Whatever.
Welcome.
Thank you, man. Kylie Love Angel Nicole. Kylie Angel Nicole. Get Russ an O-line. I would have loved to have seen it this offseason if they'd done a little bit more with the offensive line. I don't know if there was, outside of the draft and taking a lineman in that first round pick, there wasn't a lot in free agency you could get. I don't think Conklin wanted to come here, and there wasn't a lot of offensive linemen really available. So there wasn't much you could do offensive line out there. But yeah, they could have grabbed one of those great tackles. This was one of the deepest drafts for tackles I've seen in probably 15, 20 years. They could have really picked up there. Absolutely. Yeah, welcome, Micah, man. Love to have you in here. Welcome on in. Welcome part of the family. We're growing and growing bit by bit. Space, how you doing? Go Hawks. Kylie's chilling. Good to hear. Chile. Oh, you're from Chile. Welcome from Chile. We're worldwide here. We got UK. We got Australia. We got Jovan in here from out there.
Everybody in the
Eastern
house.
European. Everybody.
12s everywhere.
Worldwide. TheSeahawksNest is worldwide.
Michael like the Walmart potato salad. You like that? I like that.
It reminds me of that. They showed that Wakanda sketch with the thing when he does the black people Jeopardy, and he asks about Karen bringing her potato salad.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that bit? It was hilarious.
Fucking right.
Spaces, thanks still for tomorrow. Well, we are so stoked for tomorrow. We're getting closer, folks. Almost the beginning of the season.
We are an hour behind on the chat? No, Fredo. Come on, man.
Fredo, we're an hour
y'all
behind.
asking some tough questions. That goes to you. That's y'all fault.
It's on you. It's on you guys.
Y'all asking all the tough, hard questions.
You can't expect us to, when you go this deep, we can't just skim over it. We got to give your questions the appropriate amount of attention they deserve. Pete has broke Chris Carson. Pay him. He's got those fumble problems, though, and he's kind of injury prone, Kylie. Those two issues. I think DK is taking the next step. That's who D's got that as his breakout, and I see it too. 75 catches, 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns. Write it down.
Russ needs a line. Yep.
Yeah, he does. He absolutely does. Atlanta gave Seattle hell last year. They did, Kylie. Just remember that first 2 quarters, we were blowing the doors off them, and then I think we took our foot off the gas just a little bit. But it's worth noting that it was this Matt Schaub in a second-round pick, 400 yards. Matt Schaub is the second quarterback, second string quarterback, threw for 400 yards against us. A lot of it, though, is I think we were just playing it safe in that second half, allowing the easy completions. We were up by some points. I think they just took their foot off the gas. If we have the same thing happen this year, the first, second quarter, we blow them off, I don't think that we take our foot off the gas in the same kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Kylie, which speaks about the whack defense. It's not totally whack, but it's got some whack elements to it. Seattle lucked out with many backups. How many? Like 5? Yep, we did play a lot of backup quarterbacks last year. We did. That's worth noting. Absolutely worth noting. Russ has to be annoyed with the Hawks. He is a little bit annoyed with the Hawks, Kylie.
He was. I think he's not anymore. I think they went out and did some of the things that he requested them to do. I think before initially he was, but I think he's fine now. I
think, Kylie, especially if they do let him throw a little bit more, not even to the full let him cook phase, but just give him a little bit more to go off of this year and go and attack a little bit more often. I think you're going to start pulling him back into feeling a little bit happier about his situation.
Mm-hmm. Boom Shock says Anza was dead weight. I like the defense better this year.
Yeah, you're not giving quality snaps to Ansah. He got a lot of snaps last year with very little production, and maybe there's something to be said, but getting a guy out there who can even just be league average rather than put a fork in him, he's completely done. You need to let him go. There's something to maybe be said for that. Absolutely. Thanks for the $5 donation, D-Boy. Appreciate it.
D-Boy.
This donate is for all the 12s in here. Thanks for coming. I know the Hawks Nest appreciates it.
Oh, yeah.
We keep getting bigger. Don't forget to hit that like button and go Hawks.
Sir.
D-Boy hits it right on the button. Thank you for the donation, D-Boy. I really do appreciate it. You and Anthony and Randall McDaniel today, everybody has been very generous. So Thank you very much for that. And yeah, please hit that like button. And you guys are helping this channel grow. We're getting there bit by bit by bit by bit. This is a long-term, long-range plan for this, but we're getting there, man. So I love it. Anthony Bain, Russ wants AB, period. And I think that there's a likely scenario here where AB comes back to this team. You look at the receiver core, and even once Josh Gordon comes into the mix, the fourth guy, if I got AB or more at that point, who's the better pick? I'll go with AB at that point. I know a lot of you are really worried about him as a locker room cancer, but don't forget, you bring AB in, it's not going to cost a lot. And you cut that man at any time you want to cut him. If he steps out of line at an issue, and you can come back to Russ at that point and go, look, Russ, you wanted him here. He didn't toe the line. You told us he was going to toe the line. Now he's gone. Russ feels good at that point. You feel okay. You gave him a chance. There's no risk, all reward in that kind that kind of scenario.
Collie says Russ is not a one-man show and that he cannot continue to carry the team.
Kylie, you're right. I don't want to see Russ having to continue to carry the team. I don't think that he should have to when, especially you're building this team to be defensive first. So it's a salient point. And I hope that they start to they've started, I think, to wrap their mind around it by giving him more talent offensively to work with this year. He's never had this amount of pass catchers.
Here's the thing, though, Kylie. I mean, he begged for the big payday. So he's kind of got to, it is what it is. When you ask for all the money, you kind of got to do all the things for the team. Like, it goes hand in hand. Now, if he takes a pay cut, then, okay, I see it. He gets more help.
Kylie, it's a solid point by Dmack here. You can't forget this, and I love Russell to death. I understand why you want to get paid every cent, but at the end of the day, at each of the 2 negotiations he's gone through with his baseball agent, he's asked for top dollar. He wants to break the market. There were reports he wanted 20% of the cap to be on a sliding scale, and they settled where they settled. But my point on that is you look at Patrick Mahomes' contract and that 10-year deal. Right after Patrick Mahomes signed that 10-year deal, they went out and were able to now re-sign Travis Kelce. Keep all their guys back in the fold. Go sign Jones on that defensive line to a major new deal after already having signed Frank Clark. The reason they got those deals done was because Patrick Mahomes was looking to the bigger picture. I would like to see Russ a little bit more look to the bigger picture as we move forward, i.e. take a few million more less in order to add a couple more players here into the mix. Space says it smells like campfire here in Washington State. Yeah, it's pretty real. It's surrealistic out there.
Yellow right everywhere we're at.
We're ready to, if we've got to leave in a moment here, if they tell us the fires are out the back door, Dmack's got the car rolling. We've had the thing turned on this whole time, but we just hit the gas and go. Kylie Love, let's chill a little bit in the chat. Let's other people chat. Space, Russ has many targets this year. Russ has many targets. He's never had this amount of guys or collections to throw to. Space. This is the first time that there's been this many guys. He's got a stacked backfield that if there's a couple injuries, he's still got guys behind guys. So we should not see the drop off that we've seen in years past. The offensive line could get a little thin if there's some injuries there, but the talent's there on the front end at least. Maxwell Stern, that Bills game at 10 a.m. scares me. It scares me too. It seems like West Coast teams always struggle on those Buffalo Bill games at 10 a.m., even when Buffalo sucks. Mm-hmm. Like it's just a tough place to go in and play.
It's just hard to come off that time difference. Your body just can't adjust like to the difference in that. I know it seems kind of minor, but your body just is thrown off.
Something about that stadium too just feels you feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Buffalo, like where is Buffalo? Is that Pennsylvania? Is that New York? Is it like it
could be bad weather? Or
yeah.
The case may be.
Oh, and if it's cold,
I can't get up for this game.
No, like just every hit hurts, and it's the wind is whipping out there. Nah, I'm good. Boom Chocolate says, are the Cardinals going to be like the Browns of last year, overhyped? I don't think so.
I don't think they're really overhyped right now. I think the expectations for them to win right away is kind of like outrageous, but I don't think they're overhyped per se right now.
No. And I think that honestly, the talent level with the Cardinals, at least player-wise, not maybe totality, but they're a little bit better all across the board as far as their total collection of talent when you look at everything in totality. Bringing in Kenyon Drake, the Isaiah Simmons, the drafting the left tackle Josh Jones will be a great left tackle for them. The collection of wide receivers they have. Buda Baker over there at the slot corner, while they still bring back Patrick Peterson. I know he's sliding, but he's still at least, to me, a league average corner for you. So I think that the problem with the Browns last year is I think Mayfield did too many commercials and got himself out. Yeah, he's even admitted this. He didn't work out, didn't do his thing, didn't understand, and thought he had it, and he didn't. He needed to work on it. So I don't think so. I think they're going to be legitimately tough. Whether that translates to wins or not, we'll see. With Hopkins, I think Larry can keep Hopkins in line because every wide receiver respects Fitz so much. And I think I agree with you on that Y2K, I think as well. He just got paid a boatload of money. Hopkins just got his third contract. He knows he doesn't have to now go out and chill out to get that next last deal he was looking to get. He got paid, got his guaranteed money. That's going to relax a guy out quite a bit, I think, at that point. Though he is still, like D said, he's a dog. He's not a guy that just is going to, ease up because he got paid. What is your score prediction on the Hawks versus the Falcons? Type in the chat. Yep. I think then Dmack's got like 31-28 or something. I got 34-28.
34-31.
34-31. I'm a 34-28 guy. I think we get him by 7 points. It just updated.
Oh,
we're getting better here though. We're not as behind as we've been. A little more. Yeah, maybe we are actually. No, there we are. Right there. Yeah, we're getting better. The Titans suck, and we trade for Clowney. It could happen. That could be a scenario because, like, let's face it, are we all sold on Ryan Tannehill?
Nope.
And do we think that Chris Henry, after leading the league in carries, leading the league in yards, and knowing what that does to the running back after that happens, the next year
He's
after
gonna
that,
definitely come down.
Yeah, and if they can't run the ball as well and they can't do some things, they've got a good team, but it's no guarantee there. And I think that division is going to be tougher this year for them. I think the Colts are going to be a tougher team with Phillip Rivers there. Randall McDaniel, my bad. I assumed we played NFC South, so we start in Atlanta. Oh yeah, no, Atlanta's just one of those two unique opponents that we get. It's one of the places where I thought we could have the get above the San Francisco 49ers. Is our two games are weaker. We get Atlanta and Minnesota. They get Green Bay and San Francisco in those two unique matchups. Right. Big difference there. Space, he had 3.5 sacks last year. We had 3.5 sacks. Anthony Baines says, should we add Jabal Sheard to boost our pass rush? Very competent guy. Guy's rushed the passer very well throughout his career. Feels like more of a guy I want as a 3-4 outside pass rusher, more than a put him down in the hand down in the dirt. But he's been a very effective guy. He's been a very, very effective guy as far as throughout his whole career. So wouldn't be the worst to add him as a pass rush, and he would probably boost it coming in here. Johnny Tsunami. Welcome, Johnny. I love your name. You loving some Puna? That is all? Well, he should be a pretty valuable guy for us. I'm hoping he can take that step forward. He had a great first year. Second year was a little dip there. Maybe he can come back here now in this third year and be kind of the guy we thought he'd be, which is a real solid one tech. Just a guy that he's not your traditional body, 5'11" and 3'5", right. But he showed flashes that first year. I got a lot of hope for him still. Any news about Gordon? No news about Gordon as of yet. We're waiting on the commissioner to release some space. It's got to be him and him alone who decides to do that. And there's not really been any exact indications. I heard 2 weeks. That's what I recently heard, was that it would be a 2-week situation. So we'll see. Randall McDaniel, I wonder how Ugo would do as a returner. I like him, especially as a gunner on punts. Is he about the same height, weight as Quandre? Maybe Ugo a bit shorter. No, actually, Randall, they are almost exactly this. Go look at their combine stats, down to their arm size, down to the 40 they ran. It's like almost looking at a match between the two guys. So they are almost exactly the equivalent as far as their measurements go. I don't know that I have anything to indicate that he's going to be a good potential returner for you, though. You might have better options for you back out there. I don't think I remember even seeing him in college do that. I don't think. We'll see. Jimmy Stone. Yeah, what the hell is up with making Josh Gordon wait to be no longer suspended? I don't know. I don't understand either what you're trying to teach by holding him out now at this point. Let him get back on the field. You suspended him through last year. You cut him off another year. He's not got a big contract he's sitting on right now. It's like, give the guy a chance. It's better for the NFL that you have Josh Gordon in there playing. It's better for the sport. It's better for the product on the football field. And he didn't do anything bad. He didn't hurt somebody. He didn't hit a woman. The
Josh Gordon thing has always been a pain for me. I don't know. I like the guy. I like the talent, and he's just I just even hate commenting on his situations.
Yeah,
it's like a nightmare every year. It's the same thing. It's like a broken record.
And he's got all that talent. I mean, he's legitimately an upper talented receiver in this league. I mean, just Jimmy Stone says, I like Amadi more than Diggs. Wow, really? You're high on Amadi. I am fairly on Amadi, but I mean, it is kind of a testament when they bring Marquise Blair in that slot. And when you started into the offseason, it was sort of Ugo's it looked like to lose. And then they transitioned Marquise. It wasn't a great indicator on Amadi's play or what the coaching staff thought of him. But he's a guy that did play some free safety at Oregon. He has that ability to maybe, and like I said, between the two of them, their measurables, their 20-yard splits, all of the stuff down the line when I was looking last year, they're almost the same player as far as their combine. I don't know if on head goes there it's the same, but at least combine-wise. Keep Marshawn Lynch on speed dial? Yes. I love Marshawn. If we lose a couple of running backs, get that guy in here ASAP.
For sure. He's always going to be
the
first person called.
Get him in here
DK equals the GOAT.
I love it. I love that emoji, man. Yes. Let's do it. Let's see the new Calvin Johnson. Imagine if you do the new Calvin Johnson in DK.
Megatron 2.0.
Yeah, Megatron 2.0. Like what that would do for this offense if he could be that player. I mean, Detroit was never a run first team, like with Calvin there. Like imagine having a run first where you've got to play the run now and then like
worry about him.
The stress that puts on
TJ is back. He's saying the doctor said his shoulder isn't broken. Good news. Glad to hear that.
Good to hear.
I'm not allowed to work out for at least 2 weeks. College football is coming up for me next year. Hopefully that's the reason I took a gap. I took a gap year.
What do you mean a gap year? I don't know what you mean on that one, TJ. It's good to hear your shoulder isn't broken though, man. Sure. Take care of that. One thing that helps with those shoulder injuries is do those hangs. When I've had shoulder injuries in the past, get up on like a bar and just do a hang, straight arm hang, let your body weight pull. That can sometimes help recalibrate the shoulder into the joint. I've heard. D-Boy, question for both. Ooh, 2 questions here. I don't understand why the NFL doesn't pay players on being playmakers. If you're good and you're a playmaker, you get paid no matter what spot you play in. What is your input on that? And I think that this is a question sort of like Jadeveon Clowney. He gets 3 sacks, but he's just a game wrecker, right? Mm-hmm. Or a guy like Michael Bennett back in the day, get you 8 sacks a year, but you could almost say he's one of the more dominant defensive linemen in the entire league when he was in his prime. And I would say it's, these guys do get paid. It's just harder for certain teams to look outside the box, TJ. When I hear that, or D-Boy, when I hear Pete Carroll talking about sacks as his metric, and we'll get 16 more sacks because we brought on these 2 guys, it gets me a little dissuaded because I go, these coaches are still thinking old school here. They're still thinking in this like old school mentality rather than thinking forward thinking, which to your point, playmakers. If the guy's messing up the play, doesn't matter what the stat says.
The problem, D-Boy, in my opinion, the league is going to so much more statistical and analytics that it's hard to go like as a coach and all these guys to go justify someone's value when the owner and the GM is looking at the stats and looking at the analytics and going, why should I pay this guy $15 million again? And things like that. So to me, that's what I think it is a little bit too. It plays into why you can't just pay these guys that are, visibly disruptive, but just don't have the stats on the sheet. So that's one thing that you got to kind of contribute to that.
I agree. Situation. It's like he can be smart as hell, but he's dealing with guys above him who might not have that same level of intelligence and looking at the game. They're looking with the simplistic nature, the easy, and that he's got to answer to him one way or another.
Right.
And stupid owners exist. He's got to
go justify why this guy is worth what he's worth.
Yeah. So we got 20. We're gonna do 20 more minutes here, and we'll call on that. Jimmy Stone, I'm missing Hoshka. Yeah, I mean, I'm not as big on Hoshka. He had such limited range for me, and as a kicker, I need a guy that can eventually, every once in a while, hit a 53-yarder. I don't like just having a guy that outside of 51. We're just gonna have to go for it.
Close,
especially for a team that plays close games and needs their kicker to do something. Y2K says trade Penny for Justin Tucker. Where's Justin Tucker? I was a long-time Baltimore Ravens kicker, and now I'm not sure where he's at, but I'd probably be more for a point at this point of trying to take Penny and then combo him with the 4th rounder to get the pass rusher later on. I think that'd be more likely a scenario to go look at as opposed to trading for a kicker. You're stuck with Myers right now. The dead money doesn't make sense to release him or get him out the door. So you got one more year of Myers, whether it's good or bad or indifferent or the other. So
Jimmy said, I love me some Penny. I'd trade Lockett for an elite kicker.
I get it, Jimmy. I mentioned this stat. I'll bring it up right now. And this is the thing I always like to mention to all those haters out there because there's a lot of people out there that don't like themselves some Rashad Penny. They think, he's overrated. He's not any good. But there's one stat in particular that I go back to from last year as I'm trying to bear with me.
He averaged almost 5 yards a carry.
Yeah. So here it is. Rashad Penny last year averaged 8.2 yards per carry on outside runs. On outside runs, 8 yards a carry.
Numbers don't lie.
And then you look at it, he averaged 7 yards a carry off tackle.
Mm-hmm.
This speaks to, again, do they use him right, Jimmy? And that's that they've tried to pound him up in the middle like Chris Carson runs, inside zone, get him on the edges, stop doing the read option, flip him out on these pitches. And that's what I'd like to see them do. I like me some Penny too. I know why you do. I would not trade Lockett for an elite kicker. No, Lockett's too valuable to us, and he's at a good contract.
If Julio is burning the Seahawks, what does Pete do?
Julio will only be able to burn the Seahawks if he's running the post routes, the crossers, and whatnot. He's not going to burn us over the top. You can allow him to beat you on the 11 catches for 100 yards. You can't allow him to beat you on the 9 catches for 150 yards. That's when it destroys you. So you can put up with the bit by bit up the field. We saw this last year at Tampa Bay with Mike Evans. Mike Evans has a good day against the Tampa Bay, but we still beat him because we're not letting Mike Evans beat you 50 yards down on a bomb.
Right.
And I'm going to spin through these questions a little fast because we're going to try to wrap this up around the 4-hour mark. So I'll go through these questions just a little quick as I'm answering. Bear with me on it. Russ was saying that his potential, he said he's just getting into his prime and he's only 40%. That's what I thought you were saying the way through his. It's possible, D-Boy. The one worry you have with Russell is that he's not got the height. And once he loses that mobility, is he going to be as effective as he's 38, 39 years old with still being kind of a shorter quarterback and not having that mobility? That's going to be really the key to him. And it's possible.
Right. He's right and wrong in that statement. It's like, yeah, this is the longevity of your career, but the tread on the tire is fucking deteriorating, bro. You only got this short period of window, like, you know what I mean, to be really, really impactful. And
the older guys, the older quarterbacks we've seen have been more of the statue types. We haven't seen a lot of the mobile quarterbacks make it to being in their 40s at this point. It's been Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers. It's these guys, you know. So it's hard, maybe D-Boy, but he's going to have to learn how to play without using his legs, and that'll be the key of it.
Oh, Garrett is asking if I'm any good in basketball. If so, play on my Hoop Fest team in Spokane. I'm pretty decent in basketball. I can do a little bit out there. Yeah, just add me, bro. Just I'm in the link. I'll write a message. Just add me on there and DM me.
Yep. Look, just send or even post in the comment section after the live stream post. That's an easy way for us to see where you're at too, Garrett. But Dmack's also on YouTube. You can subscribe to him as well on YouTube. So he does a variety kind of channel over there. Iridescence. Hello, Iridescence. Sorry you caught us just right at the end. It's good to see you on in the chat.
What's going on, Iridescence?
Have a good one, Jose. Thanks for hopping in, my mods.
All right, Jose.
Brandon Hart coming back to the 206 on Wednesday. Had tickets to the opening game, but that's obviously not working out. Any place near the C-Link where the game can be watched safely and with enjoyment. Well, the bars have changed a bunch down there, and I don't know what the situation is down there right now with how that stuff goes. Like Pyramid Breweries closely.
It's pretty boarded up, actually. Like it's a lot of companies moving out of downtown Seattle because a lot of different things, rioting and things like that. So it's going to be pretty tough, but I'll say I'll just call around to some of these places and just kind of see what they're doing and just check the temperature at all these different bars.
That's it, Brandon. It's call in advance because they're going to give you the details of it. They won't even have a post on a lot of times on their website updating because it's such a fluid moving situation, you know. Brandon says, born and raised in Capitol Hill and married out in the ONP last year. ONP? What's ONP? I don't bringing home my 7th month. Congratulations.
Dad. Congratulations, Brandon.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I said, where's OMP? D-Boy said they had the same question I did. Where's OMP? Olympic National Park. Okay. Wow, that's beautiful up there. Jeez. Stunning stuff up there, man. That's where we got hits. Just home, man. Miss home. I feel you, man. I miss my Western Washington too. It's so great being back over here. Y2KA packing like a fourth and like Penny for a pass rusher seems like the only option to get anything decent.
You said that, right?
As I was saying, yeah, that's what you got to do at this point. To me, that's the you don't have a lot of assets you're going to want to move if you're contending, but the one guy, especially with Carlos Hyde and Chris Carson, and you got Penny and you got DJ Dallas as your third down back, you can be affording now at that point to release a guy. And there's teams around the league. Detroit Lions twice have tried to trade for Rashad Penny at 2 different points. There's teams around the league, I think, that would be interested in his services, especially looking at that stat on those outside runs going, ooh, we could use that all the time. We'll do something Seattle's not doing. We'll use them right.
Brandon saying his 6-year-old was born in Kentucky. I'm so pumped for this game. Oh, that's dope.
That's nice. Cool state to be born in. Space says we should have been 13-3 last year. Well, there's an argument you could have made where you would have been easily 9-7 though too. I think you had 8 or 9 wins that were one possession games last year. So it could have gone either way. Stopped on the 6-inch line against the Niners at home. Yeah, that was brutal one, Space, especially since if that's a Disley out there or if that's a Greg Olsen this year, he's probably got enough girth to him to bust through that linebacker's tackle to get into the end zone. So that was also a lot about the health situation last year getting pulled down.
Iridescent says, thoughts on Alton Robinson?
My thoughts on Alton Robinson is I have more hope for Alton Robinson as a pass rusher than probably I do as for LJ Collier this year and for Darrell Taylor this year and maybe even for Rasheem Green. Maybe we're looking at a guy who can come in and give you 8 sacks in a rotational role. He has certainly been hyped and talked up by guys like Bruce Irvin and Damian Lewis. Everyone keeps pointing to this guy, and when you watched his tape, he did have some upper-level hand usage. The 2 things I say as a pass rusher, iridescence, that can translate quickly into the NFL and give you production from a pass rusher instantaneously are going to be bend, because you can't teach bend. Mm-hmm. Guys got to get off that ground and get lower. They can't and get around the edge. And then hand usage. Guys have hand usage or they don't, or they're able to develop or they're not. LJ Collier has no hand usage. Alton Robinson does, so I have very high hopes for him, iridescence. I'm looking at maybe hopeful high-end 8 sacks, but even a 5 sacks I could see feasibly. What we need is Josh Allen to throw a fit, and the Jags will send him packing. Boy,
they're sending everybody packing right now.
Yeah, they're sending everybody else, aren't they?
Move the whole team out of Jacksonville next or something. I don't know.
Yeah, my brother brought this one up to me too, Anthony, and I said I just don't see that. I can see it happening. To me, Josh Allen fits to them as a base piece that they're going to want to fill in now around. They can't get rid of everybody. They got to hold on to some guys. He's valuable. He's cheap for them. They don't have to pay him yet. And he costs a lot more than a package of a 4th round pick and penny to get your hands on him.
Right. So Anthony, so Randall was saying you should print up Hawks Nest shirts and merch. I bet you could definitely sell them.
So my idea is I fly high in the Hawks Nest is going to be the shirt that I'm going to get. I got to just work on the logo. And so merch
is coming soon.
Merch is coming, Randall. Don't you worry. I'm going to get that going. That's those irons are hot. Who doesn't hate him? Jamal, who doesn't hate him, huh? Jamal, who doesn't like him, I think what you meant. You guys are still going. I just took a nap.
Come on, we can't sleep.
We got 13. We're gonna do 13 strong minutes here left. We're gonna finish strong.
Tomorrow. Wake up.
That's right. Let's get up. This is Grinder. I didn't think Dmack had the 4. I didn't either when I started. He's hanging strong. I gotta give Dmack credit. You guys gotta give Dmack. I've been doing this for months, so my voice is up and ready to roll. He's done this the first time. He's getting an indoctrination into this by fire.
Hey, I got to start somewhere.
That's right. I didn't think he had it in him. Oh, shoot.
What's up, Jonathan Salazar?
Maxwell Stearns, can I have a mod or not? Yeah, I'll add you in off after the deal. I've got a lot of mods, Maxwell. So, and if you do get added as a mod, I don't want you kicking people out or overusing it. I don't like people being kicked unless it's really to the last end kind of thing. Y2K, this is a pretty exciting stream today. That's awesome to hear. I knew Dmack was going to bring some fire in here, so I had to.
I'm gonna keep it litty committee in here, baby. Let's go.
I had to get him in here. I knew it was going to be take it up a notch.
It just did that low.
I know, dude. A little bit higher. Keep going. I saw we had Clara in here. What's up, Clara? There's Clara. Hey, Clara. So everyone is predicting Falcons are beating the Hawks tomorrow. I'm not making that prediction, Clara. I got our Hawks winning by 7. He's got them winning by 3. So we feel pretty good about that. I don't think we're losing this opening week. I don't think it at all. That's cool. Welcome from New York. It's always good to see you in the chat, Clara.
Let me get a slice of pizza or something. I'm hungry over here.
I think that New York pizza stuff's overrated, man. If you ever go there,
I love it. I used to live. This crazy. Everybody like, damn, this motherfucker lived everywhere. I used to live in Connecticut. Used to go to New York and get a slice of pizza, man. That shit like soup. It burn your fucking mouth if you don't eat it right. You gotta fold that big ass slice and shit, man. Hey,
blow on it first before you take the bite.
It's fucking amazing. Clara know what I'm talking about.
I like, New York. They got it's like a bakery down under the Train City Station at the main station place there. That's like the best I ever eaten at.
Motherfucking Blimpies.
That's right.
Y'all know that about
Look at the cannoli. Look at the cannolis going here.
Everybody getting hungry.
I'm getting hungry over here now. We're 4 hours in the stream. My belly's like. Any recent news on Josh Gordon? No, unfortunately not. I've heard rumors that it'll be 2 weeks and then we'll get him back onto active roster, but that's only a rumor I've heard. The commissioner's not released anything as far as certain information. Spaces, I agree. 10-17 the Hawks. Oh, you got low scoring game, Space. Okay. Wow, interesting. Space, Clowney had 3 sacks last year. He did have 3 sacks last year. He also had some injuries, and he was the most double and triple team defender in pretty much all of football on the edge last year. So that did have an effect on that. Gap years basically means I took a year off school. Oh,
so
okay.
Like a red shirt, maybe?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really like a red shirt. Space, are you in Hawaii? I'm moving to Hawaii on Monday. So our not next live stream, maybe live stream tomorrow, but the one after that, you'll be seeing me from the tropical paradise.
Nugget said you can see the smoke outside, out the window.
Run, D Nugget, run! It's too close. Yeah, it's. I had my sister sent me they got like evacuation manual and near where she's at if it gets close to them. So it's it's a little bit crazy right now.
John Rivers says, "Are you guys going to re-sign?"
Are we going to re-sign? John Rivers, welcome to chat. I don't know what you mean by that on the question, though.
On, John. Appreciate
you. Can just elaborate a little more on your question by
in the chat, my guy.
The re-sign. TDC, welcome on the chat, man. Carson Hyde sharing the load, or Carson on a short leash with Hyde ready to be RB1 if Carson has ball security issues. Well, there's 2 things there. Number one, yeah, I think it's sharing the load because I think they understand Carson, 2 of his first 3 years have ended due to injury. Part of that, so you mounted up too many hits over the course of the season and you just got beaten up too much. So you're going to want to balance that load. But as well, to your point on this, Carroll hates his running backs giving up fumbles, and especially having the fumble problems. Last year, Penny got the injury. You didn't have a lot of guys behind him, so you probably felt like you had to go with Carson even with the fumble injuries a little more.
Right.
But if it happens this year, no, Hyde is a feasible guy to go right in behind
Hyde
him.
had 1,000 yards, guys.
Yeah.
This guy's a serviceable back. He's not a slouch at all. Like, he's going to be incorporated into this offense. Like, just believe me, he's going to be incorporated. You don't go get a guy that just ran 1,000 yards for nothing.
He fits the Marshawn mold too. Carson fits the Marshawn mold. Hyde fits the Marshawn mold. Carroll loves himself as Marshawn mold at this point. He's going to use him when he's got him on his feet, on his team. So,
and I think Hyde has a little bit better hands than Carson.
The Justin Tucker was mostly a joke. He's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, he's a great kicker. He's probably a Hall of Famer. I was wondering on that one. Thank you, though. I appreciate the comments, Y2K.
Oh, my bad, Y2K.
No, you're good. We're catching up, though. We're getting better here.
What? Where am I at?
Keep going up. There we go. Right there. Y2K says, I feel Penny is the only guy we can trade that it is. You don't have anybody else you can really move at this point outside of somebody. Nobody's going to take KJ Wright. Nobody's going to take it. Just there's no other real options there. TDC, I think Penny alone has minimal trade value. Makes more sense, IMO, to hang on to him for now in case they decide not to re-sign Carson. I see your logic and theory there, TDC, and I don't completely disagree with you. The thing that comes down to me on why you might have trade value is that stat that I keep bringing up. I've mentioned this a couple times. Just a second ago, I mentioned it. There's teams that are going to look at that stat and the fact that he averaged 8.2 yards per carry on outside runs last year, 7 yards per carry on outside tackle runs, and they're going to say the Seattle Seahawks aren't utilizing this guy correctly. They're pounding him up in the middle too often on these inside zone runs. Get him out on the outside and let him really flourish out there. This is why Detroit has tried twice to trade for him at the trade deadline last year and actually right after we drafted him. So they have a lot of value on him. There's going to be other teams that have that value on him. I think he eventually he could still stay here, but there's nobody else you have any trade value to get that pass rusher. You may need to desperately get that pass rusher later on in the year, especially if you're not generating anything.
Garrett, you can find me. I just put the fire emojis. Just click on my
Garrett,
comment
just above your comment, Garrett.
And DM. Let me know. I'll hoop with you.
Right above your comment there. Did the Colts win or lose by passing up on Peyton? Do you think if they re-signed him they go to the Super Bowl instead of Denver? No, I don't. I don't at all, because I don't think that they had the type of pass catching talent available to him that Denver had available to him by going over there.
Made the right move. It's similar to what Brady just did in the offseason.
Yep.
Very eerily similar to what Tom Brady just did.
Absolutely. And again, he went to the thin air of Denver to help out with that arm strength. It's like there was a lot of factors, and he had the defense. He had to deal with the Colts did not have that defense to go to utilize as far as to give Peyton. Chopstick, how you doing? Welcome, Chopstick.
I think we missed it. I think it just there it is. Yeah, I'll be on time.
Oh, okay.
New York pizza is not overrated. Let's go Hawks.
Hey, I lived in New York for about 4 months, and I could not find myself a good slice of pizza but for one place. And I ate it all over all these places. And I just could not locate one. So maybe I was just going to the wrong areas, I was not impressed. Like cardboard and cheap freaking cheese.
I like that though.
You like cardboard?
Yes, I love it.
I want to eat cardboard in my pizza. I want to taste my pizza.
Nice. Chopsticks. What's going on, Chopsticks? From
South
the South
End.
End. Okay, then. South
Garrett Edwards found your Insta, but
South End too. I didn't know that.
Find a way to DM, bruh. Oh, found your Insta, but need to find a way to DM, bruh.
I don't know what you DM. What?
Hit him if you hit him up in the chat, we'll get you kicked up, Garrett. If you do a comment on even on the deal, and we'll figure this out. Oh, thank you so much for the donation, D-Boy. That's I think your second or third one here, man.
Appreciate it, D-Boy.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. The donation is to help out on the internet, Bill, so we can get a live stream tomorrow. He's helping out your internet here, Bill. D. We'll try to do a live stream during the game. If we can even just do a live stream after the game as a quick wrap up of just to talk to you guys after things wrap up with it. We might not we won't be doing a 4-hour one, but we'll at least get maybe up for an hour or two tomorrow, as long as we got our connection right and everything's running good. But absolutely, we'll try to get something out, at least some post game thoughts to you guys. But super stoked. And thank you so much for the donation. You and Randall McDaniel, all you guys are so nice with those donos always, and I really do appreciate it. So we're just about here to the 4th hour of our stream. I think we will be wrapping it up. Go ahead and get any last-minute questions you guys might have on in here into the chat, and we'll put it up there. Garrett, Dmack just put his IG in there. You can hit him up there. Iridescence, thank you for the congrats on the move to Hawaii. I'm super stoked to get out to Maui. This has been incredible trying to get this move all pushed forward and going. So it's like I'm at the 95th spot point of my move. I'm just about there, and I couldn't be more excited. So I'm gonna have some great backdrops for you guys. I'll be doing some live streams with like the ocean in the background, like and islands, coconuts, and all that good stuff. So we'll have some good background stuff for you to check out there.
Yep, and like I said, you'll be hearing more from me. I know I got lots of stuff going on, and I got my channel going on. My channel is just like kind of silly. It's got a whole bunch of stuff. It's not dedicated to anything in particular. Whatever I'm on at that moment, I'll be doing a video on it. But I am going to be tagging up here on the Hawks Nest. I'm eventually probably going to make a football channel myself or figure something out, but we're going to do something. We just have to get on the same page when it comes to getting me linked up with some kind of streaming service so we can do kind of a split camera and get everything situated. But appreciate you guys in the comment, in the chat. We love everybody that's in here. Thanks for the donos. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the subscribes. I love everybody's energy in here. Great questions. You guys really rocked it. Pat yourself on the back. Everything was just on point and solid. We had no kind of foolishness. Everything was just on the money as far as all the questions. And
it's been great. No trolls. Everybody's just coming in.
Awesome.
The energy is amazing, you guys. Chopstick, Jamal Adams is absolutely starting for you at strong safety tomorrow, and he's going to be there every game this year for you on that. Dmack, where haven't you stayed at? But don't go to Germany. There's no Hawk fans out there. He's creating it. Like, he's got to be like a missionary, right?
I'm putting a flag.
He's going out there with his white collar.
Right.
He's going out there with a CS on his chest. It's not hope. That's the Seahawk.
Hawks everywhere, man.
So we got to create. We got to continue. We already got people in UK. We got Australia. We got to get some people out of Germany too. So. Got to do what we got to do. But yeah, we're going to get more of Dmack into the stream. It's always awesome, man. I think the stream's always better having you in here, man, and just having him part of the channel. So we'll get that figured out. We'll be back on probably tomorrow for you folks. Looks like we got through all our questions in chat. Why are you moving to Germany? Where are you moving to Germany?
So Germany, so my girl is full German, and she's been here for 16 years, and she's going back home, and we're going to move and relocate back to Germany and everything. I'm rushing up on my German and stuff and everything. I'm trying to get my dual citizenship and everything. So wish me luck on that. That's going to be later on down the road. I still got like 8 more months out before I do that move. But yeah, my girl's from there, and that's pretty much it. So just got to get her. She's a little homesick, so got to get some home cooking and things like that. So
that's right.
Appreciate you guys. Like I said, stay tuned, subscribe, like, and just keep that good energy and keeping the channel just –
yeah, please pound that like button. If you're listening to this either recorded or live and you're not subscribed to me, please do hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it does help this channel just continue its ascent. So yes, Daniel W., we will be trying to do a post-game show quickly tomorrow after the game, so I'll try to pop on and do that for you. Awesome to see you on the chat. Sorry we caught you a little late here, Daniel, as we're just about to sign off, but we'll try to at least do maybe an hour and a half tomorrow after the game if we can get it in. Yep. Everything's working out good.
We'll either do a pregame or postgame, kind of like live or something like that, just kind of let you know our pregame thoughts or postgame thoughts or whatever.
100%.
But we'll definitely come out and just kind of give you guys some information tomorrow.
Houston M says Seahawks win the Super Bowl if they can cobble together a pass rush. The cobble it together approach, the stacking it brick by brick, 5 sacks here, 7 sacks here, 6 sacks here, 4 sacks here, 5 sacks here, different players from all places. If you can do that, I think you can get to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
But I think that's going to be the big key for them, Houston, is the generation of pass rush specifically. All right. Well, as Dmack said, we love the energy today from all of you guys. I want to say thank you to everyone. And yes, you should be patting yourself on the back, D-Boy. You guys brought the awesome question today. This was great football talk. Let's go out and get our first win tomorrow and start out this Super Bowl season just right. 16-0? 16-0, guys?
16-0.
And as he said, don't none of you guys, ever forget. Don't you guys ever forget. Go Hawks, huh?
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.